Chapter 941 Third Battle with He Chang. Escape, escape, escape. A shadowy figure moved rapidly in the tall grass, like a flying snake. A moment later, the shadow vanished with a soft sound, and the flying stopped. He Chang crashed into the grass nearby. A clear stream was flowing, right beside him. He Chang breathed roughly. He was sprawled on the ground, not even having the strength to turn his body over. His current condition was terrible. His entire body was covered in wounds, some were deep until bones could be seen, some were still bleeding. Intense pain was assaulting him, but He Chang was already used to it. These injuries were all created when he fought intensely with the pursuers from He tribe. If He tribe was not trying to capture He Chang alive, with his current ability, there was no way he could have escaped so many times. I am already at my limits. He Chang felt grim internally. He gritted his teeth and tried to get up. Seeing his reflection in the water, he smiled bitterly at himself. Originally, he was handsome and charming, having a gentlemanly disposition, but now his face was pale and his lips were green, his body was covered in blood while he escaped for his life. Suddenly, He Chang's pupils shrunk to pinpricks in size as he curled up his body, like a venomous snake that felt threatened. Who is it? He Chang's eyes shined with a sharp light. He shouted at a nearby bush. At the next moment, with a loud bang, air currents burst out as the grass was uprooted, a large pathway was created. He Lulan wore a mask as she stepped forward. Her eerie and dark eyes were burning with flames of hatred that had been etched into her. It is you. He Chang was shocked. He tried to stand up but his head was dizzy, his body shook intensely as he fell down helplessly. Thankfully, he did not collapse entirely. He managed to regain his balance but he was half squatting with tightened muscles, his expression was ruthless but he could not conceal the anxiety inside him. If he was captured by the He tribe Gu Immortals, he might still be able to live, even though that was unlikely. But if he ended up in the hands of He Lulan, He Chang would be dead meat, his fate would be unthinkably miserable. He Chang, to think that you would end up like this. He Lulan walked towards him, her body was straight like a spear, across a small river, she looked down at him arrogantly. Fate was unpredictable, who would have thought that He Chang would end up in such a state? He Lulan had never expected this. Thus, when the perfect opportunity for revenge was right in front of her, other than hatred and anger deep inside her, she also felt a trace of pity. The father and daughter stared at each other. Hatred, grudges, all of their emotions were present. For a moment, time seemed to have stopped. Don't look at me with that gaze. He Chang screamed. He struggled to get up. He could accept He Lulan's anger and hatred, but he could not stand that trace of pity in her eyes. I, the great He Chang, do not need anyone's pity. Whoosh, a strong wind blew, the dark clouds in the sky moved as the surrounding grass swayed. Ripples appeared in the stream, as Fairy Li Shan's voice was heard in the wind. Nice wind, nice scenery, this nameless location is a good place for you to die, He Chang. He Chang sneered, he could feel the hatred and killing intent in Fairy Li Shan's words. He turned his head around with difficulty, looking at the surroundings. A tiger without power gets bullied by dogs, isn't there someone else? Why are you not coming out? Fang Yuan quietly concealed himself nearby, he did not move and leaked no aura, as if he could not hear He Chang's words. You, a tiger, you are just a dog who is struggling to survive on the verge of death. Thieving dog, prepare to lose your life. He Lulan no longer concealed the anger inside her, she took a big step and sent out a punch. In an instant, there was an explosion in the air as the air currents created from her punch burst out. Fang Yuan's mood was stirred, he felt a strong desire. This is only a mortal killer move, but with the amplification of the great strength true martial physique strength path Dao marks, its power could actually reach such a level. Before this punch landed on He Chang, the latter already felt an intense feeling of stiflement. An immeasurable sense of danger filled him. If this punch landed, He Chang would die on the spot. Escape. He Chang gritted his teeth, activating countless Gu worms. With a swoosh, he turned into a dark shadowy snake again, escaping towards the left side. He Lulan's punch missed, she quickly chased him. But He Chang was very fast, in a few breaths of time, He Lulan was already dozens of meters behind. In fact, even though He Chang lost the Immortal Gu House Dark Prison, he still had Immortal Gu Dark Arrow. During the 100 Days battle, in order to raise He Chang's strength, Shadow Sect designed a set of Immortal Killer moves for him. This set of Immortal Killer moves used Dark Arrow Immortal Gu as the core. Right now, the dark snake that He Chang had transformed into to escape was one of these Immortal Killer moves. He Chang, stay here. Fairy Li Shan took action, the surrounding grass grew wildly as flowers grew out of nowhere. Battlefield killer move, pear orchard. He Cheng's body froze, but he immediately broke out of the pear orchard and moved west to escape. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, countless strength path phantoms emerged from the tall grass, blocking He Cheng. Fang Yuan had not exposed the identity of Xing Shangzi to He Lulan or Fairy Li Shan, right now he was using his strength path battle strength. Fang Yuan secretly used his wisdom path techniques and deduced 3 possible escape paths. He quietly assigned his strength path phantoms to those areas in order to ambush him. While escaping, He Cheng accidentally went towards one of them, and was stalled by Fang Yuan's strength path phantoms. Even so, He Lulan was still a distance from He Cheng. Seeing that He Cheng was about to escape, Fairy Li Shan transmitted to Fang Yuan anxiously, "Quickly stop him." Fang Yuan immediately showed his true form, using the true solid bat wings on his back to fly towards He Cheng. Fairy Li Shan frowned deeply. She could tell, with Fang Yuan's speed, he could not obstruct He Cheng. In truth, Fang Yuan was not planning to stop He Cheng either. Earlier, he had fought with He Cheng, but times were different now. He Cheng was He Lulan's weakness. As long as he was alive, he would be able to use He Cheng in order to scheme against He Lulan. Fang Yuan had originally wanted to use this chance to see if he could capture He Lulan. But after seeing He Cheng's severe injuries, he knew the chances were close to 0. If it were possible, Fang Yuan would rather let He Cheng go and let him escape. But because of the alliance agreement, he could not go overboard. He Cheng got rid of the obstacles. He gave Fang Yuan a look as he sneered, "You finally came out. It is a pity you cannot catch me." Saying so, he was about to use his immortal killer move to escape from this place. But right at this moment, the cry of an eagle resounded and almost tore his eardrums. A giant iron crown eagle phantom appeared behind Fang Yuan. His iron crown eagle strength activated. As Fang Yuan's speed rose, he flew at lightning speed, closing the gap between him and He Cheng. He Cheng was shocked. He did not dare to slow down. He quickly escaped. Fang Yuan sighed internally. Even though he had the rank 6 Immortal GU recipe of all-out effort GU, it was still a rank 5 Mortal GU now. Fang Yuan's Iron Crown Eagle strength was obtained from an Immortal GU, it could only be triggered with certain probabilities. In the previous battles, it had never been triggered, but today, when he did not want it to activate, it did. It seems that it was inappropriate to use time assist luck right before this to raise my luck. If I had known that He Cheng would be in such a condition, I would have realized that it was impossible to execute my plan. Fang Yuan sighed. His body was like an eagle, pouncing at He Cheng. He Cheng was slippery as a snake. He moved around in the grass as a dark snake, changing many directions. Even though Fang Yuan attacked many times, he narrowly escaped each time. But Fairy Li Shan and He Lulan were no longer anxious, they were excited. With Fang Yuan's interference, He Cheng could no longer escape. In a few breaths of time, Fairy Li Shan and He Lulan got close to them. Eventually, the 3 of them encircled He Cheng. He Cheng's expression was dark and ominous. He screamed with messy hair all over his face, "You want me dead? Don't think you will leave unscathed." An intense battle erupted. Rumble. Thunderous sounds exploded. Darkness shot out. Flowers were flying. Strength chi rampaged. The soil on the ground was sent flying. Without any doubt, He Cheng was heavily suppressed. Fang Yuan's group held the advantage. It is a pity that I can only hold back on 10 to 20% of my strength, that is the limit. If I hold back any more, He Lulan and Fairy Li Shan would realize it, they would be suspicious towards me and lose trust. Seeing that this excellent pawn in He Cheng was about to die, Fang Yuan felt some regret. Including this time, Fang Yuan had already fought against He Cheng 3 times. Fang Yuan and the others did not have much of an increase in battle strength compared to the previous time. But He Cheng's condition was too terrible. He had experienced the 100 days battle and the immortal essence that he accumulated over all his life was expended. These last days, he had been escaping and fighting intensely with He tribe's GU immortals. Thus at this moment, under the attacks of Fang Yuan and the rest, He Cheng suffered another severe injury. He spat out blood and was about to lose. Stop. Suddenly, an angry shout could be heard in the sky. A blinding green light filled the entire battlefield. Space tore open as a green hand grabbed at He Cheng imposingly. Fang Yuan and the others reacted quickly, but the green hand could affect time. It grabbed He Cheng before anyone could react. Green City Rampage. He Cheng could not move. He screamed while being captured. He Lulan and the others rapidly retreated. Green City Rampage was a powerful battle formation of the Olden Antiquity era. At that time it was ranked at 3rd in the world, only lower than Golden Heavenly Saint and Heavenly Giant Suller. The fact that Hay tribe was in control of Green City Rampage was known to everyone in Northern Plains GU Immortal world. At this moment, with the appearance of Green City Rampage, it meant that the 4 strongest Supreme Elders of the Super Force Hay tribe had arrived together. We of Hay tribe will deal with our own Hay tribe members, how can we allow you to kill him casually? Hey Lu Lan, the tribe nurtured you, but you betrayed us and went to the demonic path, you are guilty of the most heinous crimes, surrender now. At the next moment, a green giant tore through space, standing on the ground. A mysterious light shot out of its forehead, towards Hey Lu Lan. At that moment, Hey Lu Lan was unable to move. Strength Path Giant Hand. Fang Yuan rapidly retreated as he used his rank 7 battle strength. Boom! With an intense collision, Strength Path Giant Hand collided with the green hand, and the Strength Path Giant Hand disintegrated immediately. Pitiful trick, the green giant laughed coldly. But at the next moment, a fire bird crashed into the green giant's chest out of nowhere. Boom! With an intense explosion, the green giant was sent back, almost falling onto the ground. Blazing Heaven Demoness! The 4 Supreme Elders of Hay tribe shouted with shock and anger on their faces inside the green giant. Angry Bird, this was a signature killer move of Blazing Heaven Demoness, it was widely known among GU Immortals of Northern Plains. At this time and place, why was Blazing Heaven Demoness here? Be it the Hay tribe GU Immortals or Fang Yuan, they were asking the same question. Chapter 942, Little Ant, Elder Ant. Her rank 8 aura was unconcealed, emanating freely. Blazing Heaven Demoness was bathed in flames, she crossed her arms and stood arrogantly in the air. Blazing Heaven Demoness shouted loudly, Hey tribe elders, this ancient battle formation Green City Rampage of yours is so incomplete, you have the face to use it. 100 years ago, in order to use this battle formation, you were forced to stay together at a distance of no more than 3 meters between each other. This time, you came here together, who is guarding the blessed land that is your main camp? The green giant gazed at Blazing Heaven Demoness. An elderly voice came out of the green giant's body, Blazing Heaven Demoness. Since you know that this is the ancient battle formation Green City Rampage, you should know that its power rivals that of rank 8s. Hey Lu Lan and Hey Chang are members of Hay tribe, this is an internal family matter of ours, as an outsider, you should not interfere. Don't forget that Zombie Alliance is in the righteous path. As the leader of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance, you have significant responsibilities, do be careful. Immediately after, another voice said, Blazing Heaven Demoness, aren't you going to deal with old ancestor Shui Hu? Why are you here to join in the chaos? Join in the chaos, ha 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 ha, Blazing Heaven Demoness raised her head and laughed. Fairy Li Shan spoke at this moment, she continued, old ancestor Shui Hu's matter is none of your concern, elders of Hay tribe. Furthermore you said this is your family matter, don't tell me it isn't our own family matter. What do you mean? Inside the green giant's body, the 4 elders of Hay tribe asked with shocked voices. At this moment, Fang Yuan felt an intense feeling that something was not right. Big sister, Fairy Li Shan called out. There was tacit understanding between siblings, there was no need to communicate too much in words. Blazing Heaven Demoness stopped laughed, her gaze was like lightning as she flew towards the green giant. On the green giant's body, a lump of fire burned out of nowhere, in an instant, it turned into a blazing flame and engulfed the entire green giant. Soon, the hill-like green giant became an orange pillar of fire. Immortal killer move, Fire Prison. In the burning flames, the green giant could barely move, it was as if it had fallen into a puddle of sticky black oil. The 4 elders who assembled the green giant were shocked. When did we get hit by it? This killer move's power is so immense. Even our Green City Rampage cannot break free for the time being. Most importantly, there were no hints of it being used, we cannot defend against it. But the 4 elders had rich battle experience, they were only shocked for a few breaths of time before they understood. They remembered the attack earlier, Angry Bird had crashed into the green giant's chest. Meanwhile, Fire Prison started burning at the green giant's chest. This was a combo immortal killer move. So-called combo immortal killer moves were the usage of 2 or more immortal killer moves one after another, they would have stronger power, having synergy between them. Angry Bird, Fire Prison, these 2 immortal killer moves formed a combo immortal killer move. Blazing Heaven Demoness first used Angry Bird to attack the green giant, she next used Fire Prison to trap Green City Rampage with an incredibly powerful effect. If a long time had passed, or if she had activated Fire Prison first, Blazing Heaven Demoness would have to spend time in activating the move. During that period, the 4 elders of Hay tribe would be able to dodge, Fire Prison's power would not be as great as now. The reason was very simple. It was due to Dao marks. Immortal killer moves used Immortal GU as the core to activate powerful methods. The power was great because they formed temporary Dao marks. When Angry Bird crashed into the Green Giant's chest, temporary Fire Path Dao marks were left behind. Blazing Heaven Demoness used these Fire Path Dao marks as the basis to unleash Fire Prison, elevating its power and temporarily trapping the Green Giant. To be able to design a combo Immortal killer move, her attainment level must be Great Grandmaster. So Blazing Heaven Demoness, Fire Path attainment level has already reached such a level. Fang Yuan's heart was shaking. Fire Path Great Grandmaster. This attainment level was not something ordinary GU immortals could reach. Roar. The Green Giant roared loudly, large amounts of green fog spewed out of its body. Wherever the green fog went, fire was put out. Evidently, this mysterious green fog was a powerful Immortal killer move. Blazing Heaven Demoness, combo Immortal killer move did not even last for 10 breaths of time before it completely disintegrated. But they still lost some precious time. During this period, Fairy Li Shan had already finished preparing. She used her trump card. Battlefield Immortal killer move, Orchard Garden in Mountain. The earth rumbled intensely. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, waves of terrifying tremors erupted deep underground. The surface started to rise, the terrain changed swiftly. The flat grassland had turned into a mound. Soon, this mound rose rapidly, becoming taller. On the two sides of the mountain, there were evident ridges forming. Eventually, the mountain stopped rising, a chain of mountains encircled the Green Giant in all directions. The tremors of the earth finally stopped. The terrain of over 1,000 li had completely changed because of Fairy Li Shan's battlefield Immortal killer move. Achieving such incredible effects, it was truly breathtaking. A chain of mountains surrounded the Green Giant in the center. It was like a giant bowl or a prison, blocking their escape route. At this moment, the Green Giant was like trapped prey. Fang Yuan's heart pounded. Even though he knew that Fairy Li Shan had such a trump card, seeing this effect, he still felt some surprise. In his previous life, when Fairy Li Shan used this move, the power was not as great. Why did it become so powerful now? Don't tell me, it is because of Minuscule Mountain. Fang Yuan had a guess. That should be it. Fairy Li Shan's Orchard Garden in Mountain is like myriad star fireflies. It has incredible power when used, but the price should be equally big. Each time it is used, Dao marks in the GU Immortal will be expended permanently. Thus, in records of history, Fairy Li Shan did not use this battlefield Immortal killer move very often. Or in other words, this was a last resort technique. A forbidden move. If it was used frequently, one's own foundation and cultivation level would fall drastically. Minuscule Mountain was a secluded domain of heaven and earth. It was recorded in less than the legends of Ren Zhu greater than. The mountain itself had a large number of Dao marks. Fairy Li Shan placed it inside her own immortal aperture. The Dao marks of Minuscule Mountain became her own foundation. She could use and expend them. Thus, Orchard Garden in Mountain's power became so terrifying, far beyond Fang Yuan's knowledge based on his previous life. The 4 elders of He tribe were ranked 7 GU immortals. The ancient battle formation Green City Rampage that they created was ranked at 3rd in the world. But using Minuscule Mountain, Fairy Li Shan used Orchard Garden in Mountain and temporarily trapped the rank 8 level Green Giant, controlling the situation. Fang Yuan and the others were floating in the air, looking down. The Green Giant was huge, but the mountains surrounding it were taller. Fairy Li Shan had stopped her activation. She no longer controlled it. But the transformation of Orchard Garden in Mountain still continued. In the valley of the mountains, vegetation grew rapidly, countless pear trees grew, the branches were like vines entangling with each other, extending rapidly. At the same time, pear blossoms bloomed, they floated in the air, slowly descending like snow. Behind the Green Giant, a pair of thick and huge green wings appeared. One of the 4 He tribe elders was skilled in transformation path, thus, the Green Giant could have such a transformation. This was the specialty of an ancient battle formation. Once an immortal GU house was created, the methods would be fixed. But ancient battle formations had different abilities according to the GU immortals using it, as well as their various methods in fighting. The 4 elders of He tribe wanted to fly out of the cage, but countless vines were coiled onto the legs of the Green Giant. HMPH. The Green Giant snorted, the color of its body changed. It was as if fire was burning deep inside its body. Its green color, like that of moss, had turned into a dark red color. Dark Path and Fire Path, dual immortal killer move, Dark Ember. Boom! An intense explosion resounded, it could cause eardrums to vibrate. A dark red translucent shock wave burst out of the green giant's body, spreading rapidly. Everywhere the shock wave went, the entangled vines burned like paper, becoming ash. Boom, boom, boom. With 3 shock waves emitted by the green giant, obstacles were swept away. At once, dust rose like clouds, the earth trembled, countless rocks fell. The powerful and terrifying aura made Fairy Li Shan take a small step back in reflex. He Lu Lan was seemingly unaware of this, her eyes were staring at one of the green giant's hands. Inside this hand, her father, He Chang, was held inside. Fang Yuan's expression did not change, but his heart sank. He was starting to understand the situation. Evidently, Fairy Li Shan, He Lu Lan, and Blazing Heaven Demoness were in cahoots. Today, this situation was created by them to kill He Chang, but at the same time, they were targeting Fang Yuan. I was scheming against He Lu Lan, but to think they would move against me first. Fang Yuan looked towards Blazing Heaven Demoness. Before today, he had not expected the leader of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance to be so closely related to He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan. Blazing Heaven Demoness sensed Fang Yuan's gaze and gave him a look that was seemingly smiling. Fang Yuan snorted internally, he turned his gaze away. He was in grave danger now. If he wanted to escape, He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan would only bring him disturbance, but Blazing Heaven Demoness was a barrier that he could not pass. Fang Yuan had fixed immortal travel, Blazing Heaven Demoness surely knew about it. But now is not the time to act rashly. Since they have not attacked me yet, we can still talk it out. Even if I escape, it is pointless. I have joined Zombie Alliance, and Blazing Heaven Demoness is the leader of the Northern Plains Zombie Alliance branch. Furthermore, Fairy Li Shan is an information path GU Immortal. It was laughable that previously, Fang Yuan was asking Fairy Li Shan for the method to leave Zombie Alliance. This means that my identity as Xing Shangzi has already been exposed. He Lu Lan is astute, since she knows I have star path cultivation, she would also know that I have already obtained star form blessed land. He Lu Lan called Fairy Li Shan little aunt. I thought this was just an affectionate term, for example, little brother. To think that with a little aunt, she also had an elder aunt. And to think that He Lu Lan's elder aunt was such a formidable person. Chapter 943, Afraid of Death. Blazing Heaven Demoness was actually He Lu Lan's elder aunt. Fang Yuan did not expect this. Fang Yuan's battle strength was rank 7 at best. Against He Lu Lan, he had an advantage, but the other party had the great strength true martial physique, he needed to be wary of her last resort attack. Against Fairy Li Shan, he was at most only evenly matched. Fang Yuan would be in a disadvantage the moment she used her battlefield immortal killer move, he could not give her enough time to use it. As for Blazing Heaven Demoness, he was extremely pitiful in comparison, it was despair-inducing. Even though Fang Yuan had many immortal GU, with his bottom tier rank 6 cultivation level, there was no way he could fight against a rank 8 GU immortal. Even a rank 7 GU immortal could not match a rank 8 GU immortal. Feng Zhuzhe was an exception, in the last 1,000 years of Central Continent's history, he was the only one. It was virtually impossible for Fang Yuan to deal with Blazing Heaven Demoness. The other party was simply too powerful, Fang Yuan was at a weaker position with an absolute disadvantage. Right now, the only thing that I can rely on is the alliance agreement I made with Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan previously. Allies are not allowed to kill each other. Fang Yuan smiled bitterly to himself internally. Earlier, he was finding this agreement restricting to his actions, but now he had to rely on it to survive. However, Fairy Li Shan is an information path GU immortal, this agreement might not be reliable. Blazing Heaven Demoness can completely suppress me using battle strength, but she has not struck yet. If Fairy Li Shan wants to kill me, she would not create this situation either. Also, Blazing Heaven Demoness knows my true identity, why did she help me in refining Star Thought Immortal GU? This means that they are not going after my life, they have other objectives. As for what their objectives were, Fang Yuan had a vague idea. The conclusion was, right now, Fang Yuan was not in any mortal danger. This was also the reason why he was continuing to watch and not trying to escape. Just as Fang Yuan was thinking over his own safety, the green giant that was trapped by Orchard Garden in Mountain roared as it raised its head. After several uses of the killer move Dark Ember, most of the pear trees in the valley were burned to ashes, but they continued to grow from the ground, extending towards the green giant even though it would take some time to trap it again. Using this chance, 2 more pairs of giant green wings appeared on the green giant's back again. At the same time, the green giant's appearance underwent a change. Its large head turned into that of an eagle's, its entire body became slimmer and longer, its arms and legs turned into sharp five-fingered claws. Whoosh! Its 3 pairs of wings flapped together. At the same time, the green giant's knees bent slightly, it jumped and burst into the sky. The ground trembled, a huge crater was formed from the impact. Dust clouds rose and mixed with the huge amounts of ashes. This time, the green giant was not restricted by the vines, but the moment it flew into the sky, the 4 elders of He tribe felt a strong suction force. It was pulling onto the giant, preventing the green giant from flying far away from it. The 4 elders of He tribe showed stunned expressions one after another. Every several meters the green giant rose into the sky, the strength of the huge pulling force increased by 10 times as much. Gradually, the green giant was unable to resist it anymore. No matter how much the 3 wings flapped, the giant's speed became slower and slower. Eventually, it slowed to a crawl, resembling a snail. After reaching its limits, it was only 30 meters away from the ground. Boom! With another loud bang, the green giant crashed into the ground. The 4 elders of He tribe were silent. There was no need to say anything, anyone could guess the result. Their faces were completely ashen now. This was the true power of Orchard Garden in Mountain. Fairy Li Shan cultivated Information Path mainly, and secondarily in Wood Path and Earth Path. Orchard Garden in Mountain was a battlefield killer move that was formed by combining Earth Path and Wood Path. The pear blossoms were like snow, the vines coiled around the target, these were just Wood Path techniques. The force of gravity that pulled it down was the aspect of Earth Path. Of course, this was also due to Fairy Li Shan using the power of minuscule mountain inside her. Otherwise, if she used the original version of Orchard Garden in Mountain that was based on her own strength, the green giant might have broken out of it already. This was an ancient battle formation, Green City Rampage. Even though it was incomplete, there were 4 rank 7 GU Immortals inside the battle formation. They could fight against a rank 8 when unified. The green giant could not break out, it landed on the ground. In the valley, countless vines coiled around it again like tough snakes. The green giant was restricted again. At this time, there was a sharp sound of wind as explosions occurred in the air. The sound was so loud eardrums could almost burst. 3 angry birds fused in the air, turning into a fire phoenix that was neither big nor small. The phoenix sang loudly, its wings flapped, it was extremely fast, it drew a beautiful rainbow arc in the sky, crashing into the green giant's arm and vanishing completely. The green giant displayed an incredibly powerful defense. Merely a deep hole was created from the explosion on its arm. Next, waves of green fog circulated around it. As the deep hole closed up, it was like liquid metal, rapidly mending. But Blazing Heaven Demoness, attacks did not stop for even a moment. She stood arrogantly in the air, she slowly pointed her arm towards the green giant that was below her, her arm made a slashing motion from up to down. Fire Path Killer Move, Phoenix Feather Triple Wing Blade. 3 waves of flames formed instantly. They resembled the feathers of the phoenix, they were curved but extremely sharp like sickles. Whoosh, 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 3 fire blades tore through the air, burning intensely as huge winds started blowing as a result of the movement. 3 blades launched one after another, hitting the same place consecutively. Together with the angry bird earlier, this achieved another combo move effect. The green giant's arm was chopped off by these 3 blades. The 4 elders of He tribe growled furiously, but it was too late for them to stop her. The green giant's body was formed from the ancient battle formation. After the arm was detached from the body, it was as if the GU formation itself had lost a portion of itself. Losing the immortal essence supply from the 4 elders, the arm quickly vanished into nothingness, as countless GU worm flew out rapidly towards the green giant. He Cheng, who was captured earlier, lost his restraint, he quickly fell. The green giant tried to grab him, but Blazing Heaven Demoness stopped it. He Cheng tried to escape, but times were different now. He was inside Orchard Garden in Mountain. Almost immediately, countless vines and roots tied him up tightly, sending him out into the hands of Fairy Li Shan. Let him go. The 4 elders of He tribe flew into a rage. Countless Dark Ember killer moves were used consecutively. Marks of dragons appeared on the green giant's chest and back. It was like they were emerging from a body of water. They turned into green dragons and flew around the area. This was the signature killer move of He tribe's first Supreme Elder, 9 Dragon Body Protection. It could both attack and defend. Under the amplification of the ancient battle formation, it displayed incredibly terrifying power. At once, 9 dragons flew around, they were unstoppable. Mountain ridges collapsed, pear blossoms wilted, plants and trees were sent flying. Fairy Li Shan's expression changed. Hurry up, I cannot hold on much longer. The green giant unleashed its full battle strength. It was already very difficult for Orchard Garden in Mountain to trap it until now. Go! Blazing Heaven Demoness moved without hesitation. She shot out a long chain of fire, grabbing onto Fairy Li Shan, He Lulan, Fang Yuan, and He Cheng. Soon after, she used her killer move, turning into a rainbow, dragging everyone into the air along with her. At the moment where he was trapped by the chain of fire, Fang Yuan subconsciously wanted to resist it, but he held in that instinct eventually. Blazing Heaven Demoness, speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, she vanished with everyone into the horizon. 10 breaths of time later, Orchard Garden in Mountain was completely destroyed. The terrifying collapse of mountains ravaged the battlefield. The green giant successfully flew into the air. It roared and caused tremors in the sky and earth. Blazing Heaven Demoness, movement killer move was extremely fast. It would take a lot of effort for the 4 elders of He tribe to catch up to her. Even if they caught up, it would be hard to decide a winner among them. But it was too late now. The 4 elders of He tribe had to chase her. He Cheng had been the representative of the 4 supreme elders. He had settled He tribe's affairs for so many years. He knew a lot of secrets. Furthermore, as a superforce, their own Gu Immortal was kidnapped by others. The 4 elders of He tribe had lost all of their face. If they did not stop Blazing Heaven Demoness, they would not be able to raise their heads in front of the other super forces, or even any of the righteous path or demonic path forces. He tribe's immortal Gu House Dark Prison was lost, and He Cheng got captured. He tribe's reputation was going to plummet. As the saying goes, everyone kicks a man who is down. With He tribe being so weak now, all the other forces would try to suppress them. They would also be forced to give up a lot of the cultivation resources that they were holding onto in Northern Plains. Green City Rampage was an ancient battle formation. The 4 supreme elders of He tribe had no lack of movement killer moves. Once they activated their moves together, their speed would be several times that of Blazing Heaven Demoness. But just as the green giant was about to chase her, a ladder for emergency support appeared beside the 4 elders of He tribe. What? Our blessed land base has been infiltrated by someone secretly and most of our resources were stolen. We have suffered great losses. The He tribe Gu Immortals guarding the place are all heavily injured. The invader is extremely powerful. They have undeniable rank 8 aura. The 4 elders of He tribe were shocked and furious. This was most definitely a plot. Right now, Northern Plains Zombie Alliance has 3 rank 8s including Blazing Heaven Demoness. Damn it, our base cannot be lost. The defense of a blessed land assembled with bits and pieces is not enough. We have all fallen into Blazing Heaven Demoness scheme. Go, we have to go back and defend it. The green giant roared loudly, both of its arms raised up and pulled, causing a gigantic dark hole to appear in the space in front of it. The green giant flew into the dark hole and vanished, leaving behind only the ravaged battlefield which was completely in ruins. He tribe did not pursue us. We are safe now. Blazing Heaven Demoness landed on the ground with everyone. The chain of fire that restricted everyone was collected by her. Next, she waved her hand casually and the surrounding 10 li were covered by a layer of dark red barriers. The battle was now over, but Fang Yuan was more alert than before. He moved his shoulders and arms, saying calmly to Fairy Li Shan, "So you are all family, you have truly kept me in the dark. The same goes for you." Fairy Li Shan smiled with deep meaning. It was obvious that she had already known that Fang Yuan obtained star form blessed land and disguised himself as Xing Shangzi. "Spare me, spare my life. I am willing to become your subordinate, I am willing to serve you faithfully. It will be better for you if you keep me alive." He Cheng struggled to get up. His face was filled with anxiety as he shouted continuously. Blazing Heaven Demoness had taken away the parts of the chain of fire restricting everyone else, but He Cheng alone was still bound up tightly. Not only did the situation develop beyond Fang Yuan's expectations, it was also completely out of He Cheng's expectations. Fairy Li Shan stared with furious eyes as she pointed at He Cheng and scolded, "Dog thief, my little sister loved you so much, yet you took her life away. But that was not enough for you, you even wanted to lay your hands on your own daughter." He Cheng directly knelt on the ground. He raised his head and begged, "I am willing to be your dog or horse, I am willing to tell you all of the secrets of He tribe. Including the time path inheritance of our rank 8 ancestor He Fan. Didn't Su Xian get close to me because of this inheritance? Don't you all want this inheritance? I will tell you everything that I know, I will not conceal any secrets." But Fairy Li Shan was completely unmoved. As He Cheng turned towards Blazing Heaven Demoness, "I did not have any intentions to offend you. Back then, if I had found out that you were behind Su Xian, I would not have taken her life. This is all a misunderstanding, this is all just a misunderstanding. He tribe was a super force, they have an inheritance from long ago, their ancestor was obviously very powerful. During the generation when He Fan was the one in power, He tribe had a rank 8 GU Immortal, they were one of the stronger super forces in Northern Plains. But his lifespan was limited. After He Fan died, He tribe slowly became weaker, while some of the other super forces rose up. This was normal in the world of GU Immortals. The saying goes, upturns and downturns were just like the ebb and flow of tides, if one falls, another rises. He Cheng continued to beg unceasingly. He knew that this was the only way he could possibly survive. Facing the rank 8 blazing heaven demoness, and He Lu Lan who bore a deep and unresolvable hatred towards him, he could not threaten them using He tribe itself. Thankfully, He Fan had an inheritance, and He tribe was unable to inherit it. The inheritance of a rank 8 GU Immortal was extremely attractive to any GU Immortal out there. But Blazing Heaven Demoness snickered, she looked at He Lu Lan and spoke with a gentle tone, "Your life is not mine, whether you can survive or not, only Little Lan can decide. Little Lan, go ahead, I have already restricted He Cheng, he is now as fragile as a mortal. Little Lan, listen to me." He Cheng knelt on the ground, he rubbed his knees against the ground as he crawled towards He Lu Lan in a frenzy. "You are my daughter, I am your father, you have the blood of He tribe flowing in you, you have a huge advantage in inheriting He Fan's inheritance. If your mother was alive, she would not want to see you and I in such conflict, right? If your mother was here, she would definitely be extremely happy to see you inherit He Fan's inheritance. Also, you have one of the 10 extreme physiques, you were able to live until now because I asked Zhang Yu to protect your life, that is an undeniable fact." He Lu Lan looked at He Cheng, seeing his frightened and panicking face, she frowned, showing an expression of deep disgust and hatred. Next, she kicked He Cheng away ruthlessly. "I will only ask you one question." He Lu Lan's expression was cold as ice. "Ask, please ask, I will tell you everything that I know." He Cheng could almost see a chance of survival. He Lu Lan breathed in deeply, her eyes were red and her voice was trembling. "Mother loved you so much, she trusted you completely, actually, she knew that you were going to harm her long ago, but she believed that you would realize your mistake and stop your actions because of love. Facing someone who loved you so deeply, how could you have the heart to end her life?" He Cheng was stunned, he was originally tied up tightly on the ground, and was using his arm to prop his body, trying hard to sit up. But he was completely stumped by He Lu Lan's question. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into a statue. A gust of wind blew, He Cheng's messy and muddy hair was blown up, his eyes were red as the loving memories of him and Su Xian surfaced in his mind. Regret, pain, sadness, all sorts of emotions filled his heart. He started choking, before wailing. Of course I knew that your mother loved me but I was afraid of dying, I was afraid of dying." Sob, sob, sob. After answering her question, He Cheng no longer had the strength to support his body, he collapsed on the ground. He was like an old dog, or a rotting prawn, his body was curled up as he wept in the dirty mud. His mucus and tears were mixed together, flowing down his face. His silk robe was tattered beyond repair, his body was covered in blood. His handsome face and former glory was like a dried-up mask made of mud. When facing the prospects of death, this mask disintegrated and vanished. He Lu Lan and the others fell into deep silence. The scene was completely quiet, except for the wind that was blowing, and He Cheng's continuous soft weeping. He Cheng's display made everyone around feel a deep sensation. Death was truly a terrifying thing. Facing death, even an invincible rank 9 Venerable was fragile beyond belief. Eternal life, was it possible? Fang Yuan only knew, from ancient times until the present, nobody had reached such a stage. Let him go. At this moment, a lump of emotion came out of He Lu Lan's body, turning into a translucent figure of a female immortal's body. Su Xian, the mother of He Lu Lan. Fang Yuan's gaze flickered. In the past, before Su Xian died, she had given He Lu Lan a sum of immortal essence, as well as this familial emotion. It was because of the familial emotion and immortal essence that He Lu Lan could activate immortal GU while she was still immortal. Little sister, seeing this familial emotion, Fairy Li Shan could not help but have tears fall from her eyes. Blazing Heaven Demoness, eyes were turning red, she showed an extremely guilty expression full of regret. He Lu Lan lowered her head, she looked at He Cheng calmly, seemingly in deep thought. Su Xian's figure floated towards He Lu Lan, she stretched out her hand behind He Lu Lan, hugging her beloved daughter as she consoled her gently. Let him go, you see how pitiful he is now. After killing me, he was already living a life of misery and regret. Is he really happy to be alive now? No, he is barely scraping through life. He lives in terror, he lives in guilt, he is drifting without purpose, only living due to his fear. Even though he is alive, he had already died long ago. Let him go, that is also the same as letting yourself off. Little Lan, do not live in a world of hatred, do not live in the past, you need to lead your own life. Don't bear the sin of killing your own father, it is a very heavy burden. Trust me, revenge will not lead you to salvation, but destruction instead. I want you to live a better life. Mother, I know that you are saying that for my sake. He Lu Lan said as she walked towards He Chang. Suddenly, she raised her leg. And she stomped. Like what Blazing Heaven Demoness had said, He Chang was currently as fragile as a mortal. So under He Lu Lan's feet, his head was like a watermelon that burst, blood matter, blood, his skull, and teeth were all mixed together in a pile. The high and mighty He Chang, a rank 7 GU immortal, a generation's hero, had died. Su Xian'er's familial emotion was dazed. Next, she saw that He Lu Lan turned around, facing her. There is nothing I cannot bear, mother. It is like in the past, when you knew the situation but still let him have his way. I have my own resolution as well. Will this lead me on the path of destruction? HMPH, I am not so fragile. Little Lan, Fairy Li Shan took a step forward, holding He Lu Lan's hand with much worry. Little Lan, Blazing Heaven Demoness muttered softly. She wanted to take a step towards He Lu Lan, but she did not do so eventually. So it's like this, I think I understand now. Fang Yuan had been observing all of their expressions this entire time. Chapter 944, The Greatest Fear is Fear Itself. Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House. Mountains stood tall, fog was thick. In a deep area of the bamboo forest, a waterfall resembled a clear veil as it hung in the air and fell downwards. Feng Jinhuang sat silently on the branch of a pine tree. She quietly looked at the waterfall as her tears fell. During this period of time, the Central Continent GU immortals who were sent to investigate northern plains had already returned. But there was no news of Feng Juzhe. From Feng Jinhuang's perspective, her father was missing without a trace in another region. It was likely that he had already died. These last days, Feng Jinhuang did not have the appetite to eat or mood to cultivate. Her face was drenched in tears as she became thinner. Life and death. These were heavy words. They attacked Feng Jinhuang's fragile heart at an unexpected timing. It was not that Feng Jinhuang had never seen someone die. But when it came to her own family, facing this situation, she lost all of the composure and calmness that she had. But she was still hanging on staunchly. The nightmare did not defeat her, she only cried secretly at a place without any other person. On the surface, she was still cultivating as usual, but she had no idea what the content of her cultivation for the last few days was. A figure appeared behind Feng Jinhuang silently, out of thin air. Daughter, she heard a familiar voice. Feng Jinhuang turned around. The person was her mother, Fairy Bai Qing. Mother. Feng Jinhuang could not hold it in anymore. She went into Fairy Bai Qing's embrace as she cried her lungs out. Fairy Bai Qing consoled her for a long time before Feng Jinhuang stopped crying. Mother, father is so powerful, he must be all right now, am I right? Feng Jinhuang raised her head as she looked at her mother with a hopeful expression. But Fairy Bai Qing did not directly console her in this matter. She shook her head. Even the invincible rank 9 GU immortals die one day, not to mention your father. People here must die eventually. Huang stop crying, let mother tell you a story. This was a story in less than the legends of Ren Zhu greater than. Legend says that Ren Zhu tried to rely on the capabilities of the Featherman to save his daughter, who was still stuck inside ordinary abyss. However, the Featherman wanted freedom, they did not want to be restricted. Ren Zhu thought of a scheme, but he failed. The Featherman would rather die than compromise their freedom. Ren Zhu fell into deep perplexity. He could not find a better way to save his children. The same situation applied to his eldest son, verdant great son, and also his daughter, boundless forest Samsara. At this time, Self-Gu spoke in Ren Zhu's heart. Oh human, you want to save your son, verdant great son, I have a method. Ren Zhu thought that he had to save at least one of them. He quickly asked, oh. What method? Self-Gu laughed. All living beings in this world will die. This is because fate Gu entered the door of life and death, and left a trace behind when searching for fairness Gu. Oh human, you can enter the door of life and death, and walk on the road of life and death, As long as you do not walk on the traces of fate, you will step on a road that belongs to you solely. When you walk into the door of life and death and leave again, you will form a brand new road that would be partway to success. Next, as long as you bring verdant great sun onto the path that you walked on, and leave the door of life and death, you will be able to return to the human world where the sun shines. Your son, verdant great sun, will be able to escape death and revive. Renzu heard the method of self-gu and was very hesitant, but there was no better solution available. Thus, he decided to let boundless forest samsara stay inside ordinary abyss for a while longer, while he used the method taught by self-gu to save his eldest son, verdant great sun. Renzu set off towards the door of life and death. As he walked, one day, he met with a beastman. This beastman was very muscular, his muscles were like rocks, the fangs in his mouth were sharper than blades. He took huge steps, sprinting in the wilderness as he shouted, "Don't get any closer, don't come here. I am afraid." Renzu was very curious, he asked, "Oh beastman, what are you afraid of?" The beastman said, "I am afraid of my own shadow, it keeps following me, I cannot get rid of it. I am so afraid that I can only run around in all directions, I am tired, hungry, and thirsty, I am going to die." Renzu felt that this was funny. "Oh beastman, you have such a powerful body, yet you are afraid of a harmless shadow, do you have a cowardly heart? What is there to be afraid of?" At this time, a Gu worm came out of the beastman's heart, it laughed at Renzu, "Oh human, do not speak so shamelessly. You do not feel afraid because you have not encountered me, fear Gu. Hey. Fear Gu. Renzu took a step back, his expression changed. Once fear Gu appeared, fear started to well up in Renzu's heart. He was afraid. Fear Gu laughed even more arrogantly now, it said to the beastman, "I will let you off now, little beastman, you pitiful worm." The beastman was free now, it fell to the ground, weeping in extreme joy. Fear Gu turned around, facing Renzu, "Oh human, you dared to look down on me, fear Gu, now I will torture you with endless fear." Saying this, fear Gu flew into Renzu's heart with a whooshing sound. Renzu felt immense fear. He was afraid of this, and afraid of that. Fear Gu made him scared of the wind, every time the wind blew, Renzu screamed in horror. Fear Gu made him afraid of sunlight, Renzu could only travel at night and often lost his way, during daytime he would enter caves or hide inside thick bushes. Fear Gu also made Renzu afraid of tree leaves, thus Renzu ran away from the forests, every tree he saw made him shriek. Fear Gu made Renzu afraid of snakes, in the end, Renzu even stopped using the grass ropes that he made himself. After that, Fear Gu made Renzu scared of rain. Whenever it rained, Renzu would shrivel up and look at the sky that was raining continuously, feeling extreme fear. Renzu wanted to go to the door of life and death, but after being struck by Fear Gu, he could not move much, he could not make any progress. When Fear Gu understood Renzu's motive, it made Renzu scared of death. Renzu no longer dared to walk towards the door of life and death. Because once he entered the door of life and death, he would be walking from life towards death. Renzu was afraid that he would die, he could only stay in place. Self-Gu sighed. "Oh human, actually death is not scary, the real scary thing is the fear in your heart." "That is right." Fear Gu heard this and said proudly, "The only thing worth being afraid of is fear." Fairy Bai Qing spoke this story as Feng Jinhuang was silent in her arms. Fairy Bai Qing looked at her daughter lovingly, she said again, "Huang no matter what, you have to become stronger and face death head-on. Death is not scary, everybody dies, not even a rank 9 Venerable is spared from it. Your father might be dead or alive. But one day, I will certainly die, and so will you. Never be defeated by the fear in your heart." Feng Jinhuang's body shuddered. She struggled lightly, freeing herself from her mother's warm hug. Tears were still flickering in her eyes, but she showed determination and fortitude. She looked at Fairy Bai Qing, gritting her teeth, "Mother, I understand. I will go cultivate now, there will be no fear in my heart, no matter how father is right now, I will not be fearful, I will face it directly and face any possible outcome. I am Feng Jinhuang, how can I make father and mother lose face?" He, you are really a good child." Fairy Bai Qing concealed the worry in her eyes, her face was filled with a smile. Actually, she was frantic internally. Feng Juji's disappearance hugely influenced matters. Spirit Affinity House recruited Feng Juje, allowing them to be at the lead of the 10 ancient sects in this generation. The other 9 sects faced some suppression in one way or another. These were the characteristics of a society where one person could cultivate to have great strength. The influence of one person was expanded hugely. Right now, Feng Juzhe was not around, Spirit Affinity House's authority fell drastically, the other 9 sects were ready to make trouble, Central Continent had deep undercurrents that could create huge tremors and drastic changes. It was like this outside of the sect. But within her own sect, Fairy Bai Qing also was not having an easy time. Places with people will have competition for benefits. Where there are sects, there is internal strife. Feng Juzhe's disappearance made the ones who had been suppressed to the lowest level able to suddenly raise their heads. Feng Juzhe was too powerful, to the extent that Fairy Bai Qing had almost forgotten that there were many people in the sect who was against them. These last days, those people had been gathering strength and ostracizing Fairy Bai Qing. Fairy Bai Qing loved Feng Juzhe deeply, she wanted to go to Northern Plains and help him. But she had been controlling herself, holding down this impulse. She had a daughter to care for. Feng Juzhe was so powerful but he still went missing, she could not move carelessly. If even she was gone, what would Feng Jinhuang do? She is just a child. This was Fairy Bai Qing's thoughts. From the viewpoint of every parent, their children were always children. Northern Plains. He Cheng's headless corpse was still in the mud. His soul was wailing, but he could not escape from He Lulan's hands. He Lulan killed He Cheng and stomped on her father's head, but it was not enough. Now, He Cheng's soul had also been captured, he was surely going to be tortured and interrogated by He Lulan. Meanwhile, Blazing Heaven Demoness squatted on the ground and used an immortal killer move. A small hand of flames appeared out of nowhere, grabbing at He Cheng's stomach. The small fire hand easily fused into He Cheng's corpse. After fiddling around for a while, it flew out while holding onto a pearl. This is He Cheng's immortal aperture, I have temporarily retrieved it. Little Lan, take it, it can only last for 7 days and 7 nights, once the time limit is up, my immortal killer move will stop and the immortal aperture will fuse with the outside world to form a blessed land. It is a pity that the GU worms in the immortal aperture, be them mortal or immortal, have all been destroyed. Blazing Heaven Demoness said as she passed the fire pearl into He Lulan's hands. He Lulan received it silently. Fairy Li Shan and Fang Yuan were inwardly shocked by Blazing Heaven Demoness' method. Blazing Heaven Demoness laughed. Don't look at me with such expressions. He, this method of taking an immortal aperture is not a skill devised originally by me. I obtained an inheritance of Immortal Kongju in Eastern Sea, I learned his method of retrieving apertures, and created this Fire Path Immortal Killer move. Blazing Heaven Demoness was an extremely rare Great Grand Master. At this attainment level, it was easy to understand capabilities of other paths using their own as a foundation, her methods were very comprehensive in all aspects. Alright, now, we will talk about your matter, Fang Yuan. Fairy Li Shan looked towards Fang Yuan with a coldly smiling expression. Chapter 945, Ceasefire. Alright, now, we will talk about your matter, Fang Yuan. Fairy Li Shan looked towards Fang Yuan with a coldly smiling expression. Fang Yuan's heart shook, but Blazing Heaven Demoness said, no need to rush, I am still waiting for someone. Oh, who is it? Fairy Li Shan asked in surprise. It is me, a voice suddenly came from nowhere. Everyone's pupils shrunk, they turned around at lightning speed, facing the new arrival. This person had immense capability, if he did not speak, none of them would have realized that he was so close to them. But when they saw his appearance, everyone felt that such capability was to be expected. Old Ancestor Shuihu, He Lulan growled out. Leader, Fairy Li Shan's voice was hoarse and surprised. The person's elderly face was very energetic, his snow-white beard was very thick, it extended to his toes. Right now, all of his aura was concealed, not a trace of his might was felt, he looked like an ordinary old farmer. But everyone was at full alertness. Because he was the #1 demonic path GU immortal in Northern Plains, in control of snowy mountain blessed land, after the battle of rank 8s, some crowned him as the strongest rank 8 GU immortal, Old Ancestor Shuihu. Facing Old Ancestor Shuihu, only Blazing Heaven Demoness was calm and seemingly at ease. Shuihu, how was your harvest just now? Old Ancestor Shuihu nodded, replying slowly, even though He tribe has gotten weaker over the years, it is still a super force, it has a deep foundation. This infiltration into Iron Eagle blessed land gave me great gains. As it turned out, the 4 elders of He tribe directed the ancient battle formation Green City Rampage to chase after He Cheng, causing their base to be relatively unguarded. In order to obtain more GU refinement materials, Old Ancestor Shuihu sneaked into Iron Eagle blessed land and looted it. When the 4 elders of He tribe returned, he had already left with the profits. Snowy Mountain and Zombie Alliance are in a heated battle with constant conflicts. But just now, Blazing Heaven Demoness and Old Ancestor Shui Hu teamed up together to deal with He Tribe. Fang Yuan squinted, he couldn't help but raise his opinion of Blazing Heaven Demoness, seeing her in a different light. Blazing Heaven Demoness was strong and overbearing, but what was truly fearsome were her wits. If she did not ask Old Ancestor Shui Hu to take action, the 4 elders of He Tribe would not have left, Blazing Heaven Demoness would not have been able to leave so easily. Old Ancestor Shui Hu, who had the highest battle strength in Northern Plains, was willing to be used by Blazing Heaven Demoness. Ultimately, the reason for this was that Blazing Heaven Demoness aimed at Old Ancestor Shui Hu's weakness. He needed lots of immortal material for GU refinement, even though he knew he was being used, he was willing to do such a thing. Alright, this is the Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance Immortal Zombie, and the other immortal zombies. Even though I used several of them, most are still around. I will return them to you. Old Ancestor Shui Hu waved his hand, dozens of immortal zombie bodies appeared on the ground, one of them was still sleeping, it was the Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance Immortal Zombie. Old Ancestor Shui Hu looked at the Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance Physique Immortal Zombie with a regretful gaze. He knew that the Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance Zombie had some immortal GU. But these last days, even though he tried, he could not extract these immortal GU. This Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance Immortal Zombie had many methods, he used an unknown immortal killer move and fell asleep. If Old Ancestor Shui Hu did something overboard, the Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance Immortal Zombie would start self-detonating, and the immortal GU in his immortal aperture also showed signs of self-detonation. Blazing Heaven Demoness collected and put away these immortal zombies as she said seriously, Old Ancestor Shui Hu, you truly keep your words, then according to the agreement, Zombie Alliance will stop targeting Snowy Mountain, our battle will cease. Old Ancestor Shui Hu's eyes shined with light, he looked at Blazing Heaven Demoness as he said, Blazing Heaven Demoness, it seems that you made great gains in Eastern Sea, your strength has increased tremendously. But the time path injury still plagues you, now that the 4 elders of He Tribe are back in Iron Eagle Blessed Land, after this, they would not move out easily anymore. If you want to obtain He Fan's time path inheritance and settle your injury, it will be difficult. When you attack Iron Eagle Blessed Land in the future, I can lend a hand. Blazing Heaven Demoness laughed heartily, she clapped, good. I am also looking forward to working together with you again. Old Ancestor Shui Hu nodded, his figure slowly faded, in a few breaths' time, he vanished into thin air, like fog that dispersed under sunlight. From start to finish, Old Ancestor Shui Hu had not taken a glance at He Cheng's headless corpse. Earlier, Blazing Heaven Demoness and Old Ancestor Shui Hu had engaged in fierce combat, but now they were actually talking about future cooperation. Having the power and capability to do anything they want, that was the power of rank 8 great experts. Old Ancestor Shui Hu was known as the strongest GU immortal in Northern Plains, his battle strength exceeded Blazing Heaven Demoness, but he actually gave in this time and handed over the immortal zombie captives and bodies. He disregarded the reputation of the number 1 expert entirely. But Fang Yuan felt no surprise. Reputation was very much a secondary concern in reality, only one thing could move almost everybody in this world. That was benefit. GU immortals were humans too, they looked at benefits. In fact, it was very common for GU immortals to work together. Having cultivated to this stage, not at all an easy matter, what was the point of fighting to the death? If there was no special reason, no GU immortals would do that. All GU immortals want to develop themselves properly, because there was a sharp blade hanging above their heads. This blade would descend once in a while, cutting at their necks. If they could not endure it, they would die. If they survived it, they would still suffer a huge loss. This blade naturally was calamities and tribulations. The higher the GU immortal's cultivation level, the more terrifying the calamities and tribulations get, with greater difficulty in surviving, hope was bleak. People like Old Ancestor Shui Hu and Blazing Heaven Demoness, these rank 8 experts, were extremely cautious, they faced great danger. If they were careless, they would die under the tribulations. Thus, rank 8 GU immortals were all very vigilant. Earlier, Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu and Yao Huang fought against Old Ancestor Shui Hu, but did they use all of their trump cards and full strength? No, both sides were only probing each other. In the end, Old Ancestor Shui Hu displayed methods that were superior to what they were willing to use. That caused Yao Huang and Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu to retreat. Because if they continued, the fight would escalate, and they would lose control of the situation, they would be in danger. The fight between Zombie Alliance and Snowy Mountain Blessed Land was very heated, but there were few losses. They were making a huge commotion, but there were barely any consequences. Because be it old ancestor Shui Hu or blazing heaven demoness, they knew their limits. Just now, both sides cooperated. It might seem abrupt, but that was not true. Be it blazing heaven demoness or old ancestor Shui Hu, they achieved their goals. The former saved the blazing glory lightning brilliance immortal zombie and the other immortal zombie bodies. She completed the mission given by Zombie Alliance and successfully defended its reputation. The latter gave in, but he plundered the base of He tribe. His gains were greater than the immortal zombies he lost. The only party who had losses was the superforce He tribe. He tribe's losses were immense, but who cared? One could say that He tribe was the innocent party, suffering due to the conflict between Zombie Alliance and Snowy Mountain. But whose fault was it that the four elders of He tribe were schemed against? In this world, be it GU immortals or mortals, it did not matter who was innocent, the only thing that mattered was who had greater strength and methods. The strong prey on the weak, this was such a cruel and beautiful rule. After confirming that old ancestor Shui Hu had left, blazing heaven demoness turned around and faced Fang Yuan at long last. Now, we need to have a chat, Fang Yuan. She smiled lightly. She called him Fang Yuan instead of Xing Shangzi. Subconsciously, the pressure Fang Yuan felt internally intensified. But Fang Yuan smiled confidently. What do you have to say? I am listening. Blazing heaven demoness could not help but frown. She, Fairy Li Shan, and He Lu Lan had planned secretly for a long time to set up this situation. Not only did they want He Lu Lan to fulfill her vengeance and kill He Cheng, they also schemed against He tribe and settled the battle between Zombie Alliance and Snowy Mountain. In addition, they also wanted to force Fang Yuan to relent so that they could get their way. But now it seemed that Fang Yuan felt indifferent towards such force. He was like an eel, slipping out of their control. Blazing heaven demoness did not speak, but Fairy Li Shan said in a heavy tone, Fang Yuan, I admire you as a person, but please take a look at your situation. We can determine whether you live or die today. So what? Fang Yuan shrugged. He looked at Fairy Li Shan mockingly. It's only death at worst. Do you think that I, the great Fang Yuan, would fear death? The air seemed frozen. The scene became still. Ever since blazing heaven demoness, Fairy Li Shan, and He Lu Lan's relationship was exposed, Fang Yuan had been full of doubts. What did they want to do with him? Since blazing heaven demoness knew the true identity of Xing Shangzi, why did she fund Fang Yuan to refine Star Thought Immortal GU? Using her rank 8 battle strength, it was not hard for her to kill this bottom tier rank 6 immortal zombie. Why did she have to create this situation? Next, Fang Yuan analyzed calmly. With his rich life experience, he could see the true relationship between blazing heaven demoness, Fairy Li Shan, and He Lu Lan. On the surface, these three seemed like a united family, very close to each other. But in truth, their relationship was quite peculiar. They were not united. When Fang Yuan realized this, many questions that he had were answered at once. Thus, he had some confidence just now to adopt a strong stance, negotiating with blazing heaven demoness fearlessly. Of course, he had split a portion of his focus on Spring Autumn Cicada at all times. If this situation turned bad, he could only rely on this unreliable trump card. But each time he used Spring Autumn Cicada, there was a chance of failure. Fang Yuan would not use it unless he had no other options. The current situation was not so severe that he needed to use Spring Autumn Cicada. While remaining silent, blazing heaven demoness, frown became tighter. Fang Yuan's attitude gave her a problem. She understood that Fang Yuan had already realized her true motive. That was self-strength immortal GU. Blazing heaven demoness was someone without limits. Back then when she could not obtain the fragment world of the immemorial 9 heavens, she directly destroyed it, resulting in nobody gaining anything. She was afraid of Fang Yuan being just like that and destroying self-strength immortal GU. Self-strength immortal GU was already refined by Fang Yuan, he could destroy it with a single thought. Immortal GU were hard to take away. If it were not for that, blazing heaven demoness would not have created this situation, using a great deal of effort. Chapter 946, Past Grudges and Hatred. In the past, blazing heaven demoness suffered from time path injuries, thus she had placed hope in He Fan's time path inheritance. Thereupon, blazing heaven demoness began to make arrangements. She took charge of Su tribe, changed her third sister's name to Su Xian'er and intentionally made her approach He Cheng to enter He tribe. He Cheng and Su Xian'er were both in love with each other, becoming a GU immortal couple, and Su Xian's night elopement thus became a famous story. Su Xian'er did not forget her task and tried to find out information of He Fan's inheritance, but she gradually exposed her traces in the process. He tribe began investigating and got knowledge of Fairy Li Shan, making them think this was Snowy Mountain's plot. Su Xian'er, however, was truly in love with He Cheng, so she did not leave He tribe. Afterwards, He Cheng secretly killed Su Xian'er and prolonged his life. After learning of their younger sister's sacrifice, Blazing Heaven Demoness and Fairy Li Shan felt incomparable grief. Fairy Li Shan blamed Blazing Heaven Demoness and believed she was the reason for their sister's death. Later on, Fairy Li Shan completely fell out with Blazing Heaven Demoness. Blazing Heaven Demoness felt ashamed and guilty, but she was heavily injured and could not take revenge. She had also taken position as the leader of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance. She could not act independently easily, and could only go far away towards Eastern Sea. When she passed the regional wall, it was a nearly fatal experience. In Eastern Sea, she gradually had some fortuitous encounters from the clues she had gathered at Northern Plains. For instance, an inheritance left behind by old Immortal Kong Ju allowed Blazing Heaven Demoness to have a method of seizing another person's immortal aperture. These fortuitous encounters provided great help to Blazing Heaven Demoness and partially alleviated her injuries. For a long time, Fairy Li Shan did not contact Blazing Heaven Demoness. But when Fairy Li Shan took in He Lu Lan, instructed and helped her cultivate, and saw her growth, Fairy Li Shan gradually began to let go of her hatred. She hoped He Lu Lan could receive better help and support. Recently, Fairy Li Shan had completely calmed down and began to use information path methods to contact Blazing Heaven Demoness. Both sides started to communicate with each other. Blazing Heaven Demoness thus learned of Xing Shangzi's identity and began to scheme. Because Fang Yuan just happened to need Star Thought Immortal GU, Blazing Heaven Demoness was able to smoothly set an agreement with Fang Yuan. When she made use of Zombie Alliance's power to return to Northern Plains, she wanted to resolve her countless years of shame and guilt to He Lu Lan. She wanted to use all her strength to make it up to He Lu Lan. She wanted to make up for the mistakes she made in the past. She viewed things through He Lu Lan's perspective and thought of ways to support her. What was most important to He Lu Lan? Without doubt, it was self-strength Immortal GU. First of all, He Lu Lan possessed the great strength true martial physique and cultivated strength path. Self-strength Immortal GU was a strength path Immortal GU and was perfect for He Lu Lan. Second, self-strength Immortal GU was an inheritance given to He Lu Lan by Su Xian'er. As far as He Lu Lan was concerned, it was not just a rank 6 Immortal GU, it was an extremely important keepsake of her mother. Thus, Blazing Heaven Demoness thought of every way possible to take self-strength Immortal GU back for He Lu Lan. But she encountered a problem. From the communication with Fairy Li Shan, Blazing Heaven Demoness got an understanding of Fang Yuan. She was startled and wary of Fang Yuan's craftiness, and also saw her own image in him. On one hand, Fang Yuan was very proficient in scheming, on the other hand, Fang Yuan could take life-threatening risks and was not afraid of death. In pleasant words, it was bravery. In ugly words, it was thuggish and unscrupulous behavior. If I can't get benefits, you also can stop dreaming about them. If you want to fight, then come, it is just death at worst. This attitude was like that of Blazing Heaven Demoness, destroying a fragment world of the immemorial 9 heavens. As a result, Blazing Heaven Demoness had agreed to help Fang Yuan refine an Immortal GU and set an agreement with him. Blazing Heaven Demoness would help fund Fang Yuan with immortal materials, but Fang Yuan would be in debt to her. Whether he succeeded or not in refining the Immortal GU, he would need to pay her back later. The longer he dragged this on, the more interest Blazing Heaven Demoness would receive. If Fang Yuan successfully refines the Immortal GU but fails to return her the sum in 100 years, then Blazing Heaven Demoness would be allowed to take any one Immortal GU from Fang Yuan as compensation. Any one Immortal GU was the key. Blazing Heaven Demoness was targeting the self-strength Immortal GU that Fang Yuan possessed. Right now, as she saw Fang Yuan's attitude, Blazing Heaven Demoness raised her eyebrows and spoke frankly. Right, I want self-strength Immortal GU. Return the Immortal GU to Little Lan, it was hers after all. If she could directly take it, Blazing Heaven Demoness would have already done so and absolutely would not have gone through such trouble. But even if she was a Fire Path Great Grand Master, she could not forcibly take Immortal GU. The Immortal GU was already refined by Fang Yuan, and could be destroyed instantly with just a thought from him. Like old ancestor Shuihu who had extremely strong attainment in Ice Path, but had no way to take the mysterious Immortal GU inside the blazing glory lightning brilliance Immortal Zombie. Unless they were a wisdom path GU immortal who suppressed Fang Yuan and made sure he could not take action in thinking, or someone who had great accomplishment in theft path. Theft path was created by thieving heaven demon Venerable. His signature immortal killer move Formless Hand was feared by countless GU immortals. Blazing Heaven Demoness, Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan did not have wisdom path methods, and theft path was not a mainstream path, despite it being created by thieving heaven demon Venerable. Besides him, other cultivators of theft path were generally not able to achieve anything significant. If Blazing Heaven Demoness and the others had theft path methods, they could directly steal the immortal GU from Fang Yuan's aperture. Given they had set this up, the possibility of this was very small. Especially when Fang Yuan had wisdom path attainment, Blazing Heaven Demoness felt even more cautious regarding taking action. Blazing Heaven Demoness directly demanded self-strength immortal GU. Fang Yuan remained silent. Blazing Heaven Demoness, reason was not very justifiable. Fang Yuan had obtained self-strength immortal GU fair and square. If he had not saved He Lu Lan, she would have already lost her life in the dream realm. It could be said that Fang Yuan was He Lu Lan's benefactor. However, Fang Yuan did not want to speak of this. Such words were useless. Why would there be discussion about benevolence with those of fierce character? Moreover, back then when Fang Yuan helped He Lu Lan, he also did not hold any good intentions. If he talked about this, Blazing Heaven Demoness and the others would instead look down on him. A bigger fist is the best and the strongest reason. If I were stronger, I would not need to fear Blazing Heaven Demoness, extortion. Unfortunately, I cannot even escape right now. My cultivation is stagnant, my strength is too low. Fang Yuan was self-aware. He knew it was impossible for him to not hand over self-strength immortal GU. In the current situation, the enemy was strong while he was weak, like meat on the chopping block. But it was not that he did not have any cards in his hands. Firstly, there is the previous agreement. The agreement states allies cannot harm each other. But Fairy Li Shan is an information path GU immortal. She had openly violated the agreement when we invaded Dongfang tribe's blessed land. The value of this is rather small. Secondly, immortal GU are not easy to plunder. It is because of this that Blazing Heaven Demoness and the others had to make arrangements to trap me. But the value of this can only be at a middling level. I cannot overestimate its use. Blazing Heaven Demoness has the ability to capture me alive. If she put aside all considerations and decided to do so, wouldn't I be like that blazing glory lightning brilliance immortal zombie that fell into old ancestor Shuihu's hands? Thirdly, there is Purple Mountain True Monarch. He Lu Lan and others don't know this is only a lie. Earlier, I used this lie to deceive Tai Bai Yun Shang. But who could have thought it would instead become my greatest trump card at this moment? Fang Yuan was not wrong. After Blazing Heaven Demoness knew of Purple Mountain True Monarch, she treated such information with great importance. She was quite wary of this mysterious Purple Mountain True Monarch. If Purple Mountain True Monarch was a rank 8 GU immortal, and she captured his beloved disciple, the trouble stirred up in the future would not be small. Blazing Heaven Demoness had just approached old ancestor Shuihu and sought to trouble him. She naturally did not want herself to fall into the same situation. Even if Purple Mountain True Monarch was only rank 7, he still had many disciples. Fang Yuan claimed he was only a junior disciple and had senior disciples above him. Especially when this Purple Mountain True Monarch was extremely resourceful, he could arrange his disciple to enter Immortal Crane sect. But did Purple Mountain True Monarch really exist? He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan were completely in the dark, and Blazing Heaven Demoness, who obtained information from them, also was deceived by this. Fang Yuan's silence made Blazing Heaven Demoness slightly impatient as she urged, "Fang Yuan, what requests do you have? Say them, we can talk." Fang Yuan let out a breath. He had already planned it all inwardly. But he did not reply to Blazing Heaven Demoness' question, instead asking, "Those GU refinement immortal materials you gave me to refine Star Thought immortal GU, did you tamper with them?" Blazing Heaven Demoness smiled. Of course. She actually admitted it. Moreover, she did not have even a trace of embarrassment on her face. Fang Yuan frowned. Actually, I had suspected this, but every time I refined GU, I inspected the immortal materials carefully. Why was I not able to find anything amiss? Blazing Heaven Demoness replied, "That is because your fire path attainment has not reached Great Grandmaster level. I added a trace of fire path Dao marks on each fire path immortal material. The increase is very small, but it accumulates with every immortal material used, and takes substantial effect during the refinement process, ruining the GU refinement." Blazing Heaven Demoness naturally had to do this. If Fang Yuan succeeded in refining, how could she coerce Fang Yuan? Fang Yuan did not nag about this issue, he nodded and continued, I can return self-strength Immortal GU, but I have some conditions. Hearing this, Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan's hopes were raised. Blazing Heaven Demoness looked at Fang Yuan with slight surprise, and clapped, now I can somewhat understand why little sister wanted to suppress you. Speak, what are your requests? First of all, I want to form a new agreement. This agreement was the assurance for his safety. Although Fairy Li Shan was an information path GU Immortal and could have unknown methods to break the agreement, she would need to make preparations before doing so. At least during that period, Fang Yuan could escape safely. This is a must. Blazing Heaven Demoness agreed. Fang Yuan continued. Secondly, my debt of the immortal materials you lent to me before will be cleared. As long as you return self-strength Immortal GU, this won't be a problem. Blazing Heaven Demoness replied straightforwardly. I want to leave Zombie Alliance, and get rid of the alliance agreement with them. Okay, finally, I want Strength Path Immortal Zombie Corpses. You need to promise me that you will do your utmost to get me as many Strength Path Immortal Zombie Corpses as possible. Fang Yuan's eyes shined brightly. Chapter 947, Nirvana Fire. He Lu Lan had Blazing Heaven Demoness protecting her, Fang Yuan could no longer target her. If he could not obtain a super-grade Blessed Land, a high-grade Blessed Land was still very good. To achieve that, Fang Yuan needed a large number of ordinary Strength Path Immortal Zombie bodies. And in Northern Plains, who else could obtain more immortal zombie bodies than Blazing Heaven Demoness? Of course, Fang Yuan gave a valid-sounding excuse. If I give self-strength Immortal GU to you, I will not have a useful Strength Path Immortal GU with me. I need to refine a Strength Path Immortal GU to replace it. The Immortal GU recipe that I have needs a large number of Strength Path Immortal zombie bodies. This excuse perfectly concealed the life and death Immortal Aperture Revival method. Blazing Heaven Demoness could not reject him either. Blazing Heaven Demoness frowned deeply. If she agreed, she would have to pay a huge price. Earlier, old ancestor Shui Hu handed over some immortal zombies, a large number of Strength Path Immortal zombies were among them. But if she gave them to Fang Yuan, Blazing Heaven Demoness, contribution to Zombie Alliance would be greatly diminished. Immortal zombies were very particular about preserving their corpses after dying. This was the last bit of pride they had. Old ancestor Shui Hu targeted the immortal zombie graveyard, that caused Zombie Alliance to mobilize their forces to deal with this rank 8 expert, going into a state of frenzy disregarding the cost. That was because immortal zombie bodies were the bottom line of Zombie Alliance. Anyone who targets them will face the vengeance of Zombie Alliance. Old ancestor Shui Hu understood this as well. After the matter was exposed, even though he obtained a large number of immortal zombie bodies, he kept many of them without using them, leaving behind a way to settle the situation. Blazing Heaven Demoness thought, I can give the Strength Path Immortal zombie bodies to Fang Yuan. This matter can be blamed on old ancestor Shui Hu, nobody will suspect me. But the problem is, Fang Yuan wants to use immortal zombie bodies to refine Immortal GU. Immortal GU were hard to refine, it was normal to fail. Blazing Heaven Demoness shook her head. She said to Fang Yuan, if you keep failing in your refinement, would I have to provide you immortal zombie bodies unceasingly? That is impossible. As the leader of the Zombie Alliance branch, I am stealing from the inside. If I get exposed, the consequences are severe. How about this? You can give me a number. If it is reasonable, I will consider it. Fang Yuan thought about it and gave a number. Blazing Heaven Demoness immediately rejected him. The number was too large, it was too risky for even her to obtain this many Strength Path Immortal zombie bodies. Next, both sides negotiated and eventually reached a consensus. Fang Yuan obtained a number of Strength Path Immortal zombies that greatly exceeded the requirements for a high-grade Blessed Land. But on the surface, he pretended to be dissatisfied. This is only enough for me to do 3 attempts at GU refinement. Fairy Li Shan snorted coldly. Fang Yuan, I urge you not to get an inch and ask for a mile. Fang Yuan chuckled. He looked at Fairy Li Shan. Back then, when He Lu Lan was trapped in the dream realm, why didn't you have this attitude? These words made Fairy Li Shan slightly awkward. She was not as shameless as Blazing Heaven Demoness. Talking more is pointless, we can form the new agreement now. Once the agreement is created, I will return self-strength Immortal GU to you. Fang Yuan continued. Wait, Blazing Heaven Demoness waved her hand. Earlier, you stated your conditions, now, it is my turn. Fang Yuan smiled bitterly internally. He knew that Blazing Heaven Demoness was not so easy to deal with. But Blazing Heaven Demoness, words made Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan extremely surprised. I am willing to fund you to refine Star Thought Immortal GU, I will not do anything to the immortal materials this time. Fang Yuan heard this and did not feel joy, he squinted as he went into high alert. Seeing Fang Yuan's vigilant state, Blazing Heaven Demoness smiled. She said, Fang Yuan, I know that you have been looking for a revival method to get rid of your immortal zombie state, look at this. Saying so, Blazing Heaven Demoness' body started to burn in raging flames. Orange-yellow flames covered Blazing Heaven Demoness' entire body. But the strange thing was, it was not hot, it was filled with life force and could give observers a feeling of warmth and hope. It seemed harmless, but Fang Yuan took a few steps back vigilantly. Next, his eyes opened wide as he witnessed an unbelievable sight. In the burning flames, Blazing Heaven Demoness' immortal zombie body started to change. First, her 5-meter-tall zombie body shrunk rapidly, returning to a normal person's height. Next, her skin, which was rough and dark like tree bark, vanished in the flames. White and tender skin appeared on her, like a freshly peeled egg. Next, her immortal zombie hair, which looked like messy red wheat stalks, turned long and slim. The red color was vibrant and warm. Finally, Blazing Heaven Demoness' entire figure went through a complete transformation. From a scary giant zombie, she turned into a beautiful woman wearing a red dress. She had tender skin, sharp features, her gaze was energetic, and her lips were bright red. Her chest was busty, it could barely be contained, her legs were slim and long, yet they were also not thin. Most strikingly, her hair extended to waist length, it was burning red, giving off a dream-like feeling, vibrant and overflowing with colors. In this wondrous flame, Blazing Heaven Demoness had performed an amazing display in front of Fang Yuan. She turned from an immortal zombie to a living person. Her entire aura also became stronger. Like a gently burning flame, becoming larger and giving off loud noises, other than giving people a sense of liveliness, her aura was also more overbearing. Blazing Heaven Demoness' face became more rosy, but Fairy Li Shan showed worry on her face. Big sister, be careful of your injury. Blazing Heaven Demoness understood this, of course. The price she paid for this was not small, but seeing Fang Yuan's shining eyes and intense desire, she felt that it was worth it. Thus, she extinguished the flame on her body and used GU worms, turning her body taller and transforming from a beauty into a monster, becoming an immortal zombie again. Blazing Heaven Demoness said, I have a time path injury on my body that causes my aging to accelerate hundreds of times. Without any choice, I had to become an immortal zombie. But you saw earlier that I can revive easily, changing between the immortal zombie and living GU immortal states. This is because of the immortal killer move that I used earlier, Nirvana Fire. Nirvana Fire. Fang Yuan felt some hope internally. Earlier, he did not care about it, because he already had the best revival method there was. But hearing Blazing Heaven Demoness' words, Fang Yuan still was greatly excited. Using the life and death immortal aperture revival method, I will turn into an ordinary GU immortal completely. My remaining lifespan will decrease accordingly. I cannot use wisdom GU after that, since my lifespan would be consumed rapidly under the light of wisdom. Furthermore, each immortal aperture can only use the life and death immortal aperture revival method once, it cannot be repeated. If I can obtain this revival method and interchange between the states of immortal zombie and living GU immortal, that would be excellent. I would be able to use wisdom GU more optimally. Blazing Heaven Demoness observed his expression. Seeing that Fang Yuan was interested, she added chips to her side of the bargain. She took out a mortal GU, saying to Fang Yuan, this is my third request, you have to accept this gift. If it were an ordinary mortal GU, Fang Yuan would not take even a glance at it. But Fang Yuan could not look away from this mortal GU that Blazing Heaven Demoness took out. The reason was simple, this mortal GU was so valuable even rank 9 venerables looked for it painstakingly. This was a lifespan GU. Blazing Heaven Demoness continued. Fang Yuan, I know that you have little lifespan left, this lifespan GU can give you 60 years of life, after you change back, you will not be old. Fang Yuan sighed to himself deeply. Blazing Heaven Demoness gave 3 conditions. The first was to help Fang Yuan refine Star Thought Immortal GU, and she promised that she would not tamper with the materials. The second was to give Fang Yuan a revival method. Most importantly, this revival method allowed Fang Yuan to turn into an immortal zombie freely and use wisdom GU fully. The third was a 60-year lifespan GU, it was a treasure that Fang Yuan had been looking for. Rather than saying these 3 requests were Blazing Heaven Demoness conditions, they were more like bait that she was laying out in front of Fang Yuan. Facing such huge temptation, Fang Yuan felt excited, at the same time, his mood was heavy. He knew that Blazing Heaven Demoness was doing this for a reason. Thus, he cupped his fists at Blazing Heaven Demoness, saying seriously, I cannot reject Blazing Heaven Demoness conditions. Please continue stating them. Fang Yuan could not reject her. Because he did not have the strength to do so. Ha ha ha. Blazing Heaven Demoness raised her head and laughed. Fang Yuan understood the situation he was in, she was very pleased and finally stated her true objectives. Blazing Heaven Demoness had 6 true conditions. First, she wanted Fang Yuan to give her all of his eerie fire dragon pythons. Second, she wanted to enter into the Guts GU business, and become the largest buyer in the Guts GU trades. Third, and the most important of them, she wanted Tai Bai Yunsheng to cooperate with her using man as before and landscape as before, to try and heal the time path injury that she had. Fourth, she wanted to be able to borrow Fang Yuan's fixed immortal travel from now on to return to Eastern Sea. Fifth, she wanted Fang Yuan to make a deduction for her each year for free. The content could be related to finding Immortal GU, deducing incomplete Immortal GU recipes, and others. Sixth, if possible, she wanted to meet Fang Yuan's master, Purple Mountain True Monarch. Fang Yuan thought about this thoroughly. He could agree to the first request. Eerie Fire Dragon Pythons were related to Fire Path, they might be useful to Blazing Heaven Demoness, but Fang Yuan could do without them. The second request was for Blazing Heaven Demoness to enter into the Guts GU trade and become a larger buyer than Immortal Crane Sect and Spirit Affinity House. Fang Yuan could accept this. With Blazing Heaven Demoness funding, perhaps the Guts GU trade would expand even further. For the third request, if Fang Yuan talked to Tai Bai Yunsheng he would not reject it. But man as before and landscape as before could not fall into Blazing Heaven Demoness hands. The fourth request involving fixed immortal travel was similar. Fang Yuan would not lend the Immortal GU, at most, he would go along with Blazing Heaven Demoness. Fang Yuan directly agreed to the fifth request. The sixth request was nothing but Blazing Heaven Demoness trying to probe into Fang Yuan's background and the force behind him. This was impossible. Purple Mountain True Monarch did not exist, he was made up by Fang Yuan. Chapter 948, Attitude GU. Central Continent, Heavenly Court. The silver light in the sky seemed everlasting and indestructible. There were many halls on the ground, but there was silence, without any person around. There was an old tower standing tall and proud among the halls. This tower was covered in blemishes, it had over 3 million years of history. It was very famous, the Immortal GU house that star constellation Immortal Venerable created herself, Heaven Overseeing Tower. There was a huge refinement path GU formation around Heaven Overseeing Tower. In the 4 cores of the GU formation, there were 4 rank 8 GU immortals respectively, 3 male and 1 female, 1 old-looking and 3 young. At this moment, seeing that the huge GU formation was gradually coming to a halt, the 4 Heavenly Court GU immortals let out deep breaths, their tense minds calmed down. Once they relaxed, Lian Ju Sheng's body wavered, he could not stand upright, he sat down on the ground directly. The others were not any better. Bai Kang Shui's head was full of sweat, while Bai Chen Tian was pale. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's aged face had even deeper wrinkles than before. Any of these 4 people, if they went outside, would be huge characters in Central Continent, or famous experts even in the 5 regions. But at this moment, they were all exhausted, it was as if they were extremely hungry, after having fought strong foes for 300 days, without any rest or sleep. After all, how could repairing the rank 9 Immortal GU fate be so easy? Thinking about the difficulties when activating the GU formation, Bai Kang Shui and the others felt immensely glad. One crucial step in repairing fate was to draw in Heaven's will. Heaven's will was grand and vast, a human's will was small and insignificant compared to it. The 4 GU immortals endured much hardship to maintain their consciousness amidst the inflow of Heaven's will. Under this situation minutes felt like years, they lasted for several hundred days and eventually succeeded. Good. Just now was a great success for repairing fate Immortal GU. Everyone has worked hard. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord carried his walking stick as he slowly got up, he looked at the GU formation in the center with much joy, as Fate Immortal GU floated above it. This Fate Immortal GU was like a black and white spider. The red wound on its body had already shrunken by 30%. We finally succeeded, Bai Chen Tian sighed. Now that we succeeded, Fate GU can already use 50% of its strength. Even if it is outside of Heaven Overseeing Tower, it can start to show some effect. Lian Ju Sheng said excitedly. Oh, what effect? Bai Kang Shui asked in puzzlement. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord was extremely tired, but he smiled and said, the effect of Fate Immortal GU is fate itself. You have to know. all living beings in this world have certain paths in life that they follow, they cannot be allowed to change. After Red Lotus Demon Venerable harmed Fate Immortal GU, the world went into chaos. Right now, Fate Immortal GU has already recovered 50% of its strength. With its existence, the world is already starting to adjust itself. All of those who derailed from their original path before this, even if they took a huge detour, will start to move towards their original fate, and continue on that path. At this moment, in Northern Plains, Blazing Heaven Demoness listed her true intentions. After considering them, Fang Yuan replied to Blazing Heaven Demoness. He did not directly reject the sixth request, he said that he could not directly make the decision for such a thing. He would try to inform his master, Purple Mountain True Monarch, but whether he would show up or not was the master's decision. Blazing Heaven Demoness expressed her understanding. After both sides reached a consensus, the heavy atmosphere eased slightly. After patiently negotiating, both sides set a new agreement. This alliance agreement was hard to break. Fang Yuan used his previous life's experiences to avoid loopholes in the alliance agreement and increasing the difficulties of breaking it. Fang Yuan estimated that even if Fairy Li Shan had Information Path Great Grand Master attainment level, she would still need at least 2 to 3 years to break the agreement. Moreover, Fairy Li Shan was not an Information Path Great Grand Master. After setting the alliance agreement, Fang Yuan's safety was assured. He followed the agreement and handed over Self-Strength Immortal GU to He Lulan. Even though he lost Self-Strength Immortal GU, Fang Yuan was satisfied with the results. In fact, Blazing Heaven Demoness was not overbearing in this negotiation. Of course, if Fang Yuan refused to hand over Self-Strength Immortal GU, then that would be another story. Fang Yuan made great gains this time. All in all, this was a fair exchange of benefits. Blazing Heaven Demoness did not try to lay her hands on Fang Yuan's Hu Immortal Blessed Land, Starform Blessed Land, Danghun Mountain, or Fixed Immortal Travel. She did not even mention Fairy Li Shan's Time Luck Immortal GU. This showed that she was truly sincere in cooperating with Fang Yuan. Be it his wisdom path attainment, fixed immortal travel or other aspects, Fang Yuan had very great value if used. After achieving a mutually beneficial result by cooperating, Blazing Heaven Demoness would not strike forcefully. After all, in her mind, Fang Yuan was backed by Purple Mountain True Monarch. After He Lulan received Self-Strength Immortal GU, Fang Yuan purposely let go of it, and she successfully refined it rapidly. It had finally returned to her. He Lulan sighed as she used the Immortal GU. At once, her body shook as 3 Strength Path Phantoms appeared. These 3 phantoms were not burly and rough-looking men like before, they were similar to He Lulan's own appearance, they were all peerless beauties. Fairy Li Shan was overjoyed at this. Little Lan, you have finally unraveled the biggest obstacle in your heart, and found your true self. He Lulan nodded in joy. When she killed He Cheng personally, she felt refreshed, her breathing became more relaxed, and she felt like she had started a new life. The Strength Path Phantoms in front of her were proof. He Lulan smiled and laughed. She turned towards Blazing Heaven Demoness. Elder Aunt, don't you want He Fan's Time Path inheritance? I can help you. Blazing Heaven Demoness heard He Lulan calling her Elder Aunt, and trembled from excitement. She knew that He Lulan actually hated her. After all, if it were not for her injury, He Lulan's mother would not have exposed herself during the course of events when undercover in He tribe. In a way, Blazing Heaven Demoness could be considered the killer of He Lulan's mother. He Lulan continued. Next, I will return to He tribe by infiltrating it. I will find He Fan's inheritance, and obtain it afterwards. No, Blazing Heaven Demoness and Fairy Li Shan shouted in disagreement. He Lulan's words made them severely shocked. Back then, Su Xian died because of this. He Lulan wanted to walk on Su Xian former path, how could her 2 aunts allow tragedy to strike again? Don't worry, I have already planned this for a long time. He Lulan expected their reactions. She placed her arms behind her as she walked slowly, analyzing calmly. Times are different now. The 4 elders of He tribe would not leave their base easily after this battle. With He Cheng's death, He tribe's reputation has sunken. In the following days, many super forces will collaborate and deal with He tribe. With He tribe's current strength, they cannot hold on to so many resources anymore. This is a rare opportunity. I will get into He tribe and obtain the highest authority. It is time this super force had a new owner. He Lulan had great ambition, even Fang Yuan was shocked at her goals. Old ancestor Shui who only wanted to steal some resources, he even hid himself during the process, fearful of He tribe's revenge. But He Lulan actually wanted to take over all of He tribe. It is too dangerous. Fairy Li Shan shook her head. I will not allow it. Blazing Heaven Demoness spoke plainly, but she showed off a stance that did not allow rebuking. He Lu Lan looked at her aunts fearlessly. She smiled. I know that you are concerned about me, but I'm afraid you have the wrong idea. This is my decision, I am not discussing it with you. You can refuse to cooperate with me, but you cannot interfere with my choice. Fairy Li Shan and Blazing Heaven Demoness looked at each other speechlessly. He Lu Lan knew that it was hard to accomplish this goal herself, but if she had the help of both her aunts, along with Fang Yuan's strength, it would be of huge help to her, the danger would be lower, and she would have a higher chance of succeeding. Fine, I will give you some assurance. He Lu Lan said, taking out a mask. This mask was emanating with the aura of an immortal GU. Attitude GU. At once, Fairy Li Shan stared with wide-opened eyes. Fang Yuan's gaze was fixed onto this mask. Attitude GU was a legendary immortal GU, it was recorded in less than the legends of Ren Zhu greater than, and also one of the immortal GU that Fang Yuan was searching for. That was because Attitude GU was the core immortal GU of Familiar Face. Fang Yuan had the modified Immortal Killer move Vaguely Familiar Face. If he fused Attitude GU into it, his disguise would surely be at a higher level. Blazing Heaven Demoness had a puzzled look. This GU was once in He Fan's hands. He Fan doted on his granddaughter, He Feng Yu, and gave Attitude GU to her. He Feng Yu was a spoiled brat. As a mortal, she brought the immortal GU to roam the icy plane. In the end, she was targeted by a mysterious GU immortal and vanished. Attitude GU also disappeared as a result, and never showed up again. He Lu Lan's lips curled up. She toyed around with Attitude GU. That's right, I obtained this Attitude GU from the icy plane. Fairy Li Shan was curious. Little Lan, when did you go to the icy plane? Wait, unless. That's right, I purposely went to the northern icy plane for my immortal ascension because I had clues of Attitude GU's whereabouts. That was the only way I could subdue Attitude GU, by borrowing the heavenly might of the tribulation. Haha, I will not talk about the specific details. He Lu Lan explained. Fairy Li Shan was surprised. She assessed He Lu Lan again, feeling complex emotions, she was both happy and dejected. Nobody found out that He Lu Lan had obtained Attitude GU, and she did not tell anyone either. Even Fairy Li Shan was kept in the dark. This child has grown up after all. Blazing Heaven Demoness sighed internally. He Lu Lan wore the mask, saying plainly, from now onwards, I am Fairy Black Moon. Blazing Heaven Demoness clapped and smiled. Excellent. With Attitude GU as well as the genuine He tribe bloodline, this matter might very well succeed. Fang Yuan was shocked. He Lu Lan is Fairy Black Moon. Chapter 949, Divine Concealment. Fang Yuan observed He Lu Lan closely. He Lu Lan's appearance had changed greatly after wearing the mask. Clad in black and gold armored martial attire, with short hair and bright eyes, a heroic and domineering aura radiated around her and gave an oppressive sensation to others. She unexpectedly looked almost the same as Fairy Black Moon's appearance, which Fang Yuan had seen in the records from Central Continent back in his previous life. Attitude GU influences not my eyes, but my mind. Right now, the person I am looking at is still He Lu Lan wearing Attitude GU, but my mind is perceiving her as a different person. This is far too huge of a coincidence, it seems He Lu Lan is undoubtedly Fairy Black Moon. Fang Yuan was convinced of this, understanding the hidden inside details of his previous life. In his previous life, He Lu Lan had become the winner of the Imperial Court contest. According to history, she was a tyrant and was later assassinated. But in fact, she had not died. She joined Central Continent's Spirit Affinity House and became the next generation fairy of Spirit Affinity House. And later, she returned to Northern Plains, leading Central Continent's GU Immortals, wrecking 88 Truyong building and destroying the spiritual pillar of Northern Plains' GU Immortal world. If that was the case, how was He Lu Lan able to get in touch with Spirit Affinity House? Fang Yuan immediately thought of Mo Yao's will. He Lu Lan won in the Imperial Court contest, entered Imperial Court Blessed Land and obtained Mo Yao's will. And under the influence of Mo Yao's will, she joined Spirit Affinity House. As for how big of an influence Mo Yao's will was, Fang Yuan was not sure. His intuition told him that this guess should be the truth of history during his previous life. It was only that in this life, because of Fang Yuan's interference, the whole situation was thrown into disorder. Mo Yao's will influenced Fang Yuan and almost caused him to die. So when I was in Northern Plains, I had already caused a huge influence to the future of Central Continent. Sure enough, the butterfly effect is beyond imagination. But now, Lu Lan is still in Northern Plains. If so, who will Spirit Affinity House appoint as the next generation fairy? Will it be Feng Jinhuang? Fang Yuan let his thoughts wander. He felt that since Lu Lan was no longer involved, Feng Jinhuang was the most likely candidate to inherit the position of the next generation fairy. Zhao Lianyun, you can be the next generation fairy of Spirit Affinity House, as long as you successfully obtain this inheritance. Standing in front of the Thieving Heaven Inheritance's entrance, a Wisdom Path GU Immortal of Spirit Affinity House, Shu Hao, spoke to Zhao Lianyun. Zhao Lianyun gazed at the huge entrance of light with a resolute expression. I don't care about being the next generation fairy, I only want to save Brother Ma Hongyun as quickly as possible. Illusory fairy Li Junying stood beside Shu Hao, revealing a slight smile as she heard this. She softly stroked Zhao Lianyun's cheek, revealing a bewitching smile. Cute little sister, this is a Thieving Heaven inheritance. As long as you can successfully inherit it, you will be very likely to have the power to save your lover. Zhao Lianyun blushed. Her eyes, however, were sober and calm. She was an otherworldly demon, a transmigrator, she was not so easy to deceive. Zhao Lianyun persisted in asking, I am only a mortal, can this inheritance immediately let me ascend and become a GU Immortal? Ah, the female GU Immortal, Li Junying, did not have an answer to this. In fact, she also did not know the specific contents of the inheritance. She glanced at the male GU Immortal Shu Hao, before continuing, even if you can't immediately become a GU Immortal, by obtaining Thieving Heaven's inheritance, you will become the strongest competitor for the position of the next generation fairy of Spirit Affinity House. Don't underestimate this position. As long as you succeed, you can borrow the sect's strength to save your lover. Our Spirit Affinity House is one of the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent. Only super forces like ours can match up to old ancestor Shuihu and save your brother Ma Hongyun. I understand. Zhao Lianyun nodded and did not speak any further, taking a firm step forward into the entrance of light and disappearing within. Do you think she can succeed? Illusory fairy Li Junying let out a sigh, and asked with a worried expression. Shu Hao, however, was confident. We have already confirmed that Zhao Lianyun is an otherworldly demon, if even she can't succeed, who can? He continued. I know you are worried the inheritance will have difficult tests, and Zhao Lianyun might not be able to pass them since she is only a mortal. But you don't know much about this aspect. After these last years of research, I have already confirmed what the qualification for Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable inheritance tests are. As long as one is an otherworldly demon, they can easily obtain his inheritance and there are no other dangerous tests. I just don't know how much Zhao Lianyun can grow by inheriting this. Li Junying felt at ease at her husband's words. I wouldn't be surprised even if Zhao Lianyun were to immediately advance to a GU Immortal. After all, this is Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's arrangement. Compared to ascending to Immortal, I want his formless hand more. Back then, if only I had a slightly stronger Immortal killer move, I would not have been defeated by Feng Juzhe. Shu Hao's fists were clenched as he said this, his eyes flickering with a vague light of hatred. No organization would lack internal strife. Spirit Affinity House naturally was not an exception. After Feng Juzhe disappeared, many GU Immortals of Spirit Affinity House tacitly agreed to trouble Fairy Bai Qing. And Shu Hao and Li Junying, this couple were the most important people in the anti-Feng faction. Li Junying consoled her husband. Heaven's Envy Manor had sent the news of the deaths of Ao Shui and Ling Mei. And Feng Juzhe has been missing for so long, he might already be dead as well. Why would you be bothered by a dead person? Shu Hao discontentedly gritted his teeth. HMPH, in the past, Feng Juzhe had such might that almost anything he said in the sect was carried out automatically, suppressing us for so many years. I was dispatched to comprehend the Thieving Heaven inheritance, this was also him removing me from a seat of power. But it was fortunate, I became the person who has the most understanding of Thieving Heaven's inheritances, and have the highest authority regarding this matter. Otherwise, how could we have openly taken charge of Zhao Lianyun? Li Junying repeatedly nodded. At present, Feng Jinhuang is the top candidate for the next generation's fairy, but Zhao Lianyun's appearance is a new variable, becoming the competitor with the highest threat to Feng Jinhuang. If we could support her to rise to the status, we would not only be able to suppress that slut Bai Qing, but also can make use of it to regain authority. Zhao Lianyun was just newly arrived, but had already fallen into the power struggle within Spirit Affinity House, becoming a powerful weapon for Shu Hao and Li Junying to fight for authority. As the saying goes, in this world, people often had no control of the situation. Shu Hao was just about to say something when his gaze suddenly focused, becoming very surprised. Huh! She came out so quickly. In front of the two immortals, Zhao Lianyun's figure gradually appeared from thin air. Shu Hao hurriedly asked, "The thieving heaven inheritance has disappeared, this means she has succeeded. Is it really so simple?" Even if he had done deep research and was mentally prepared, he could not avoid having an envious feeling right now. Li Junying had already moved ahead to welcome Zhao Lianyun. Zhao Lianyun was out of the inheritance space, and appeared somewhat clueless and dazed right now. "How was it? Did you succeed? What did you inherit?" Under the heat of the moment, Li Junying grabbed Zhao Lianyun's small, tender shoulder and shook it fiercely. Zhao Lianyun frowned from the pain. "I am also not too sure, there was a dazzling light after I entered, then a will appeared, he told me to accept the rank 9 immortal killer move, Divine Concealment." Divine Concealment? Hearing this term, Shu Hao and Li Junying's eyes opened wide as they glanced at each other, both seeing the shock in each other's eyes. Zhao Lianyun, however, was disappointed, asking anxiously, "I did not become a GU immortal, and also didn't experience any changes, can I still save brother Ma Hongyun?" Shu Hao reacted at this moment, and started laughing heartily, replying firmly, "Of course. I did not think the true content of this inheritance was this. Being able to inherit Divine Concealment is a gargantuan fortune." Rank 9 Immortal Killer move Divine Concealment. Li Junying also involuntarily let out a gasp. In the past, when Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable created Theft Path, he stole the treasures of the world with no one able to forecast or deduce his movements. Why was that the case? It was rumored that it was because of two defensive killer moves Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable possessed. One was Divine Concealment, the other was Ghostly Concealment. Zhao Lianyun's eyes opened wide. Divine Concealment, Ghostly Concealment. Li Junying nodded. Right, Divine Concealment makes it so that no thoughts, wills or emotions can deduce your state or origins. Do you know what this means? The methods of probing and deducing of almost all wisdom path GU immortals in the world come from these three aspects: thought, will and emotion. And with Divine Concealment, you are immune to the deductions of almost all wisdom path GU immortals. Rank 9 Divine Concealment. Only a rank 9 wisdom path GU immortal can have a chance to succeed in making deductions about you. Shu Hao continued. This is actually still not its most amazing aspect. You might not even believe it when I say it, but the most amazing thing is that Divine Concealment can make GU masters immune to heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities. Li Junying's expression looked enchanted, while Zhao Lianyun still looked uncomprehending. Shu Hao could not help but laugh. He realized Zhao Lianyun was only a mortal and not a GU immortal, thus she did not understand the significance of this. He patiently explained. Heaven's will is a kind of will. You have Divine Concealment. Since Heaven's will can't probe you, it can't send calamities and tribulations to you. You have already escaped the detection of Heaven's will. When you ascend to Immortal later, you won't attract any heavenly tribulation or earthly calamity. After Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable created Divine Concealment, no calamities and tribulations befell him. But this has its disadvantages as well. Calamities and tribulations are not entirely bad, they are a major way to increase the number of Dao marks a GU immortal has. In the future, although you won't face calamities and tribulations, and will be incomparably safe, you won't be able to increase your quantity of Dao marks through calamities and tribulations, and your accomplishments would be limited. Unless you have the other methods of Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable to support your cultivation. In records of history, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable could even steal Dao marks. Zhao Lianyun's eyes moved round and round in puzzlement, as she probed. Divine Concealment is so powerful, then what about Ghostly Concealment? Shu Hao, who had been talking with confidence, did not have an answer for this, and Li Junying also slowly shook her head. Divine Concealment, Ghostly Concealment. The former is known by everyone, but the latter is extremely mysterious. There are many guesses and public opinions vary, but they are all unreliable and there has never been a publicly accepted answer. Shu Hao replied. Li Junying spoke faintly, but since both are equally famous, it also must be extraordinary. Zhao Lianyun blinked, her tone one of astonishment. Besides inheriting Divine Concealment, I also obtained a clue. Another Thieving Heaven inheritance is hidden in Luokou Valley, and that inheritance is about Ghostly Concealment. What? A second Thieving Heaven inheritance? And it is hidden in Luokou Valley? Shu Hao and Li Junying was surprised and joyous, they glanced at each other with bright eyes. Chapter 950, Unexpected Compensation. Shu Hao and Li Junying were very perceptive. Zhao Lianyun's information was very important. Shu Hao and Li Junying immediately thought of Feng Juzhe rather than the Thieving Heaven inheritance. Combined with the information from the Central Continent GU Immortals who returned, they were almost certain The reason why Feng Juzhe disappeared was because he was trapped inside the Thieving Heaven inheritance. The Thieving Heaven inheritance must have been used by the enemy to trap Feng Juzhe. Shu Hao is a wisdom path Gu immortal, he said this after deducing. Then what should we do now? Li Junying's words made them sink into silence. Zhao Lianyun looked around left to right and back, she did not speak. The reason why said she mentioned this was because she wanted to return to Northern Plains, using Spirit Affinity House's power to save Ma Hongyun. But she did not know about the internal conflicts within Spirit Affinity House. Shu Hao and Li Junying looked at each other, they interacted with their gazes. Both of their gazes gradually turned cold, they had chemistry and a close rapport built over the years, they quickly came to an agreement. They decided to suppress this information and temporarily not report it. They wanted Feng Juzhe to die. If they reported it, Spirit Affinity House would definitely send people to save him. If Feng Juzhe was still alive, what would happen once he was saved? After dragging it out for 3 days, both immortals reached the time limit and reported this information. As expected, the higher-ups in Spirit Affinity House were alarmed, they organized a group to save him. As for the otherworldly demon Zhao Lianyun, she became the key person in this rescue mission, she was brought to Northern Plains. Several days later, Northern Plains Zombie Alliance, Dark Flow Giant City. Boom! A loud sound was heard as intense explosions occurred, the entirety of Giant City trembled. What is going on? What is going on? Is someone attacking Dark Flow Giant City? In Dark Flow Giant City, people had fallen to the ground, shocked cries were heard. Dark Flow Giant City was enormous, it had a total of 7 layers. The lower 5 layers were the residences of mortal GU masters and were very bustling and clamorous. 1 layer above was where people with some connection to immortal zombies resided. The highest layer was reserved for immortals only. At this moment, at the highest layer of Dark Flow Giant City, a thick smoke rose into the sky. Cough cough. Fang Yuan was covered in soot as he came out of the secret room, he was coughing non-stop. He failed again when refining Star Thought Immortal GU. Ever since they made the new alliance agreement, Fang Yuan did not return to his blessed land, he came to Dark Flow Giant City and used Northern Plains Zombie Alliance's Refinement Path GU formation. He was not a Refinement Path GU immortal, he could not set up a Refinement Path GU formation of such a level himself. Fang Yuan tried to refine Star Thought Immortal GU again. Blazing Heaven Demoness had funded him a huge amount of immortal materials for GU refinement in accordance with the agreement. This time, the immortal materials were not tampered with at all. Fang Yuan had an easy time during the refinement, but during the final few steps, the GU refinement failed, and an intense explosion occurred. Not only was the entire refinement path GU formation blown to bits, the explosion also destroyed the secret room, alerting all of the GU immortals in Dark Flow Giant City, even the mortals in the lower layers felt it. At the final few steps, the Dao marks will undergo a unique change that cannot be controlled. The interaction of Dao marks would only stabilize under one condition, that is the successful refinement of Star Thought Immortal GU. This step is purely dependent on luck. Fang Yuan sighed internally. Man is the spirit of all beings, GU are the essence of heaven and earth. All living beings, including humans, could not directly manipulate Dao marks. Be it GU masters, desolate beasts, desolate plants, even if they had Dao marks in them, they could only make use of them through GU worms. Thus, when GU immortals refine GU, they could not directly manipulate the Dao marks, they could not control intense changes in the Dao marks. To make a rather crude comparison, refining a rank 6 immortal GU was like playing golf. The GU immortals' preparations are all to ensure that the golf ball moves according to the path that they had planned. But the long path that the ball needs to travel on is filled with over 100 holes. Only when the golf ball falls into the correct hole at the end of the path would the GU refinement succeed. GU immortals could only ensure that the golf ball would move according to their wishes during the first half of the route. By the second half, the ground would be uneven and filled with pits, the GU immortals would not be able to control how the ball moved anymore. Thus, whether the ball could enter the proper hole depended on luck. Even though Blazing Heaven Demoness no longer tampered with the immortal materials, her funding is not without cost, I need to pay her back eventually. Refining immortal GU is simply too hard, the success rate is too low. Maybe I can seek help from Langya Land Spirit, he should have a strong refinement path immortal GU, or a special refinement method to increase the rate of successfully refining immortal GU. In history, Long Hair Ancestor was known as the #1 refinement path immortal of all times. The number of immortal GU that he had refined in his life shocked countless people. Even though Long Hair Ancestor had died, his land spirit was alive, and Langya blessed land was still intact. Fang Yuan's GU refinement had failed again, he even suffered injuries. He decided to seek help from Langya land spirit and try to increase his chances, even if he had to pay a huge price. I'd suggest you to first try refining the strength path Immortal GU. At this time, Fairy Li Shan came over and gave Fang Yuan a suggestion. Fairy Li Shan could no longer stay in snowy mountain blessed land. Ever since they killed He Chang, Fairy Li Shan had been staying inside Dark Flow Giant City. Her relationship with Blazing Heaven Demoness was exposed, everyone knew about it. Earlier, Blazing Heaven Demoness had led a band of immortal zombies to assault the snowy mountain blessed land demonic path GU immortals, with high rates of success. In actual fact, it was because Fairy Li Shan was the traitor exposing intelligence to Blazing Heaven Demoness. Fairy Li Shan was an information path quasi-great-grand master, even though she was restricted by the alliance agreement of the forces of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, she could skirt around the restrictions and aid Blazing Heaven Demoness while only suffering mild injuries from violating it. How could old ancestor Shuihu keep such a traitor? After meeting with Blazing Heaven Demoness, he publicly announced the expulsion of Fairy Li Shan, and declared her to be an enemy of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land. Fairy Li Shan had offended the biggest demonic path force in Northern Plains, but she was welcomed by Zombie Alliance. Her relationship with Blazing Heaven Demoness made her one of them. Furthermore, she was the key person in forcing old ancestor Shuihu to give in just now. In Dark Flow Giant City, Fairy Li Shan was very well respected by the immortal zombies. Fang Yuan heard Fairy Li Shan's words and frowned. Please explain. Fairy Li Shan sighed. There is a change in the situation, my sister's funding for your refinement of Star Thought Immortal GU might have to be delayed. Why is that the case? Fang Yuan could not understand, they had just set the agreement, was Blazing Heaven Demoness going to break the agreement so quickly? That did not make sense. Because funding Fang Yuan's refinement of Star Thought Immortal GU was Blazing Heaven Demoness' idea. Fairy Li Shan explained the reason and Fang Yuan soon understood why. The reason was that the cooperation between Blazing Heaven Demoness and old ancestor Shuihu had a huge impact on Northern Plains after Snowy Mountain and Zombie Alliance went into a ceasefire. The conflict between both forces received much attention, some of the other regions even looked into the matter. But Blazing Heaven Demoness and old ancestor Shuihu knew their limits, they cooperated and settled this conflict rapidly and peacefully. The righteous path forces in Northern Plains were excitedly watching this as they wanted to see a conflict between them. Suddenly, there was a turn of events. As the conflict ended, Zombie Alliance's headquarters sent out a mandatory mission in addition to the contribution points. All the members of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance had to work together, using all their resources to refine a giant GU formation. This GU formation's sole use was to protect the immortal zombie graveyard. If a situation like old ancestor Shuihu stealing bodies happened again, the GU formation would activate and defend the place. If it could not defend the place, the power of the GU formation would teleport these immortal zombie bodies out of Northern Plains. Right now, Zombie Alliance is putting in a huge sum. Not just the Northern Plains Zombie Alliance branch, but the other 3 branches and even the headquarters are building this giant immortal GU formation together. Just here alone, we are using 13 immortal GU, and countless supplementary mortal GU. Most of the immortal GU are sent here from the headquarters, but we also have to refine a number of them. Thus, Dark Flow Giant City is recalling all the immortal zombies back to refine GU. There will definitely be insufficient storage in Dark Flow Giant City, the immortal zombies will have to use their personal resources. Fairy Li Shan explained in detail. Of course, the immortal zombies would be compensated for contributing their personal resources. The Zombie Alliance headquarters was giving out huge amounts of contribution points, much higher than ordinary times, to compensate the members. This was among the biggest actions taken by Zombie Alliance in the last 1,000 years. An immense amount of contribution points made the immortal zombie members feel enthusiastic about refining GU. As long as they participated and expended immortal materials, regardless of whether they failed or succeeded, they would be able to obtain a huge sum of contribution points. This was a benefit rarely seen in 1,000 years. Furthermore, after setting up this GU formation, the Zombie Alliance graveyard would be safe without any future worries. The immortal zombies in Zombie Alliance were also delighted to see the creation of this giant immortal GU formation. The immortal zombies from Eastern Sea were temporarily unable to return to Eastern Sea, they stayed and refined immortal GU, and a huge number of supplementary mortal GU. Blazing Heaven Demoness was in the same place, she could no longer fund Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan's plan to refine Star Thought Immortal GU was obstructed. He could not even continue using the GU refinement secret room. He had already rescinded the Zombie Alliance agreement that had been placed on him. Blazing Heaven Demoness, who was the branch leader, had the authority to do this. In Dark Flow Giant City, Fang Yuan and Fairy Li Shan were both outsiders. Except that Fairy Li Shan was much more popular and well regarded than Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan frowned as he thought, in the 500 years of my previous life, Zombie Alliance had this plan too, and they even succeeded. But the reason was not because old ancestor Shui who stole immortal zombies from the graveyard. It seems that the course of history will not alter easily. In this life, Zombie Alliance is building this giant immortal GU formation again. Fang Yuan could not stop them, of course. Zombie Alliance was a huge force. Blazing Heaven Demoness, who was just the leader of a branch, was already able to suppress him firmly. If not for Fang Yuan's immense value which interested Blazing Heaven Demoness, choosing to cooperate with him, Fang Yuan might have been dead already. But no matter how strong Blazing Heaven Demoness was, Fang Yuan would not let go of the compensation that he was entitled to. Blazing Heaven Demoness, action is going against our alliance agreement, right? Fang Yuan asked as he looked at Fairy Li Shan. Fairy Li Shan smiled bitterly. This was indeed Blazing Heaven Demoness violating the agreement. According to their alliance agreement, Blazing Heaven Demoness had to give Fang Yuan quite a sum of compensation. Unless Fang Yuan was willing to forego the compensation claim, Blazing Heaven Demoness would have to pay him, otherwise the backlash of the agreement would heavily injure her. Blazing Heaven Demoness was feeling regret towards this as well. If she had known this, why would she fund Fang Yuan? Wasn't a different condition better? Even if she wanted to fund him, she could do so in a different way that did not break the agreement. The plan of Zombie Alliance caught Blazing Heaven Demoness off guard. Since Fang Yuan refused to let go, she could only compensate him. Chapter 951, Genius of a Generation, Feng Ju Zhe. Fang Yuan returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Blazing Heaven Demoness, compensation was very satisfactory. Firstly, Blazing Heaven Demoness, recently funded immortal materials were all waived. Fang Yuan did not need to pay her back. Secondly, Blazing Heaven Demoness lent Fang Yuan 3 Fire Path Immortal GU and gave him a large number of Mortal GU. These 3 Fire Path Immortal GU along with the countless Mortal GU could create the Fire Path Immortal killer move, Nirvana Fire. Speaking of which, Blazing Heaven Demoness was quite unlucky. She had funded Fang Yuan in refining Star Thought Immortal GU, and provided him a huge amount of precious immortal materials. In the end, all of it went to waste and Fang Yuan did not need to pay her back. Even though Blazing Heaven Demoness had tampered with the immortal materials earlier, Fang Yuan had gained a lot of experience from it. He was very familiar with the refinement process of Star Thought Immortal GU. Because of the alliance agreement, Fang Yuan obtained the details of the immortal killer move Nirvana Fire. Which immortal GU were the cores, how many supplementary mortal GU were needed, what was the order of the GU worms, Fang Yuan knew all of these clearly. But to use this killer move, there was a prerequisite. Fire Path Dao marks needed to be expended from the GU Immortal's body. Blazing Heaven Demoness had cleverly concealed this fact. It was a small trap in the agreement. She wanted to increase her control over Fang Yuan using this. Since Fang Yuan did not have any Fire Path Dao marks, if he wanted to revive using Nirvana Fire, he would need Blazing Heaven Demoness to use Nirvana Fire for him. Fang Yuan planned to modify the immortal killer move Nirvana Fire, using other immortal GU as the cores to achieve the same or similar results. And it would be best of these new core immortal GU or immortal GU that Fang Yuan possessed. This modification was very difficult. Typical Wisdom Path GU immortals would not have any confidence in this, but Fang Yuan had high hopes for it. The reason was because Wisdom GU was inside Hu Immortal Blessed Land. The power of the rank 9 Wisdom GU was simply brilliant, it could not be expressed with words. It was important for Fang Yuan to do this. The Life and Death Immortal Aperture Revival method could allow him to revive, but it could only be used once on each immortal aperture. After revival, he would not be able to use Wisdom GU. If Fang Yuan could modify Nirvana Fire and freely change between being an immortal zombie and a living person, Wisdom GU would continue to assist him in unimaginable ways. Blazing Heaven Demoness is tight on funds now. She needs to spend her own resources to refine Immortal GU and complete the mandatory mission by Zombie Alliance. Thus, she had to lend out these 3 Fire Path Immortal GU. If not for this situation, even if I requested it, she would not lend them to me so easily. With these 3 Fire Path Immortal GU, my modification and deduction will be much easier. Fang Yuan felt very pleased about this. The GU formation plan of Zombie Alliance unexpectedly made him a beneficiary. In the following days, Fang Yuan was bathed in the light of wisdom. He deduced with all his energy, concentrating on modifying the killer move Nirvana Fire. Speaking of which, he had already gathered enough strength path immortal zombies and refined enough exert strength GU. He even had a 60-year lifespan GU. He had all three. He could activate the life and death immortal aperture revival method now to become a living GU immortal and obtain a high-grade blessed land. But after obtaining Nirvana Fire, Fang Yuan was no longer satisfied with just this. Even though with Blazing Heaven Demoness interference, Fang Yuan was prevented from plotting against Heilu Lan and obtaining a super-grade blessed land. Because of this opportunity, he obtained Nirvana Fire, and if he used it well, he would be able to continue using Wisdom GU. Summing up his gains and losses, Fang Yuan was uncertain if he had overall made a gain or a loss. Just as Fang Yuan was modifying the immortal killer move, Zhao Lianyun had already stepped into Luokou Valley. She was the key to rescuing Feng Juzhe. There was only one person who came along with her as the rescue team from Spirit Affinity House. Prince Feng Xian. His rank 8 cultivation could face any challenges. On the surface, he was a Northern Plains Righteous Path GU Immortal, and was an external Supreme Elder of a super force, Gong tribe. He did not have the Huang Jin bloodline in him, and because he had some grievances with Gong tribe, he had been living outside for many years. The truth was, he was a disciple of Spirit Affinity House. The Central Continent Force had spent a huge effort and price to send him into Northern Plains as their highest level spy, his main task being in regards to 88 Truyong building. Normally, Prince Feng Xian could not be used easily. If any traces were exposed, Prince Feng Xian's secret status, which had been hidden for hundreds of years, would be wasted. But it was different now because of Feng Juzhe. He was the face of Spirit Affinity House. Currently, he already could suppress the rest of Central Continent. If he advanced to rank 8, with his talent and ability, in time, he would be an expert even among rank 8s. His existence meant more benefits. His life and death would tilt the balance between the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, and even change the situation of the entire Central Continent GU Immortal world. Thus, Spirit Affinity House took a risk in using the hidden agent Prince Feng Xian, to try and save him as soon as possible. Prince Feng Xian and Zhao Lianyun, a mortal and an immortal, moved forward in Luokou Valley. Lord, I would like to ask a question. If I can save Lord Feng Juzhe, will I be able to become the next generation fairy of Spirit Affinity House? While traveling, Zhao Lianyun asked this. Prince Feng Xian wore a mask, his figure was blurry, he was shrouded in fog, his true appearance was concealed. He said softly with a smile, "It is not so easy to become Spirit Affinity House's next generation fairy. But if you can save Feng Juzhe, then it would almost be guaranteed that you succeed. I heard that his daughter Feng Jinhuang is the top competitor for this title. If you become the savior of her father's life, she would step down from this contest for sure." So that's it. Zhao Lianyun's eyes shined with the light of hope. Even though she had the soul of an adult, after she went to Spirit Affinity House, she was very cooperative, she did not conceal anything and acted obediently. Because she had understood what world she was in. Without strength, no matter how intelligent you were like a loose strand of grass. Once the wind blew, you would be blown away and sent into danger. She understood that she needed to rely on Spirit Affinity House to save Ma Hongyun. But it was unrealistic to get Spirit Affinity House to attack Snowy Mountain. Zhao Lianyun had understood the rules of Spirit Affinity House. All the generations of fairies were fully nurtured by the sect. In Spirit Affinity House's long history, all of these fairies had become GU Immortals. They had immense strength and had significant authority in the sect. To save Brother Hongyun, I need to rely on myself. Brother Hongyun, you must hang in there. Zhao Lianyun prayed for Ma Hongyun internally. Prince Feng Xian suddenly stopped moving. Found it, it is here. Using the Immortal GU from Spirit Affinity House, Prince Feng Xian obtained an immortal killer move that was specialized in finding the Thieving Heaven inheritance. To use this killer move, they had to move slowly. Prince Feng Xian brought Zhao Lianyun and walked for over 2 hours before they located the Thieving Heaven inheritance in the giant Luokou Valley. Prince Feng Xian activated his immortal GU, and in a few minutes, an entrance of light opened. Whoosh! The entrance of light had just opened when an intense wind blew. Prince Feng Xian was shocked. How can the winds of assimilation be here? He quickly activated his immortal GU, using a killer move and grabbing with his hand. The winds of assimilation were condensed into a ball, grabbed tightly by Prince Feng Xian in his hand. But soon, Prince Feng Xian's hand started trembling as his expression turned pale. Quickly go in, I can only control it for a moment. Zhao Lianyun swiftly acknowledged his words, even though she could not see his face, she could hear how anxious he was from his voice. Zhao Lianyun stepped in and saw a familiar sight. Like the previous inheritance space, this place was empty. The only thing here were over a dozen tornadoes of the winds of assimilation, moving slowly in the space like tall pillars. Zhao Lianyun's heart was pounding. Even though she did not know what the winds of assimilation were, from the actions of Prince Feng Xian, she knew that they were incredibly powerful. You are finally here, quickly come to me. A voice was transmitted into her ears. Zhao Lianyun was shocked, she took a step back. Who are you? I am Feng Zhuzhe, hurry, come here now. The voice was extremely weak, it sounded like a dying old man who was holding on to his last breath. Zhao Lianyun hesitated, she could hear that the voice came from within one of the tornadoes of the winds of assimilation. Zhao Lianyun also realized that the tornadoes were all gathering towards the most central one, they were moving slowly, like a group of lions stalking and eyeing up on their food. Don't worry, you are an otherworldly demon, you have received the acceptance of thieving heaven's will, the winds of assimilation are harmless to you. Feng Zhuzhe paused before speaking with difficulty, didn't you come to save me? If I stay here, you will not be able to inherit this thieving heaven inheritance. Zhao Lianyun licked her dry lips. She knew that she had to make a decision now. Time waits for no one. Zhao Lianyun carefully got closer to a tornado of the winds of assimilation. The tornado's power was very concentrated. Zhao Lianyun could only feel a light breeze when she was beside it. She stretched out her trembling hand as she placed it into the tornado. If any GU Immortal saw this, they would cry out in shock. But Zhao Lianyun's ignorance made her less fearful, she did not know the power of the winds of assimilation, and she chose to believe in Feng Zhuzhe. Like what Feng Zhuzhe had said, the winds of assimilation that even Prince Feng Xian could not deal with were harmless towards Zhao Lianyun. After Zhao Lianyun placed her hand into it, the tornado shrunk at an observable rate, in a few breaths' time, it vanished. Feng Zhuzhe's voice was transmitted again, see, wasn't I correct? This inheritance space has a power greater than the winds of assimilation, thus it cannot be destroyed. You are an otherworldly demon accepted by this space, with it protecting you, you are in no danger. Zhao Lianyun was overjoyed. Lord Feng Zhuzhe, I will save you now. She rushed into the tornadoes, charging her way in, as the winds of assimilation vanished wherever she went. Eventually, she reached the center, and the largest wind pillar trapping Feng Zhuzhe dispersed. Next, she saw that Feng Zhuzhe was sitting cross-legged in the air, 3 meters from the ground. His face was rosy and his robe was clean, but his eyes were shut tight. Lord Feng Zhuzhe, Zhao Lianyun called out lightly. Feng Zhuzhe slowly opened his eyes, his expression was clear as jade. He did not speak, he opened his right hand and showed it to Zhao Lianyun. There were 2 words written with blood on his palm. Zhao Lianyun looked at it in confusion, turning her gaze towards Feng Zhuzhe again. Feng Zhuzhe smiled lightly at her. Next, his entire body scattered with the wind, it disintegrated and vanished on the spot. Zhao Lianyun was left staring blankly. The greatest genius of a generation, Feng Zhuzhe, had passed away. Chapter 952, Feng Yuan's first entry into Luopo Valley. Hu Immortal blessed land, because the rate of time was different, half a month had already passed here. In the underground cave, Feng Yuan was bathed in the light of wisdom as he deduced quietly as usual. In here, he did not need to use the killer move vaguely familiar face, he was in his original zombie appearance. He did not move, he sat still like a rock. But in his mind, countless starlight specks were shining, as thoughts clashed endlessly within. Puff, a long while later, he let out a breath, he opened his eyes and showed an extremely tired expression. He stood up with difficulty, after undergoing such a long period of intense thinking, his mind was hurting and he felt waves of dizziness. Even though he was a Wisdom Path Grand Master, his Fire Path attainment level was too low, he could only maintain each deduction for 7 days and nights. After 7 days and nights, he would need to rest, unable to continue further. His mind was like a simmering cauldron, it needed time to cool down frequently. If not, his mind would suffer considerable damage. After so many days, I have only completed 20% of Nirvana Fire's modification. And this was with the effect of the light of wisdom. If I did it alone, I would need countless years to reach my current progress. Immortal killer move were very hard to create. The killer move Nirvana Fire was even more profound. Using Fire Path to display the mysteries of life and death, if Blazing Heaven Demoness was not a Fire Path Great Grand Master, she might not have successfully created this move. Fang Yuan left the underground cave and returned to Dang Hun Palace to rest. After sleeping for half a day, his mind was refreshed, but according to his experience, Fang Yuan still needed to rest for an entire night before he could recover fully. Immortal blessed land did not have day and night, there were no changes in the sky. But if it did, then there would still be 6 hours until night time. Fang Yuan was unwilling to waste his time. He activated connecting heaven Gu and his consciousness entered treasure yellow heaven. During this period of time, he selectively put some rank 8 immortal materials up for sale, to exchange for a large amount of food to feed his immortal Gu. Of course, the more precious quasi-rank 9 immortal materials were kept in his possession. The rank 8 immortal materials that he sold were the lowest quality among his inventory. Even so, waves of commotion were created in treasure yellow heaven as a result. The attraction of rank 8 immortal materials was huge. This allowed Fang Yuan to easily complete the current goal of feeding his immortal Gu. If not for these rank 8 immortal materials, I would be troubled by this for a long time. Fang Yuan was feeling the burden of feeding immortal Gu now. He had simply too many immortal Gu on him right now. Very few Gu immortals had so many immortal Gu in their possession. The burden of feeding these immortal Gu was huge. Actually, quality was more important than quantity for immortal Gu. Like Shui Songzi, he only had one immortal Gu, but after Shadow Sect gave him a set of immortal killer moves, he fought without any clear weaknesses. In this situation, he was making full use of his immortal Gu. The most common situation is to feed a small number of immortal Gu and use them as the course to create many different immortal killer moves to deal with different situations. Fang Yuan knew this, but he had no choice. He could not sell these immortal Gu easily. Transactions of immortal Gu were very rare, even if there occurred, they traded immortal Gu for immortal Gu. After settling the final deal in treasure yellow heaven, Fang Yuan's immortal Gu feeding session ended for the time being. As for the refinement of Star Thought immortal Gu, Fang Yuan had set it aside. He still had the rank 6 immortal Gu recipe of all-out effort Gu, but he did not plan to refine it. Even though he lost self-strength immortal Gu and his battle strength fell drastically. The success rate of refining immortal Gu was too low. In order to refine Star Thought immortal Gu, Fang Yuan suffered huge losses. Right now, he felt sick every time he heard about refining immortal Gu. He felt some pity and sympathy towards the immortal zombies who were refining immortal Gu collectively right now. He did not lack immortal essence stones currently, but his funds were all spent on the building of Starform Blessed Land. During this period, Fang Yuan had been multitasking. Starform Land Spirit had been working laboriously, following the design plans of Fang Yuan in building the new structures. Right now, Starform Blessed Land was already 40% done with the new development. But with the revival method, Fang Yuan no longer felt such urgency towards Starform Blessed Land. Fang Yuan also did not plan to move Immortal Blessed Land's resources into Starform Blessed Land. During this period, Fang Yuan's time in Immortal Blessed Land was fulfilling and peaceful. His main effort was on modifying the killer move Nirvana Fire. Everything was prepared now, he only lacked the final critical elements. Once Nirvana Fire was completed, Fang Yuan would revive and obtain a high-grade Blessed Land. Next, he will move all of the Blessed Land's resources into his own immortal aperture. This was the safest and fastest way. Undoubtedly, once this plan succeeds, Fang Yuan's future would be bright. Fang Yuan waited patiently. He was not anxious, even though he had been seeking this goal for a long time. His experiences in the 500 years of his previous life trained his incredible level of patience. But just when he was preparing to rest for the night before continuing his killer move modification, He Lulan requested help from him. You will never imagine what I found in He Cheng's soul. Using a stargate, He Lulan arrived in front of Fang Yuan excitedly. After He Cheng died, his soul was captured by He Lulan. These last days, He Lulan had obtained lots of shocking information from He Cheng's soul. What moved her the most was the 100 Days battle in Luopo Valley. Fang Yuan, you have the ability to move mountains, I need you to retrieve Luopo Valley for me. Don't worry, I will give you enough compensation. We have to move quickly before complications arise. He Lulan acted rapidly. Luopo Valley. Fang Yuan did not speak, he thought of the open door Gu and closed door Gu in his possession. He had the clue to Luopo Valley long ago, but he was bothered with other matters and did not head there. Now, after receiving He Lulan's information, he was internally glad about his vigilance and careful decision. Luopo Valley was under the control of Shadow Sect long ago, it was their base. If Fang Yuan headed there abruptly, without enough strength, he would be easily captured by the other party. Even if he struggled while risking his life, his enemies would be too powerful, there would be little hope of escaping. But now is a chance. He Lu Lan's eyes shined brightly. Fang Yuan nodded, agreeing. Shadow Sect failed and Luopo Valley is controlled by the central continent GU Immortals now. But they are from another region after all, they cannot stay for long. We just need to leak some information to force them to escape. He Lu Lan and Fang Yuan did not know that the central continent GU Immortals had already left Northern Plains, returning to central continent. Fang Yuan had always been weak in collecting information. In terms of Northern Plains, he relied on Fairy Li Shan. In terms of central continent, Immortal Crane Sect would never reveal such secrets to him. This group of people should be trying to investigate the culprit behind the fall of 88 Truyong building, they are after us. But for some reason, their investigation led to Shadow Sect. He Lu Lan chuckled. Fang Yuan pondered. Compared to this, I am more concerned about the Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance Immortal Zombie. He is a member of Shadow Sect, why was he saved by Zombie Alliance? When the mysterious GU Immortal revealed his identity as a 10 Extreme Immortal Zombie, He Cheng was there as well, thus this precious information was leaked. Sigh, there are many secretive GU Immortals and GU Master Forces. Zombie Alliance has a loose structure, many of the members have their own forces, this is nothing strange, right? He Lu Lan said nonchalantly. Shadow Sect is not to be underestimated. Fang Yuan had a heavy expression. Shadow Sect members are not afraid of sacrifice, the unity of this mysterious force is simply too high. This was not the first time Fang Yuan had heard of Shadow Sect. Back in southern border, he had heard about it from Choju. Fang Yuan even knew that the door of life and death was inside Shadow Sect's blessed land. But he did not make any plans regarding it. The reason was that his strength was too low, and there was no good opportunity. It was very difficult to attack a blessed land and not attract attention. Shadow Sect was mysterious and stretched across southern border and northern plains, they were not to be trifled with. Alright, enough of that. Luopo Valley is right in front of us, I am inviting you and my aunts to explore it. We will split the gains according to our alliance agreement. He Lu Lan said anxiously. Fang Yuan understood why she was in a rush. This was truly an incredibly rare opportunity. Fang Yuan was excited too. He still had open door GU and closed door GU in his possession, he wanted to know if these two GU worms could grant him any different treatment in Luopo Valley. But before going, some things had to be said. You want to take Luopo Valley completely, I do not agree with that. Fang Yuan said firmly. He Lu Lan stared with furious eyes, her gaze shined with a ruthless light, what do you mean? I found the information on Luopo Valley. Fang Yuan laughed, he said the location of Luopo Valley. He Lu Lan was shocked, she was staring at Fang Yuan with much suspicion. She had withheld some information earlier, she did not tell Fang Yuan this piece of important information. Fang Yuan took out open door GU and closed door GU. Like how He Lu Lan exposed attitude GU to them, since these GU worms were going to be used anyway and could not be concealed, he openly explained it. He Lu Lan snorted, looking at Fang Yuan disdainfully, without my information, would you dare to go? By the time you are willing to go, the chance would have been lost. Fang Yuan smiled. Don't be so agitated, I am just saying your information is not as important as you think. But He Lu Lan acted very agitated. Next, they went into an intense verbal fight. Both sides were breathing roughly with exertion written on their faces, their demeanor as GU Immortals was disregarded, but they came to an agreement. The ownership of Luopo Valley was divided up. Blazing Heaven Demoness would take 50%. Fairy Li Shan would take 20%, while He Lu Lan and Fang Yuan would take 10% each. He Lu Lan was very crafty, she used her two aunts to force Fang Yuan to give in. 10% of the ownership might be little, but it achieved Fang Yuan's goal. He just needed the rights to use it. Fang Yuan had never thought of taking Luopo Valley for himself. After all, He Lu Lan had Blazing Heaven Demoness backing her. However, Blazing Heaven Demoness was busy refining GU, and as a rank 8, her every action would garner great attention. She transmitted to them, since Fang Yuan had fixed immortal travel anyway, if they were in any danger, she would be able to save them. In the end, only Fang Yuan, Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan went. Oh no, some people have entered Luopo Valley. Wei Fengzi, who was hidden outside guarding the entrance, saw Fang Yuan and the others and quickly reported it. Soon, Prince Feng Xian was informed of it. Chapter 953, late by one step. After Wei Fengzi surrendered in battle, he was subdued by Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects. The Central Continent GU Immortals returned while leaving him behind to keep watch over Luopo Valley. He had just sided with Central Continent and had originally been unwilling, and was only a temporary hired hand, so naturally he did not have the qualifications to know of Prince Feng Xian's true identity. He only knew an immortal had entered Luopo Valley, while he was keeping watch for them. He was at the mercy of others and had no choice but to slog for Central Continent. The moment he saw He Lu Lan and the rest of the group, he quickly used information path methods to inform Prince Feng Xian who was inside Luopo Valley. Prince Feng Xian quickly obtained the information. At this moment, his hand was still slightly shaking. Clearing up the winds of assimilation was truly not easy. Just from this, Prince Feng Xian could not help but admire Feng Juzhe. The latter was actually able to last for so long under the winds of assimilation. He truly did not know how Feng Juzhe was able to do this. Unfortunately, Feng Juzhe was already dead. The process of inheriting the thieving heaven true inheritance was extremely fast. Only the identity needed to be checked, and if one was indeed an otherworldly demon, the thieving heaven inheritance would go to them. After Feng Juzhe died, the inheritance space only had Zhao Lianyun remaining. So, she quickly obtained this inheritance, ghostly concealment. Right at this moment, she returned to Prince Feng Xian's side and reported the news of Feng Juzhe's death. Sigh, we were late. Prince Feng Xian sighed inwardly. He then grabbed Zhao Lianyun's shoulder and flew away. An immortal were soon away of the scene. At present, Fairy Li Shan and Blazing Heaven Demoness relation was already known by everyone. Prince Feng Xian did not want to get in a fight. The social circle of rank 8 GU Immortals was very small. In the whole of Northern Plains, the number of rank 8 GU Immortals on the surface was only 5. Old Ancestor Shui Hu, Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu, Yao Huang, Prince Feng Xian and 5 Elements Grandmaster. Blazing Heaven Demoness was a rank 8 immortal zombie who was barely able to join in this circle. One could say all 6 of them were very familiar with each other, and had fought and sparred with each other many times. To exaggerate it, if someone farted, they would know who it was, and they would recognize someone even if they turned into ashes. Were Prince Feng Xian to attack Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan, Blazing Heaven Demoness would definitely come out. In Prince Feng Xian's opinion, Blazing Heaven Demoness might already be secretly lurking in the surroundings. Prince Feng Xian's identity was very special, he could not rashly make a move. If he made a move and Blazing Heaven Demoness recognized his identity, that would truly mess up the situation. Why would Prince Feng Xian appear in Luopo Valley? GU Immortals were not idiots, they would easily guess Prince Feng Xian had a secret link with Shadow Sect or perhaps Central Continent forces. One should not forget the existence of Wisdom Path GU Immortals in this world. Prince Feng Xian was looking at the overall situation and in caution, he took the initiative to retreat, avoiding leaving behind any clues or evidence that could be deduced by Wisdom Path GU Immortals. He Lu Lan and the others still did not know they had already forced a rank 8 great expert to retreat. They broke the concealment seal outside and entered inside Luopo Valley, inspecting their surroundings. Luopo Valley was a scene of ruins. This valley of legend had experienced the 100 Days battle and was already half ruined. Moreover, the remains of the valley was already beyond recognition, as almost everywhere were GU formations arranged by GU Immortals. Some of these GU formations were the works of Shadow Sect while some were arranged by Central Continent's Hong Kai Ming. These GU formations had no doubt an extremely bad influence to Luopo Valley's environment. It was to the extent that the bewilderment fog which blew all year round in Luopo Valley, and Luopo Wind, were nowhere to be seen. The group of 3 began to roughly search Luopo Valley. Fang Yuan found some remains of White Lotus Giant Silkworm GU. He sighed, feeling some regret. He had learned from He Lu Lan that there had been large numbers of White Lotus Giant Silkworm GU in Luopo Valley, but the 100 Days battle caused the death of most of them, and when the Central Continent GU Immortals swept through the battlefield later, they did not leave behind any living ones. Fortunately, Fang Yuan had already obtained enough White Lotus Giant Silkworm GU in Treasure Yellow Heaven, and fed Cleanse Soul Immortal GU. This proved that the accumulation of those old senior GU Immortals could not be looked down upon. Naturally, the prior condition was you needed to have something enticing enough to make them act and carry out the transaction. Under He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan's attentive gazes, Fang Yuan used Open Door GU and Closed Door GU. No response. Open Door GU and Closed Door GU were the inheritances of Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable, but this place was already occupied by Shadow Sect and there were GU formations everywhere, turning Luopo Valley into a stronghold or a fortress. Fang Yuan heaved a sigh. He realized the thieving heaven inheritance was already taken by someone else. Most probably it was Shadow Sect. But his guess was wrong. The true beneficiary of the thieving heaven true inheritance was Zhao Lianyun and Central Continent's forces. What's more, she had inherited it just a short while ago. Prince Feng Xian was late in saving Feng Zhuzhe, and Fang Yuan was also late by a step to arrive at Luokou Valley. Even if thieving heaven demon Venerable had left behind an inheritance, so many years have gone by, it is normal for it to be taken by others. The true treasure is still Luokou Valley. He Lulan patted Fang Yuan's shoulder and said with a smile. Fang Yuan knew she was urging him to hurry up and get to work. Fang Yuan nodded, and activated Immortal GU to slowly lift the whole of Luokou Valley. Fairy Li Shan closely cooperated from another side, countless GU worms flying all around. They are actually going to take Luokou Valley. Wei Fengzi had been spying from outside and was shocked at this sight. Prince Feng Xian was also surprised. He had not expected He Lulan's side actually had such an unorthodox method. This truly caught Prince Feng Xian unprepared. He hesitated, but finally decided to restrain himself and do nothing. After spending an hour, Fang Yuan succeeded in storing Luokou Valley in his immortal aperture. There are still blessed lands here, but just to be safe, we better leave now. Ever since He Lulan failed in passing the calamity, she had become more self-controlled and had lost almost all her rashness. Although Luokou Valley was extremely ruined, but with Tai Bai Yunsheng's landscape as before, it could definitely be restored. Compared to the blessed lands, Luokou Valley's value was extremely difficult to replace. Many GU immortals had fallen here in the 100 Days battle. After they died, their immortal apertures should have become blessed lands hidden in space within this place. Fang Yuan could take away Luokou Valley, but he could not bring these blessed lands. However, now was not a good time to search for them. After taking Luokou Valley, Fang Yuan and the group quickly made their retreat. They left really quickly, they know their situation. Far away, Prince Feng Xian quietly looked at the receding figures of the three people, his gaze dark and cold. Although he could not make a move, he had the two female GU immortals, Swordmaster Yulan and Liao, under him, and he also had other secret forces. Prince Feng Xian had hidden in northern plains for hundreds of years. Naturally, he would have accumulated quite a bit of strength. He had still been wanting to find trouble for Fang Yuan and the others, but they left too quickly, so he was unable to chase them. Prince Feng Xian glanced at the battlefield of the 100 Days battle. Luokou Valley was already gone. This place had now become an empty desolate land. Although the auras of immortal GU were removed as much as possible, an expert could still sense some clues. So many GU immortals had died here. These blessed lands themselves were rich resources. Prince Feng Xian naturally would not give them up. The Central Continent GU immortals behind him also would not give them up and would definitely move to retrieve these blessed lands. As for the immortal GU, he did not have to even think about it, they were certainly already destroyed. Retrieving blessed lands, especially ones that fell in foreign regions, was a difficult and troublesome matter. I hope this troublesome matter doesn't fall upon me. It is better if those other 9 ancient sects take up the trouble. Feng Zhuzhe died from the winds of assimilation. He left behind nothing except 2 words in blood. I should first send back Zhao Lianyun and this important information to the sect. Prince Feng Xian did not remain any longer and immediately left with Zhao Lianyun. As for Wei Fengzi, he was still left behind to watch over the blessed lands. This is Shaohun Blessed Land. He Lulan brought Fang Yuan and Fairy Li Shan to the blessed land left by He Chang. This blessed land was clearly dominated by dark path and soul path Dao marks. The whole of the blessed land was dim and gloomy, giving an oppressive feeling. In the central area of the blessed land was a large and dense forest. The trees were in all kinds of postures resembling female bodies. This was a special resource He Chang had raised in his immortal aperture. This kind of tree was not found in the nature. He Chang could be considered its creator. Thus these female-shaped trees were also one of a kind. He Lulan had already thought of the place for Luokou Valley, calling out the land spirit. Shaohun Blessed Land's land spirit looked rather peculiar. It was a jade green vine. The vine was like a cloth, attaching itself onto that familial emotion left behind by Su Xian to He Lulan. Fairy Li Shan introduced to Fang Yuan with a sigh. Shaohun Land Spirit's ownership condition was to stay together forever with Su Xian. So after Little Land took out sister's familial emotion, she easily became the master of this blessed land. Fang Yuan was also slightly surprised. Who could have thought that He Chang's final obsession before his death was actually Su Xian? It could be seen he truly loved Su Xian'er, and even during the moments of his death, what he thought of was still her. Humans were truly complicated creatures. Turbulent events occurred over time. Most people did not understand themselves fully even until their deaths. Little Lan, you have returned. Su Xian'er's familial emotion looked at He Lu Lan with love. Mother, Su Xian'er softly called out, then ordered the land spirit. The land spirit brought the three to another part of the blessed land in an instant. The land spirit's movement ability signified this blessed land had a lot of space path Dao marks. Fang Yuan's star form blessed land had few space path Dao marks, so star form land spirit did not have the ability to teleport. Boom, Fang Yuan placed down Luokou Valley. Fairy Li Shan could not help but smile at the completion of this task. Fang Yuan, you have Danghun Mountain, I have Minuscule Mountain, and Little Lan has Luokou Valley. Haha, this is interesting, we actually have possession of 3 secluded domains of heaven and earth. Gazing at the Luokou Valley below him, Fang Yuan also could not help but reveal some look of expectation. Danghun Mountain and Luokou Valley were proclaimed by Spectral Soul Demon Venerable as the 2 treasures of soul path cultivation. Fang Yuan was already gaining endless profits from Danghun Mountain. He wondered how this Luokou Valley would make him grow. Chapter 954, Blue. Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House, Discussion Hall. There were 15 GU Immortals in the sect, more than half of them had come in person. This was a rare sight. There were meetings held in the sect quite often, GU Immortals only needed to participate with their will or emotion. But now, there were 8 GU Immortals who came in person, including the only 2 rank 8 GU Immortals in Spirit Affinity House. The reason for this situation was Feng Juji's disappearance. Spirit Affinity House's GU Immortals felt uneasy and uncertain towards the future. This time, we gathered everyone here to declare important information. Spirit Affinity House's first Supreme Elder sat at the main seat as she looked around, speaking solemnly. Spirit Affinity House was very different from the other 9 sects in one aspect. They had a high proportion of female immortals. Spirit Affinity House had 10 female GU Immortals, but only 5 male GU Immortals. Spirit Affinity House's first Supreme Elder and second Supreme Elder were both female rank 8 Immortals. At this moment, everyone's attentions were focused on first Supreme Elder. First Supreme Elder was expressionless, but second Supreme Elder beside her had a grim expression. The GU Immortals observed their reactions and had a very bad feeling. As expected, First Supreme Elder's following words were like a huge rock crashing into their hearts. It has been confirmed, Feng Juzhe has died in Northern Plains. He died inside the winds of assimilation, he did not leave behind anything but 2 words written in blood. All of the immortals' hearts sank. Fairy Bai Qing, who attended the meeting personally, felt her head spinning as her expression paled. Even though they were mentally prepared, when they heard the news, everything still found it unbelievable. Feng Juzhe, who was so strong, actually died in Northern Plains. In contrast, the GU Immortals who were weaker than him were alive and returned to their sects. Honestly speaking, when Feng Juzhe went to Northern Plains, nobody expected this ending. Since long ago, Feng Juzhe's strength was ingrained into everyone's minds. He was the face of Spirit Affinity House, he had even become a symbol. Now that he was dead, the immortals felt dejected and empty inside. Even those who were against him, Xu Hao and Li Junying, had the same feelings. First Supreme Elder continued. Look at the information path GU worms in front of you, the details are recorded inside, take a look. The GU Immortals looked into the GU worms. Sigh, Lord Feng Juzhe died in the winds of assimilation, it was not an unworthy death. Long after, a GU Immortal broke the silence in the hall. Fairy Bai Qing's eyes were shut, her body was trembling slightly, the intense pain and grief engulfed her like a tsunami. She loved Feng Juzhe so deeply, and Feng Juzhe loved her just as much. Her mind was filled with the scene before he left. To think that it was the last time she would see him. People were often played by destiny. Right now, she was alive while he was dead, she was in Central Continent while he perished in Northern Plains. Fairy Bai Qing did not dare to open her eyes, she was afraid that her tears would flow out uncontrollably if she did. She tried to think of her daughter and said to herself internally, Bai Qing, oh Bai Qing, you must stay strong. At this time, you cannot let others see your weakness. She took a few deep breaths, slowly opening her eyes. Her eyes were watery and had redness in them. At this moment, the immortals in the hall were discussing Feng Juzhe's final action. Before Feng Juzhe died, he wrote, Bo Qing, on his palm. What was he trying to say? In my opinion, this lead is very important. Feng Juzhe must have understood something while under the immense pressure of death. It is a pity that he was already beyond saving when he met Zhao Lianyun. He did not have the strength to speak anymore, he only left this clue for us. Feng Juzhe was investigating the truth behind the collapse of 88 Truyong building. What does that have to do with Bo Qing? Feng Juzhe and Bo Qing are very similar people. Of course, Bo Qing was much stronger than him, he was at the peak of Central Continent, even Heavenly Court GU Immortals had to bow to him. At that time, Spirit Affinity House was at its most glorious period. Back then, many people thought highly of him, that he would become a sword path immortal venerable. It was a pity that he failed in the end. We all know about Bo Qing's information. What I want to know is, why did Feng Juzhe write his name before dying? What was he trying to tell us? The hall became silent, a GU immortal opened their mouth. Did everyone forget? In the information returned, Feng Juzhe had fought against Qin Baisheng who used five-finger fist heart sword. This killer move was created by Bo Qing, it was his signature killer move. Feng Juzhe was trying to say that the collapse of 88 Truyong building was related to Bo Qing. According to my deduction, he should have thought that since the other party had five-finger fist heart sword, they must be related to Bo Qing in some way. Bo Qing was a GU immortal of Spirit Affinity House, we will have an advantage in investigating it, this is an important lead. That is indeed the case. Back then, Bo Qing died under the tribulation, not even his ashes were left. How can his killer move be used by a Northern Plains GU immortal? The GU immortal talked about it for a while, they had all sorts of ideas, but none were reliable. First Supreme Elder raised her hand, her action made the hall turn quiet. No matter what, we have to investigate Bo Qing's matter. I will pass this mission to you, Bai Qing. Hearing First Supreme Elder call her name, Fairy Bai Qing turned around and looked at First Supreme Elder, agreeing. These was her husband's final words before dying. Fairy Bai Qing would exert all her efforts to investigate this lead, and find the truth. Only we will know about Feng Juzhe's death, conceal it as much as possible. Whoever leaks this information will become under trial as a traitor of the sect. First Supreme Elder called out coldly. Next, we will talk about the forces that are under our sect's control in Central Continent. Feng Juzhe's death created many problems for Spirit Affinity House. Even though the sect had two rank 8 GU immortals, unless they were in a perilous situation, these two GU immortals would not move easily. There were many reasons. Firstly, rank 8 cultivation level was like treading on thin ice, the GU immortals would be very careful, and spend all their efforts on the tribulations. If they were careless, and lost their battle strength from fighting, they would die under the terrifying might of the tribulations. Secondly, the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent had a sole origin, that was Heavenly Court. With Heavenly Court around, the conflicts of the 10 great ancient sects would never escalate, they did not require rank 8 GU immortals to intervene. Thus, in the world of Central Continent's GU immortals, or even in all 5 regions, the most active ones were rank 7 GU immortals and rank 6 GU immortals. And among rank 7s, the invincible Feng Juzhe was important beyond words for the sect. Because of his existence, Spirit Affinity House could expand to such a size, and occupy countless precious resource points. With Feng Juzhe's demise, Spirit Affinity House was much less of a threat towards the other sects. The resources that they controlled were like pieces of delicious meat that attracted countless greedy gazes. Xuanwu Mountain Range has rich resources, it is a treasury of immortal materials, at least one rank 7 GU immortal needs to guard it. The mining inside the Golden Sand Cave has reached a critical moment, we have already invested a huge amount of time and resources into it, now is the time we reap our harvest, we should not give it up. Reincarnation battlefield is most important. The GU immortals felt headaches, they had too large of a sphere of influence but too few GU immortals. Even if they were split their forces up to defend everywhere, they still had insufficient numbers. At this time, they finally realized that Feng Juzhe's reputation was such a huge deterrence to the outside world. Fairy Bai Qing was silent. The GU immortals were talking about immortal materials or other resources constantly, nobody talked about Feng Juzhe anymore. It was as if Feng Juzhe's existence ended with the discussion of the two words, Bo Qing. Fairy Bai Qing felt some sadness towards this. Husband, oh husband, you made so many contributions to the sect, yet in the end, these people forget about you in an instant. In the entire process of the discussion, Fairy Bai Qing's mind was not focused on it. The immortals could tell and understood why, even the strict First Supreme Elder did not criticize her. Only when the immortals mentioned Zhao Lianyun did Fairy Bai Qing's eyes light up, showing deep concern. If Feng Juzhe was still around, Feng Juzhe would almost certainly become Spirit Affinity House's next generation fairy. But now that Feng Juzhe was gone, and Zhao Lianyun appeared out of nowhere, she became Feng Jinhuang's greatest threat. Fairy Bai Qing doted on her daughter, of course, thus she was very concerned about Zhao Lianyun's matters. She heard the GU Immortals discuss. Zhao Lianyun inherited 2 thieving heaven true inheritances, did anything change in her? Otherworldly demons cannot be trusted. Divine concealment, ghostly concealment, these 2 are top-tier defensive immortal killer moves, we are still researching on them with our current progress, it is profound and unfathomable. These 2 immortal killer moves have formed 2 layers of Dao marks cloaking Zhao Lianyun's soul, I have never seen such a unique usage of Dao marks. These 2 layers of Dao marks will always protect Zhao Lianyun. We tried many methods to deduce her, but there is no effect. We as GU Immortals are deducing Immortal, but we failed to get anything. If I did not experience it myself, I would not believe it. Did you all notice? Divine Concealment and Ghostly Concealment are top-tier defensive killer moves that do not expend immortal essence. They are like fortune rivaling heaven GU, the power of Venerables are truly hard to comprehend. Hiding from the deductions of thoughts, wills, and emotions, this is the defensive effect of Divine Concealment. Then what about Ghostly Concealment? That is still unclear, we have tried many methods. Oh, Zhao Lianyun was very cooperative during the entire process. I feel that even though she is an otherworldly demon, she knows how to behave properly, she can be nurtured. This little fellow wants to save her lover. Hee, but sadly, according to our intelligence, old ancestor Shui who has already gathered enough immortal materials, he will start the refinement soon. Finally, First Supreme Elder concluded this meeting, continue researching, and also increase Zhao Lianyun's attachment to our sect. I am looking forward to her future. At the same time, in a nameless forest, 7-star child immortal zombie looked at a mirror to communicate with someone. There was a vague elderly figure in the mirror. He spoke slowly, all the preparations are in place. But Heavenly Court has already completed their last process of repairing Fate GU, you have to act in advance now. Understood, 7-star child immortal zombie said solemnly. Be careful, Vice Envoy Blue. The figure in the mirror spoke again. 7-star child did not speak, he stopped activating this information path immortal killer move and the mirror vanished. Next, he turned around and entered deep into the forest without looking back. Chapter 955, Swords traverse Central Continent. The scene was quiet and dark. Under the hazy moonlight, shadows of trees seemed to be dancing. The occasional breeze, the cries of birds and the growls of beasts felt like the sleep-talking of this mountain range. Lanterns were lit in a cabin in the mountain valley, giving off a dim light. Feng Jinhuang lay on the bed, weak and pale without a trace of rosiness on her face. She looked at Fairy Bai Qing who was sitting at the edge of the bed, and apologized, Mother, I made a mistake, I will not do it again. Fairy Bai Qing was grave. Huang I know what you are thinking about. You are cultivating so desperately that you have already injured yourself 5 or 6 times over these last dozens of days. I have warned you when you began cultivating, you need to act according to what is natural and be in control. But what you are doing is going for more haste, which is instead causing you to progress slowly, you might even collapse and endanger your life as well. Feng Jinhuang lowered her eyelids, speaking quietly, Mother, I am sorry. I have already placed GU in your body, as punishment, you cannot cultivate for 7 days and 7 nights and you can only move around this mountain valley. If you are hungry, you can pick up wild fruits, if you are thirsty, you can go drink from the mountain spring. Think properly over these days. Fairy Bai Qing said in a heavy voice. Mother, don't. Feng Jinhuang was very anxious. However, Fairy Bai Qing brushed her sleeves at Feng Jinhuang's cheek. Immediately, an intense sleepiness attacked Feng Jinhuang's mind. Her eyelids were extremely heavy and she felt so exhausted that she was not able to say anything. In the blink of an eye, she fell into a deep sleep. Seeing her daughter in a deep sleep but still frowning slightly, Fairy Bai Qing was sad and worried. Fairy Bai Qing had not informed Feng Jinhuang of Feng Juji's death. On one hand, Spirit Affinity House wanted to conceal the news for as long as possible to make arrangements more easily. Feng Jinhuang, a mortal, was not qualified to know. After all, prying information from mortals were much easier than prying information from GU Immortals. Secondly, Fairy Bai Qing did not know how she could inform her. Why was Feng Jinhuang cultivating so desperately? She was working hard to advance further, to become stronger so that she could look for her father and save him. How could Fairy Bai Qing tell the cruel truth to Feng Jinhuang? She could not bear to sigh. As she looked at her daughter's face, Fairy Bai Qing heaved a long sigh. Her normally upright posture and dignified white robe, in this dim light, looked weak and dull. She was truly tired. Only now did she remove the disguise and revealed her true emotions. Fairy Bai Qing softly caressed Feng Jinhuang's cheek. The love and affection in her gaze could even melt iron. Feng Jinhuang's appearance combined the good features of Feng Juzhe and Fairy Bai Qing. In her face, Fairy Bai Qing could vaguely see Feng Juzhe's image. Feng Juzhe was dead. Feng Jinhuang was now her only sustenance to keep on living. In such a silent gaze, time passed and light was already shining in from outside the cabin. The light of dawn made Fairy Bai Qing realize the passing of time. She had to set out now. She stood up slowly, taking slow steps towards the outside, and closed the door carefully. She looked at the cabin in the valley deeply, murmuring to herself, Huang wait 7 days for mother, you need to take care of yourself during this period and calm your mind. Fairy Bai Qing was not worried about Feng Jinhuang's safety. After all, this was Spirit Affinity House's central region. Even if there were internal fights in the sect, they were limited and a move would not be made against Feng Jinhuang. Fairy Bai Qing stepped on the clouds and mist, flying towards the northwest direction. Her destination was the source of falling Heavenly River. Why was she going there? She had received the sect mission to investigate Bo Qing, the clue left behind by Feng Juzhe. Bo Qing had been a GU Immortal of Spirit Affinity House and the sect had large amounts of records on him which Fairy Bai Qing had looked through. In her investigation, Fairy Bai Qing discovered Bo Qing's experiences were actually extremely similar to Feng Juzhe's. What made her even more interested was Bo Qing's lover, Mo Yao. Mo Yao had been the fairy of that generation of Spirit Affinity House, and unlike those of other generations, she was an Inkman and not a human. But even so, Bo Qing and Mo Yao had fallen in love with each other at first sight. Bo Qing might not have entered Northern Plains, but Mo Yao went to Northern Plains, even entering Imperial Court Blessed Land. Could Mo Yao be involved in the plan of destroying 88 Truyong Building? Fairy Bai Qing knew the reason that Mo Yao risked entering Imperial Court Blessed Land was to help her husband, Bo Qing, pass his tribulation. Back then, the peak rank 8 Bo Qing was about to face tribulation to break through to the rank 9 level. Such a huge event had not only attracted the attention of Central Continent, but also the other 4 regions. Unfortunately, at the end, Bo Qing died, perishing in the terrifying tribulation. And Mo Yao also perished with him. In fact, all the GU Immortals of Central Continent knew of this. Fairy Bai Qing had also heard of this many times in the past. But now, as she recalled, she got a different feeling, as if they were in the same boat. She even envied Mo Yao. Even in death, she had died together with her husband. Both had not let each other down, they were a couple who were greatly in love with each other and had died worthy deaths. Fairy Bai Qing repeatedly investigated and racked her brains, but was not able to make much progress. She discovered some clues in the records of the sect, all pointing towards the same place, the source of the falling Heavenly River. As there was no breakthrough in other aspects, Fairy Bai Qing decisively moved towards falling Heavenly River to search for more clues. The source of falling Heavenly River was the place where Bo Qing had perished in the past. Spirit Affinity House was quite far away from the source of falling Heavenly River. If Fairy Bai Qing relied on her own methods, she would take up to a year to reach there. She naturally would not do so and had already made sufficient preparations before leaving. She flew rapidly, using Spirit Affinity House's GU formations constantly on the way to transport her. In one use, she could travel over 100,000 li, saving a large amount of time. She did not directly move towards the direction of the source of falling Heavenly River, instead moving towards Myriad Dragon Dock. In the range of Myriad Dragon Dock's force, she used their transportation GU formations to speed up her journey. She had already communicated with Myriad Dragon Dock's GU Immortals, and although she paid a high price, she was able to further save a large amount of time. She moved smoothly towards falling Heavenly River. After Myriad Dragon Dock's territory, Fairy Bai Qing stepped into the territory of Combat Immortal Sect. Just like before, she used their transportation GU formations to speed up her journey. A day and a night later, the fatigued Fairy Bai Qing was finally only 1,000 li away from the source of falling Heavenly River. In front of her was an enormous waterfall that fell from an endless height. A boundless expanse of water heavily crashed at the riverbed. The rumbling noise of the waterfall was like the continuous crackling of thunder. Endless water vapor formed dense fog that shrouded a vast range of the surroundings. Why was it called Falling Heavenly River? Falling Heavenly River, a giant river that fell from the heavens. Compared to this enormous river, Fairy Bai Ching was minute like an ant. Fairy Bai Ching had already seen falling heavenly river when she had traveled with Feng Juzhe in the past. Right now, as she looked at this enormous river again, she could not avoid thinking about Feng Juzhe, feeling distressed. She still remembered what Feng Juzhe said to her at that time. It was about the reason for the formation of falling heavenly river. Feng Juzhe had confidently told Fairy Bai Ching that there were two opinions about this. One was that falling heavenly river itself was a form of calamity or tribulation, while the second said that when Bo Ching had resisted his tribulation, his sword light was so sharp that it instantly pierced through white heaven to black heaven. And Bo Ching had faced his tribulation during daytime. Thus this sword light had pierced a huge hole in white heaven, continuing on to black heaven, where it formed a small hole in the bottom layer of black heaven. It just so happened that above these two holes was a majestic heavenly river. The heavenly river followed the path between these two holes and crashed down to central continent, forming an inland sea. At the same time, the river surged and opened a path, forming the first river that traversed through central continent's mainland. Fairy Bai Ching had asked, which was more reasonable between these two opinions? Feng Juzhe had answered with a smile, I am also not too sure. But the second opinion can explain the change in the water flow. During daytime, the falling heavenly river flows with extremely strong momentum, even rank 8 GU immortals are unable to resist this momentum. And during night, the flow of falling heavenly river slows down to the extent rank 7 GU immortals can just barely resist it. Nature's might was boundless and peerless. Even GU immortals appeared insignificant when compared to it. Ending her recollection, Fairy Bai Ching's gaze focused. She had borrowed many water path immortal GU for this trip, to help her enter falling heavenly river. However, it was clearly impossible to do that during the day. Fairy Bai Ching was a rank 7 GU immortal, her only opportunity was to enter during night and search for clues. It was still daytime right now. Fairy Bai Ching reduced her speed and slowly neared falling heavenly river. She intended to wait for nightfall before she entered the riverbed. Time passed, the sun gradually set in the west, red streaks of colors overlapped in the horizon and the radiance of the setting sun shone on Fairy Bai Ching's face. Suddenly, she opened her eyes, looking at the distant falling heavenly river with astonishment. Roar! Water gurgled as a giant beast stretched out its head from under the river, revealing the tips of its horns. This was an enormous bull head, the horns were curved. Immemorial desolate beast myriad eyes clear bull. Fairy Bai Ching was pale as she recognized this fierce beast's identity. Falling heavenly river was not safe. Besides the majestic waterfall, there were also large amounts of ancient desolate beasts and immemorial desolate beasts living inside. The myriad eyes clear bull was an immemorial desolate beast and one of the overlords that lived at the riverbed of falling heavenly river. Doesn't it normally stay at the riverbed and patrol its territory? Why has it suddenly come out of the river? Fairy Bai Ching was puzzled, but she quickly retreated, maintaining some distance with this myriad eyes clear bull. Immemorial desolate beasts had rank 8 battle strength. Fairy Bai Ching could not defeat this giant bull. Moreover, her main objective here was not to hunt. Fairy Bai Ching was cautious while sighing at her bad luck. With the myriad eyes clear bull's appearance, she had an ominous feeling. Right as she was about to distance herself further from the myriad eyes clear bull, a sword light suddenly came out from the riverbed. Like a thunderbolt, it pierced through the myriad eyes clear bull. This sturdy and tough immemorial desolate beast was instantly cut into two by the sword light. Endless blood and internal organs splattered out, dyeing the nearby river blood red. Whoosh! Before Fairy Bai Ching was able to react, another sword light flew out, slashing at the river bank. The next moment, a long gash was slashed open on the ground, like it was a delicate tofu, and large amounts of water flowed towards the space rapidly. The river water overflowed, all of the surroundings were covered with water. Fairy Bai Ching was extremely shocked. What was going on? What was this situation? The sword light had such power that its terrifying might had reached an extreme. The immemorial desolate beast had been cut down as easily as a vegetable. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, countless sword lights shot out from below the falling heavenly river. Like fireworks, the sword lights flew everywhere, leaving falling heavenly river before rapidly disappearing from Fairy Bai Ching's sight. Swords traverse central continent. Chapter 956, World-shaking might. Central continent, Centipede Valley. A terrifying chase was happening in the narrow ravine on the mountain road. Quickly run, quickly run. A miniman laid down on Hong Yi's head as it shouted anxiously. It hurts, it hurts. Don't pull my hair, Hong Yi screamed in pain. The miniman did not pay attention to what he said, it subconsciously grabbed onto Hong Yi's hair and turned back to look. Damn it, it is already here, Quickly leave, if you are not fast enough, we will be eaten by it. The miniman called out frantically. I also want to move faster. Hong Yi gritted his teeth, exerting all his effort to use his movement GU. Unfortunately, his cultivation level was too low, at only rank 2 upper stage. Of course, this cultivation level was already very rare at Hong Yi's age. Ever since the refinement path convention, Hong Yi had obtained some lucky opportunities and his cultivation speed far surpassed others. But in this current moment of danger, rank 2 upper stage cultivation level was useless against the wild rank 5 golden horn centipede chasing behind him. This centipede had a huge body, it was like a large python. It had a sharp horn on its head. When it moved on the ground, its hundreds of legs stomped, its body twisted as it moved rapidly. We're finished, it is already right behind you. The miniman was pale from shock, it was terror-stricken. I'll risk it. Hong Yi could also feel the golden horn centipede getting closer, the hair over his body was standing on end from fear, he had no choice but to use his only killer move. This killer move was a movement killer move. But Hong Yi had only obtained it recently, he had not practiced with it for long enough. When he used it, the success rate and failure rate was 50% each. Killer moves required at least 2 GU worms to activate. The more GU worms there were, the more complicated the steps involved, and the greater difficulty in activating it, but the power of the move also normally increased. Hong Yi's new movement killer move was formed by nearly 10 mortal GU. It was not comparable to a GU Immortal, but for GU Masters, this was a relatively huge number of GU. Killer moves were not so easy to practice. When the activation of the killer move fails, the GU Master or the GU Worms might receive damage. Thus, normally, Hong Yi was very careful every time he practiced this killer move. But at this time, his life was in critical danger, he could not care anymore. His original speed was not enough for him to break free from the golden horn centipede, he was sure to die. Right now, there was only one way left, he had to risk it. Activate, I must succeed. Hong Yi screamed in his mind. But wishes were wonderful, reality was cruel. Activating killer moves required intense concentration, some killer moves needed special environments and could not be disturbed. Fang Yuan could easily use his killer moves because he had a huge amount of experience in the 500 years of his previous life, but Hong Yi was a newbie. At this time, he was in danger, he had to pay attention to the path in front of him as the mountain was full of rocks and pitfalls, he was running rapidly, if he fell, his life would be over. On the other hand, Hong Yi was chased by the golden horn centipede. The intense commotion behind him was ringing in his ears, he was engulfed in the aura of death, how could Hong Yi be unaffected by it? Under this situation, those who could remain calm and absolutely focused were experienced experts who had already undergone countless battles and had disregarded the fear of death. Hong Yi could reach this stage eventually, but he was too young now. It's catching up, it's catching up. The miniman on top of his head screamed in fear as it looked at the golden horn centipede, shortening the gap between them with a fierce demeanor. The centipede was heavy and had a huge body, it had hundreds of legs and a huge mouth, saliva splattered everywhere as it bit at Hong Yi. The miniman screamed tragically, it shut its eyes in fear. Even though it had wings, they were broken already, it could not fly. It had succeeded in stealing the rank 5 GU material 100 flower dew during this exploration into the cave. But there was a price to pay for this, it had attracted the animosity of the golden horn centipede which was guarding the dew. Thus, the miniman could only escape with Hong Yi, trying to get away using his superior speed. However, the miniman did not feel any pain. It opened its eyes, showing disbelief. For some reason, Hong Yi had escaped from the golden horn centipede's bite. But at the next moment, the golden horn centipede chased them again. The miniman was scared, but it could see clearly now. The reason was, whenever the golden horn centipede tried to bite Hong Yi, it would subconsciously raise its head first. This action would cause its head to go dozens of meters above the ground, half of its body would be elevated from the ground as well, before it landed heavily. When the centipede raised its head, many of its legs would leave the ground, its speed would fall. But at this time, Hong Yi was still running without lowering his speed. Thus, Hong Yi could evade the golden horn centipede every time it attacked. This fool. The miniman laughed heartily, it felt an intense joy in escaping from mortal danger. Man is the spirit of all beings, wild GU worms had limited intelligence, their movements were decided by instincts. I was kind enough to escape with you, but you call me a fool. Hong Yi was displeased. I am not scolding you, I am talking about this golden horn centipede, you fool. The miniman shouted. Hong Yi was still nursing displeasure. You are the fool, I said. The centipede was sleeping. You should not have been afraid and simply should have stolen the 100 flower dew and escaped, but you had to scream for no reason. The miniman's cheeks puffed up, guilt flashed across its eyes as it showed an embarrassed expression. It wanted to rebuke him, but at the next moment, its eyes opened wide in shock. It turned out, the golden horned centipede behind saw that it could not bite Hong Yi. It changed its attack method, using its golden horn. Of course, it had not become smarter. The reason was, during its long life, the golden horned centipede had encountered some large prey that it could not swallow. In that situation, the golden horned centipede would use its horn to slice the prey up into pieces. Opening its mouth to bite was the golden horned centipede's instinct. Using the golden horn was also an instinct. The golden horned centipede pounced harshly, lowering its head and stabbing its horn forward, soon approaching Hong Yi's butt. This was unavoidable because of its size. Fool, run! The miniman saw this dangerous situation and shuddered in fear. It could not even grab onto the hair firmly. You still are calling me a fool? Oh! Hong Yi shouted, but suddenly, his pitch became higher, like a rooster who was grabbed by the neck. There was shock, unpreparedness, and intense pain in his voice. The golden horn had already stabbed into Hong Yi's buttocks. The miniman was full of despair. It thought that this was it. But at this moment, Hong Yi's speed suddenly rose by a huge amount. He shot out like a cannonball. The reason was, when he was screaming, the intense pain gave him a moment of inspiration and he successfully used the killer move in an instant. Hong Yi escaped as a result. Bleeding, you are bleeding. The miniman screamed loudly to Hong Yi. It turned out that the golden horned centipede had already stabbed Hong Yi's buttocks, but because Hong Yi burst out in an instant, the two sides had been separated by a distance again. It was as if a dagger was pulled out of Hong Yi's buttocks. The wound was unstopped and started bleeding. My butt hurts. Ah, it's so painful. At this moment, Hong Yi's mind was filled with an intense thought. He subconsciously grabbed his butt, applying pressure on the wound. However, naturally because he was feeling pain from his injury, his mind was distracted again. The killer move that he had activated earlier fell apart, and his speed dropped again. But the golden horned centipede was still chasing him. The golden horn stabbed into his other butt cheek. Ah! Hong Yi screamed again, but the same thing happened again. The powerful attack, the sudden pain, Hong Yi's focus reached another peak. He used the killer move again. He sprinted again. You're bleeding, you're bleeding. The miniman screamed. There was no choice. The two wounds were very deep. Because of Hong Yi's intense movement, it was no wonder that blood spewed out. Hong Yi grabbed his buttocks as the golden horned centipede chased relentlessly. He was in such a helpless situation. Oh no, my primeval essence is running out. Suddenly, Hong Yi's expression paled. GU masters had little primeval essence in the first place. It was easily used up. Activating killer moves meant using many GU worms. The expenditure was great. After running for such a long time, Hong Yi reached his limits. Death was approaching. Hong Yi was forced into a desperate situation. There was no way to live. Are we going to die? Are we going to die? Lord Centipede, don't eat me. I am so small. I have little meat. Eat him, eat that fool. The miniman was muttering senselessly while grabbing Hong Yi's hair. At this moment, Hong Yi was feeling empty inside. He did not bother to respond to this miniman. But suddenly, sword light that shook the world flashed. In an instant, the world turned white, everything turned silent. The sudden change did not make Hong Yi stop running. He kept running for a while before he realized something amiss. Looking back, he was shocked. The rank 5 golden horned centipede GU was no longer present. It had vanished completely. Along with it, half of Centipede Valley had vanished. What was in front of him was a huge and deep trench. The sides of the trench were extremely smooth, like a mirror. What is going on? Hong Yi was lost for words. He could not believe it. Just that sword light. The miniman was completely stunned. Central continent, East Coast. Waves crashed, rumbling non-stop. Frost energy oozed out in the surrounding area. Youngsters, we are here. This is Profound Ice Island, the place where Flying Frost Sect is located. This will be where you live from now on, the place where you change your destiny. The leading GU master pointed at the ice island and proudly introduced this. The youngsters raised their heads, looking forward. Some had shining eyes, some were extremely excited. Even though Flying Frost Sect did not have any GU immortals and was not a super force, within a huge surrounding area, it was the supreme overlord. The only force that could contest it was 5 Virtues Sect. Not long ago, when the Central Continent Refinement Path Convention was held, Flying Frost Sect was one of the venues for participation. Because of this, the reputation of Flying Frost sect had spread widely. This time, the children here have the highest aptitude for the last 10 years. They are the future of the sect, nurture them well, they will make us stronger. The leading GU master saw these children and felt very excited. The leading GU master said loudly, "Youngsters, it is your fortune to be able to become Flying Frost sect's disciples. Now, let me tell you." Swoosh. At this time, sword light flashed, everyone was blinded momentarily, they all shut their eyes. When they opened their eyes, everyone was stunned, they opened their mouths and were still like statues with exaggerated expressions. The huge profound ice island was gone, in its place, there was a deep trench that appeared in their vision. Even the sea water was split apart. On the surface of the sea, a path of 5 to 6 li in length had been completely emptied of water, the lingering sword path Dao marks were extremely overbearing, blocking the water path Dao marks and preventing the water from filling up the gap. At once, a weird but domineering scene was formed. Heavenly Court. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord held his walking stick as he stood below Heaven Overseeing Tower shakily. His other hand was holding Fate GU, his old wrinkled hand was gently rubbing Fate GU. This time, Fate GU was successfully repaired to a great extent, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord was extremely excited and happy. The ones who had repaired it with him, Bai Kang Shui, Lian Ju Sheng, and Bai Chen Tian had already left Heavenly Court, going to the mortal world. The GU immortals in Heavenly Court mostly used sleeping as their lifespan extension method. After waking up, they had to make good use of their time, going to their sects and settling some private matters, or to take care of their blood-related descendants in the sect. Heavenly Court controlled the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, but at the same time, Heavenly Court's GU immortals were also chosen from the 10 great ancient sects. In the structure of sects, Heavenly Court was like the upper-level sect, and the 10 great ancient sects were the lower-level sects. Not all GU immortals had the chance to join Heavenly Court. Other than having deep attainment in their paths, great battle strength and reaching rank 8 cultivation level, there was also additional important criteria to join Heavenly Court. That was their values. Heavenly Court. What was Heavenly Court? Star constellation Immortal Venerable had described it 3 million years ago, it was following the will of heaven, and upholding justice for heaven. After this restoration, Fate GU can use half of its might. Using Heaven Overseeing Tower, we can find more people who escaped from fate. Eliminating these people will help in repairing Fate GU, this can allow more people to be found and result in a beneficial cycle. As long as this progresses, Heaven Overseeing Tower will regain its former glory. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord was filled with anticipation, he was about to step into Heaven Overseeing Tower again. Rumble. A sword light shot over like a flash of lightning. In no time, it sliced through Heaven Overseeing Tower. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's mouth was opened wide, his pupils shrunk to pin size. His body was extremely stiff, he saw that the upper half of Heaven Overseeing Tower slowly tilted and crashed onto the jade floor. Heaven Overseeing Tower. After being stunned momentarily, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord screamed loudly. Chapter 957, Rising Commotion. It finally stopped. Fairy Bai Qing looked at the tranquil river surface, her face pale with lingering fear. When the sword lights rampaged, she was nearest to the source and had personally witnessed this heaven-shaking scene. Right now, falling heavenly river was filled with corpses. Large quantities of mutilated body parts of ancient desolate beasts and immemorial desolate beasts bobbed up and down in the river. The surging white heavenly river water was now dyed blood red. Although falling heavenly river came from the heavens, the river water was filled with vitality. Countless ferocious beasts lived within and propagated, large numbers of aquatic plants grew within, and there were also countless hidden currents, whirlpools and other natural traps which even a GU immortal could die from. Fairy Bai Qing waited for some moments, no more sword lights appeared. She ran to the river and picked up the corpses of the beasts, and the branches and roots of ancient desolate plants and immemorial desolate plants. She had truly earned a fortune. The fortune was so huge even she could not help being joyous. But the happiness did not last long. Many ancient desolate beasts began to show up. Fairy Bai Qing could even vaguely see some faint images of ancient desolate beasts through the river water. These beasts' ferocity was stimulated by the bloodied water. The flesh and bones cut apart by the sword light were excellent delicacies to these beasts. More and more beasts were attracted over by the blood and flesh, leading to a fierce battle. They tore at each other as they battled for food, raising frightening waves. Fairy Bai Qing had no choice but to retreat. Over half the original quantity of corpses remained, she looked at them with much regret. These were all excellent GU refinement materials. The sword lights shot out so suddenly. What happened in falling heavenly river? Should I enter to explore and find the reasons or not? Fairy Bai Qing was held back by the thought of Feng Jinhuang, thus she hesitated. However, she had a feeling that Bo Qing's clues should be in the riverbed of falling heavenly river. Fairy Bai Qing gritted her teeth, turning into a white light, shooting straight into falling heavenly river. From falling heavenly river's source, unrivaled sword lights had shot out everywhere, their range covering the whole of central continent. Whether it was the Centipede Valley in central continent's central region, or Flying Frost Sect in the east, or even Heavenly Court which was high above, they were all affected by the sword lights. The whole of central continent was in a commotion. Heavenly Court. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's face was ashen, his hand moved without stopping, he had immediately started restoring Heaven Overseeing Tower when he had gotten out of his shocked state. He had already sent a message to Bai Chen Tian, Bai Kang Shui and Lian Zhusheng, urgently recalling them. Right now, they were already on their way. The damage created by the sword light was extremely troublesome, its sword path Dao marks seemed to contain a corrosive nature. The remaining parts of Heaven Overseeing Tower might be standing upright, but it would not last for long. If the sword path Dao marks were left to continue corroding, it would definitely lead to even more disastrous damage. We succeeded in our last attempt at restoring Fate Immortal GU, but when I was just about to use it, Heaven Overseeing Tower was split apart. Is this a coincidence? Or, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord had a bad premonition. After a while, Bai Chen Tian was the first to return, then Bai Kang Shui and finally Lian Zhusheng arrived. Lian Zhusheng had stopped partway through, but was thus able to bring concrete information. I have investigated it, the sword light came from the source of falling heavenly river. Right now, the whole of central continent is in a ruckus. Falling heavenly river's source, isn't that where Bo Qing died? Bai Kang Shui exclaimed in shock. Speaking of Bo Qing, Heavenly Court's 4 immortals had complicated feelings on him. Back then, it was not that they did not try to recruit Bo Qing, but unfortunately, Bo Qing's ideals did not conform to theirs, and he did not join Heavenly Court. Bo Qing, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's gaze was dark. Investigate, we must investigate this clearly. Fairy Kang Shui, you are specialized in water path, I will have to trouble you to make a trip. The 3 of us will stay here to restore Heaven Overseeing Tower. For some reason, I am having a very bad feeling about this. The other 3 immortals' expressions turned serious. Bai Chen Tian spoke. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, you are in charge of Heaven Overseeing Tower and Fate GU, if you are uneasy, we cannot disregard it, we need to move quickly. Central Continent, Combat Immortal Sect. Falling Heavenly River's source has changed all of a sudden, I suspect Bo Qing's sword path inheritance has appeared. Jin Liang, you will go to investigate the truth. You can bring 2 rank 6 GU immortals, choose whoever you want. Combat Immortal Sect's first Supreme Elders will float it in midair. GU Immortal Jin Liang was sitting within fire. He was tall and well built, with golden hair and fiery eyes, and a vigorous rank 7 aura. Hearing what was said, he instead snorted, not giving any face to the first Supreme Elder. You should go find Shilei for this matter, he is the Immortal Monkey King, with Feng Zhuzhe no longer alive, he is now the strongest among Central Continent's rank 7 GU Immortals. First Supreme Elders will smiled. Jin Liang, Shilei might be strong, but he is not the only person in Combat Immortal Sect. He has already made more than enough contributions in the exploration of Starry Sky Grotto Heaven, could it be that you want him to make more contributions? An idea came to Jin Liang and he suddenly became convinced. He leapt out of the fire, and cupped his fists. Hey! First Supreme Elder is correct. I had thought of growing another 17 or 18 fire path Dao marks, but since that is the case, I will immediately move out. First Supreme Elders will nodded, instructing, go and return quickly. Wind Cloud Manor. First Senior Brother, you came out of seclusion. GU Immortal Hong Kai Ming immediately greeted the person in front of him with great joy. This person was clothed in a white robe and was wearing a jade belt. He was tall and thin, elegance and harmoniousness seemed to be expressed in him. He smiled and nodded. I came out because of the change in falling heavenly river. Junior brother, you participated in the 100 Days battle and personally witnessed 5-finger fist hard sword. I have been asked to go investigate the truth of falling heavenly river, please lend me a hand. Hong Kai Ming took a deep breath and said sincerely, First Senior Brother, you are treating me like an outsider. Back then, were it not for your help, I would not be around today. I will offer my full efforts. Spirit Affinity House, Discussion Hall. Should we send someone to investigate the strange change in falling heavenly river's source? First Supreme Elder was not present, so the discussion hall was managed by Second Supreme Elder. Second Supreme Elder, you may not be aware but Fairy Bai Ching has already gone to explore Falling Heavenly River's source a few days ago. Li Junying's will spoke. Oh, did she discover some clues? A GU Immortal unavoidably recalled the matters discussed. Second Supreme Elder frowned. Fairy Bai Ching only has peak rank 6 cultivation, it is not enough to cope with this situation. But the sect is limited on available personnel right now, who should I send to reinforce Bai Ching at this time? Shu Hao's laughed. Reporting to Second Supreme Elder, Fairy Bai Ching has actually already advanced to rank 7, it is just that she concealed it and did not report it. Oh, is that the case? I remember there was still some time before the tribulation for her advancement to rank 7. Shu Hao calmly replied, this matter has been confirmed. Before Feng Juzhe left for Northern Plains, he borrowed Time Path Immortal GU to secretly help Fairy Bai Ching advance her cultivation. So it was like that. Second Supreme Elder mumbled before saying, Fairy Bai Ching advancing to rank 7 is a blessing for our Spirit Affinity House. When she returns, she shall be rewarded heavily. Also, open the storage and let her choose a rank 7 Immortal GU. As for this matter of Falling Heavenly River, there is no need to send reinforcements anymore, just message her regarding the sect's intentions. Yes, we will follow Second Supreme Elder's command. TNT Mountain, this sword light, Bo Ching the pseudo-immortal Venerable who split the 5 regions with his sword, it was fortunate for the people in the world that love changed him. Maybe this is the appearance of his sword path true inheritance. Sword path GU Immortal Jian Yi Sheng gazed into the horizon with excitement and yearning. Such a huge change, Falling Heavenly River will definitely be a gathering point for GU Immortals, maybe there will be an opportunity to fish for profits in this commotion. Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects are strong and can eat the meat, but I should be able to drink some soup, right? As he thought of this, Jian Yi Sheng hardened his mind and flew out of TNT Mountain towards the northwest. Whether it was the righteous path led by the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, or the demonic path or lone cultivators like Jian Yi Sheng, they all started making their moves. Countless gazes pierced through space and gathered at the source of Falling Heavenly River. Bo Ching, a pseudo-immortal Venerable, at the pinnacle below the Venerables, this reputation that had been covered in dust resurfaced once again. The countless sword lights that wreaked havoc throughout the whole of Central Continent reminded the world of Bo Ching's power. A rumor, who knows from where, started spreading and kept on getting bigger, affecting everyone's mental states. The sword lights are the arrangements left behind by Bo Ching before he perished. He is reminding the world that his sword path true inheritance has appeared, and although he perished, he did not want his true inheritance to be obtained by the wrong person. He is using this chance to select the most suitable inheritor. Thereafter, the shock created from the sword light's might, gradually turned into greed and desire. Central Continent's GU Immortal world was in a commotion. Countless GU Immortals, even the hidden old monsters, started to move towards Falling Heavenly River. A commotion occurred in Central Continent, a huge dispute that covered the whole of Central Continent was going to unfold at Falling Heavenly River. But in southern border, it was calm and tranquil. The trees swayed in the lush green hills. On a mountain peak, in a stone pavilion, Old Man Yan Shi was sitting inside the pavilion, playing chess. A giant rock was in front of him. On the smooth surface of the rock were star path Dao marks that formed either horizontal cuts, vertical cuts or diagonal cuts, forming a dazzling diagram. Below Old Man Yan Shi was actually the famous astrolabe chessboard from history. A figure descended down from the sky, and the stone pavilion instantly filled with cold air. Why did you call me? Bai Ningbing coldly stared at the back of Old Man Yan Shi. Old Man Yan Shi slowly turned around and faced Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing continued to speak in an icy tone, although you helped me in becoming a GU Immortal, I am not a subordinate of yours who is at your beck and call. Old Man Yan Shi smiled, speaking softly, do you know that Fang Yuan will be returning? Fang Yuan, Bai Ningbing's gaze turned bright, he then squinted, hiding the sharp light in his eyes. With a cold snort, he said, explain it clearly. Chapter 958, Pan Bai Ningbing. Looking at Old Man Yan Shi, Bai Ningbing was very vigilant. Ever since he had advanced to GU Immortal, while in the process conveniently getting rid of his female body which had been troubling him for a long time, he thoroughly realized how unfathomable Old Man Yan Shi was. Bai Ningbing's nature was to be indifferent, but his firm attitude towards Old Man Yan Shi was only a type of probe. Even his strong desire of wanting to fight Fang Yuan and take vicious revenge was also a disguise for himself as well as a probe towards Old Man Yan Shi. Although only a few years had passed, Bai Ningbing was no longer so concerned about Fang Yuan. Being at the GU Immortal level had broadened his horizons, he saw many more things and experienced many more wonders. What he minded was old man Yanxi in front of him. It was not that he had not secretly investigated, but Shadow Sect was still deeply concealed, not revealing a trace. He did not know why old man Yanxi was helping him, but at the same time, he was also discontent at being controlled like this. He had thought of walking away from all of this. But Shadow Sect had spent so much effort on him, they certainly would not let him leave easily. In addition, Bai Ningbing cared about excitement and brilliance more than his own life. When the enemy was stronger, the process was dangerous, resistance became more difficult, it instead made him feel like he had not lived in vain, taking it as a pleasure of life. Competing against heaven, competing against earth, competing against humans, the joy was endless. There was one thing that Bai Ningbing had never done in his life, that was, retreating in the face of danger. Facing Bai Ningbing's query, old man Yanxi leisurely took out an immortal GU and said, "You only need to do as I say and I can guarantee Fang Yuan will return to southern border." Bai Ningbing's eyes shined with coldness. "You seem to know Fang Yuan's whereabouts clearly. But in the past, when I was advancing to GU Immortal, and I asked you the same question, you said you did not know." Old man Yanxi chuckled. He did not respond to Bai Ningbing's query, instead continuing, "To the south of Name Peak, east of Li Chu, not far away from Rock Dragon Cave, there is a nameless mountain peak. The mountain is tall and there is a long river that passes by it. The trees on the mountain are green and lush. It is a lone mountain with no other branch peaks. Go to the top of that mountain and activate this GU. Once you succeed, leave quickly. This mountain will become a forbidden zone for immortals. Any GU immortals that enter this area will be met with fatal killing intent." Bai Ningbing did not accept this immortal GU, his eyes still staring at old man Yanxi as he coldly said, "You still haven't answered my question." "I don't need to answer your question. You only need to know that when this is done, Fang Yuan will return. Back then, you signed an agreement with Shadow Sect. Wasn't the agreement that only after Fang Yuan is dead, you can be free from the agreement and regain your freedom?" Old man Yanxi smiled faintly. Bai Ningbing was silent for a while, before taking the immortal GU. He then gave a cold snort, and flew away, disappearing into the horizon. He made haste when traveling. 2 days later, he found the mountain old man Yanxi spoke of. "This mountain is ordinary and there is nothing strange, why did he choose this place?" Bai Ningbing was puzzled. Actually, he had many guesses, even thinking of the possibility that old man Yanxi was trying to harm him. "But, he has spent a huge price to raise me to GU Immortal, why would he kill me now? The chance of this is very low." Bai Ningbing shook his head. There was another uncertainty which he had for a long time. Why did old man Yanxi help me to become a GU Immortal? Among so many people, why did he choose me? Is it simply because of my northern dark ice soul physique? Previously, Bai Ningbing had such thoughts, but now he was increasingly feeling the truth was not as simple as that. Bai Ningbing started to carefully investigate this nameless mountain peak, but he did not find any traces of GU formations. He was filled with doubts and hesitation. If this was truly a trap, then he would be stupidly sending himself to death, wouldn't he be humiliating himself? Bai Ningbing suddenly had a thought. Old man Yanxi would not make me come here in particular and activate immortal GU for no reason. His motive is veiled in mystery, but there is no time limit, I might as well delay and probe him. If the matter was urgent, old man Yanxi would be very anxious and naturally would urge him. At that time, with the immortal GU, Bai Ningbing could obtain the initiative. Bai Ningbing bided his time and made no move. Sure enough, someone on Shadow Sect's side became anxious. A black-robed GU Immortal appeared inside the stone pavilion, and spoke with a rough voice. "Yanxi, Bai Ningbing has already gone for close to half a month, but there has been no word or action from him. Could it be that he ran away with the GU, or maybe encountered a problem?" Old man Yanxi was at ease, looking at the astrolabe chessboard. The astrolabe chessboard in front of him was filled with Dao marks, but compared to before, when Bai Ningbing had appeared, the numerous and disorderly lines had already reduced by a little less than half. Old man Yanxi was pinching his fingers as he tried to deduce the chess moves, while saying to the black-robed GU Immortal, "Bai Ningbing is still there, just not making a move." He already had doubts that this trip is harmful to him, so it is normal for him to have this reaction. The black-robed GU Immortal could not help but speak urgently when he saw the leisurely attitude of old man Yanxi, "But we can no longer delay the matter in Central Continent. Now, not just the GU Immortals from the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, but even a lot of lone cultivators and demonic cultivators have entered to explore the riverbed of Falling Heavenly River. Vice Envoy Blue and the others can only hold on for 3 days at most. After 3 days, Heavenly Court will realize this is an arrangement and it might disrupt our true plan. Old man Yanxi nodded, agreeing, what you say makes sense. In fact, the present state has already diverged from the original plan, the progress is really too slow. How about you send a letter to urge Bai Ningbing to make a move quickly? If he doesn't submit, we can take away his immortal level and make him fall down back to immortal. He became a GU immortal with our help, but he is only a false immortal, there is no need for us to continue letting him be so arrogant. We can take action first and remove his GU immortal strength, making him immortal again, restoring his female body. Such a junior with his head high above the clouds, if we don't make him know his place, we won't be able to use him. The black-robed GU immortal suggested. He, why do you think I am using him? Old man Yanxi chuckled, he lightly flicked his wide sleeve, immediately, a star mark was removed from the astrolabe chessboard. If Fang Yuan was to see this sight, he would definitely be very shocked. Doing this with such ease, old man Yanxi's wisdom path attainment level was definitely great grandmaster. The black-robed GU immortal was wearing a large hood that covered his expression, but his tone was filled with heavy doubts. Yanxi, didn't you choose Bai Ningbing because you saw his 10 extreme physique battle strength? No, that is not the case. Old man Yanxi laughed, this is only what makes him special on the surface. His true special characteristic is that he is also someone who has escaped fate. What, he is also one? The black-robed GU immortal was shocked. Old man Yanxi explained further. Our crucial plan has been devised for 100,000 years. Our true enemy is not the central continent's heavenly court, or the other 4 regions, but heaven. So I am handing this final crucial step to Bai Ningbing. He is an escapee of fate, from a certain perspective, he could be said to have escaped the grasp of heaven's will as well. Only this kind of person is qualified to become our pawn. So it was like that. The black-robed GU immortal came to a realization and had no more doubts. Old man Yanxi continued. Bai Ningbing is a fate escapee, heaven's will is unable to control him completely, making him a potent weapon for us. We will first let him spearhead the attack, and what we will do is build up our energy, using all of our strength to cope with the fury of heaven's will. After Bai Ningbing left, I did not contact him and let him move freely, but you can rest assured, with his nature, he will not wait for much longer. Since that is the case, then I will continue sleeping. The black-robed GU immortal cupped his fists, and took his leave. Bai Ningbing waited another 2 days on the nameless mountain peak, occasionally looking at the direction of old man Yanxi's stone pavilion. So many days have passed by, but old man Yanxi has not urged me yet. It seems he is not in a hurry about this matter. That makes sense. If he was hurried, he would emphasize the time limit for completing the task when he handed it to me. Bai Ningbing could not help but feel somewhat dejected. The probing just now was undoubtedly a failure. He looked at the mountain below him, and pondered, I have checked this mountain time and time again over these last days, but I could not find traces of any GU formations. Sigh, if this is as truly harmful to me, I can only admit defeat, I could not find out anything, I can only blame my inadequate ability. Bai Ningbing sighed and hovered in the air, looking at this ordinary mountain. Go. With a shift of his mind, his immortal essence started to be consumed as he activated the mysterious immortal GU. The immortal GU let out some radiance but it still lay on his palm, showing no movement. Bai Ningbing was slightly surprised. So this immortal GU requires a lot of immortal essence. He continued to send beads of green grape immortal essence to it, the radiance of the immortal GU grew brighter and brighter, and the exquisite body of the immortal GU started to slightly tremble. After a while, Bai Ningbing's forehead was dripping with sweat, and he was feeling worried. I have already used up hundreds of beads of immortal essence, why does it still not activating? So the difficulty in this task was in this. Just when he was getting very puzzled, the immortal GU in his hand suddenly buzzed, it turned into a ray of light that shot towards the sky. The light continued to grow bigger, its speed however was becoming slower. When it reached a peak in height, it charged down to the nameless mountain. Boom! It crashed onto the mountain peak, the clash produced incomparably dazzling radiance. Bai Ningbing quickly covered his eyes and retreated. He no longer needed to use his immortal essence. But whether the immortal GU succeeded in its activation, he still needed to check to be certain. Thus, he flew to a distance of 5 li away, before stopping in the air. He then saw an unbelievable and marvelous scene. Within the intense radiance, the nameless mountain peak suffered no damage, phantom images started to appear over the woods on the mountain. This was a section of a long river. The river water billowed, rising and falling, filled with a mystical and natural wondrousness that would be difficult to portray. There was endless profundity that could not be described with words or expressed. This scene, could it be the river of time? Bai Ningbing's eyes suddenly enlarged, filled with extreme surprise. Afterwards, he saw the river of time's phantom image gradually dissipate, becoming dimmer and dimmer. Two human-shaped figures seemed to jump out of the river, their appearances and clothes gradually becoming clearer. These two people were fighting. Both sides exchanged moves one after the other. The battle's intensity shocked Bai Ningbing to the core. Among them, one was enormous with bulging muscles. He was like a mythical creature that rampaged around with an extremely fierce momentum. He was a rank 8 GU Immortal. The other person was rank 7. But he seemed to be using a killer move to disguise himself. His whole body was covered in a layer of fog that made others unable to distinguish his face or stature. The only thing that could be clearly seen was a red lotus that was drawn on his forehead. Chapter 959, Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage. The battle between the two shook the scenery in the image, boulders shattered and the river roared. Even if the change in the phantom image did not affect reality, it was an extremely moving scene. The battle gradually heated to the climax. The burly rank 8 GU Immortal held the upper hand. He raised his head and laughed wildly. I have rank 8 cultivation and also possess the great strength true martial physique. A mere rank 7 dreams of challenging me. That mysterious GU Immortal with a red lotus mark on his forehead chuckled and said with a plain voice, Martial Duel Heavenly King, your defeat is certain. Take this move. Right after he finished speaking, the rank 7 GU Immortal flung his right hand and a high platform flew out. The next moment, the contempt on the face of the rank 8 GU Immortal, Martial Duel Heavenly King, was completely gone, replaced by shock. This is an Immortal GU house. What Immortal GU house is this? The rank 7 GU Immortal proudly smiled. Let me teach you, this is my original creation, Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage. Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage. Bai Ningbing frowned. As far as he knew, the present southern border GU Immortal world did not have any such Immortal GU house. Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage's might was extremely mysterious. No matter what kind of attacks Martial Duel Heavenly King sent, they were all absorbed and sealed. That was not all. After the attacks were sealed, they could still be used by the rank 7 GU Immortal to strike back. Martial Duel Heavenly King's attacks were mighty, but in the end, he had to bear most of his attacks himself. The images transformed continuously, and the battle situation kept on getting more heated. Finally, with the help of Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage, the mysterious rank 7 GU Immortal won against Martial Duel Heavenly King, accomplishing an extraordinary feat of rank 7 defeating rank 8. However, the rank 7 GU Immortal also had to pay a heavy price. As a final stand, Martial Duel Heavenly King did not hesitate to turn into a rank 8 Immortal zombie, almost possessing an unkillable body. The mysterious rank 7 GU Immortal was not able to take his life, and could only let go of this Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage, using it to suppress Martial Duel Heavenly King deep under the earth. To win against Martial Duel Heavenly King, the unknown rank 7 GU Immortal had to give up an Immortal GU house. After the battle was over, he sighed as he gazed down at his Immortal GU house that was under the earth, before flying away. There were no more images of the GU Immortals, but the phantom image still kept on transforming. The battlefield where the GU Immortals fought returned to tranquility. With good weather, grass and trees started to grow. Then there were lightning strikes and flood. Meteors crashed down and inferno raged. The plain terrain gradually began to rise, growing slowly. At first, it was a mound, then it continued to increase until it became a mountain. There were occasionally scenes of humans moving in the mountain. The movements were extremely quick, whether it was natural phenomenon or the movements of humans and beasts, they were shown like a sped-up video. This mountain also began to change rapidly. It occasionally had landslides and occasionally changed in shape. Finally, in the phantom image, this mountain gradually turned into the appearance of the nameless mountain. When the phantom image had completely disappeared, the world regained its original appearance. Bai Ningbing's eyes shone strangely. He understood that the Immortal GU old man Yan Shi gave him was a time path investigative Immortal GU. It drilled into the crevices of time and transported the scene of the past, at a certain segment of the river of time towards the present. The scene of a huge battle between the two GU Immortals was now this ordinary and inconspicuous mountain. This means there is an Immortal GU house buried here. Bai Ningbing fixed his gaze under the mountain, his heart thumping in excitement. He naturally knew the value of an Immortal GU house. Only forces with GU Immortals could be considered super forces. But even among these super forces, only the powerful ones could possess one or more immortal GU houses. If I can get hold of this graceful chaotic dual stage, it will definitely be a huge help to me and I can more easily deal with Shadow Sect and leave. But this is bad, the immortal GU's aura has leaked everywhere, the disturbance when I activated the immortal GU was also not small, it will definitely attract other GU immortals. Time does not wait for anyone, I must hurry up. Bai Ningbing had just thought of flying down, piercing deep into the earth and taking the immortal GU house, when he hesitated. He thought of old man Yan Shi. If he went down, would it be messing up old man Yan Shi's plan? Maybe old man Yan Shi already calculated his reaction and wanted him to go deep into the earth, explore the depths of the earth and take graceful chaotic dual stage. If it is like this, he must have something up his sleeve. The mantis stalks a cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. If I blindly move, all my efforts will be in vain and I will be used by others. Bai Ningbing's gaze was deep, he decided to first probe the surrounding environment before deciding to move. However, what he had not expected was when he had just approached the nameless mountain by some distance, he felt an intense weakness, his GU immortal aura started to quickly weaken, he could not even exert his thoughts. Bai Ningbing retreated in shock, he recalled old man Yan Shi's words. Go to the top of that mountain and activate this GU. Once you succeed, leave quickly. This mountain will become a forbidden zone for immortals, any GU immortals that enter this area will be met with fatal killing intent. Bai Ningbing thought with a frown, could this be the forbidden zone for immortals? If this had truly become a forbidden zone, then how could he seize graceful chaotic dual stage? At this moment, the phantom image on the mountain peak changed again, turning into the previous scenes. Bai Ningbing patiently observed, and could not help having a thought, could it be that there was a clue to take the immortal GU house hidden in the transformations of these phantom images? However, after the phantom image finished showing the scenes, it disappeared again. Bai Ningbing was not able to find out any clues. He then discovered, the phantom image would reappear once in a while. Every time the phantom image played, it would show the same contents with no difference. He also discovered, the forbidden zone was expanding. At first, he could still approach within 3 li of the nameless mountain. Now, however, he was 10 li away from the mountain peak, but still felt exhausted and weak. He had a sense of warning deep within telling him that were he to forcefully charge in, he would definitely die. Looking at the huge fortune moving farther and farther away from him, Bai Ningbing was naturally uneasy. He had stayed here for 3 days, trying to hide this constantly appearing phantom image. He had already erased the immortal GU aura, but he was not able to hide these images. Although old man Yan Shi helped him ascend to immortal, he did not give him any immortal GU. This phenomenon in front of him was created by a time path investigative immortal GU, Bai Ningbing naturally could not cover it using mortal GU. Of course, if he used superior mortal killer moves, there was a possibility of covering the images temporarily. But his foundation was shallow, and he did not have such methods. If Fang Yuan was here, what would he do? In the worrisome moment, Bai Ningbing recalled Fang Yuan's image. Despite him no longer being concerned with Fang Yuan, he could not deny that Fang Yuan's ruthlessness and craftiness had made a deep impression and subconsciously influenced him. He thought and thought, before he stopped in terror. He suddenly realized, this immortal GU was given by old man Yan Shi, this should be a plan of Shadow Sect. What was Shadow Sect trying to do? They did not try to seize graceful chaotic dual stage secretly and silently earn a fortune, instead they were proclaiming this as if they wanted the whole world to know. Involving an ancient battle in the immortal GU house graceful chaotic dual stage, probably the whole of southern border will be in an uproar. Be it righteous path GU immortals or demonic path or lone immortals, they will all go crazy for it. None of them would yield a step for the immortal GU house, this will definitely cause great turbulence and incite bloodshed. Is Shadow Sect's objective to bring a calamity to southern border? But how would this benefit them? Bai Ningbing fiercely slapped his forehead, as his anxious expression vanished, clarity returned to his gaze. What was I doing these last days? I actually let myself be blinded by greed. This is not something I can obtain, this nameless mountain will soon become the center of a storm in southern border, luring almost all the GU immortals of southern border. I am only a rank 6 GU immortal with limited methods. I can't stay here for long, I better leave early. Right, I should return and try to probe old man Yan Shi on what he is thinking of doing. Does he want to use this to lure Fang Yuan? Bai Ningbing hurriedly returned, but old man Yan Shi was no longer in the stone pavilion. He hurried to Shadow Sect's blessed land, but he was unable to summon the blessed land's entrance to appear. He also could not contact them using information path mortal GU, it was almost like the entirety of Shadow Sect, including old man Yan Shi, had completely disappeared in an instant. The wave of doubts in Bai Ningbing's mind intensified, there was a sensation of being discarded, he vaguely felt that the last series of events was anything but a reassuring omen. Central Continent, Falling Heavenly River. Right now, the bottom of the riverbed of the source of Falling Heavenly River was filled with light. Countless GU immortals of Central Continent fixed their gazes at the riverbed's only light source, their hearts filled with fervent desire. An immortal zombie with eyes closed was floating in this light. His appearance was just like before when he was alive, seemingly filled with vitality. Sharp brows, high nose, jade green hair, upright back, it was Bo Qing. Who could have thought Bo Qing would have turned into an immortal zombie? Back then, the fairy of Spirit Affinity House at that time, Mo Yao, had also faced the tribulation with him. But there is only Bo Qing here, it seems Mo Yao had completely died. According to the sect records, that heavenly tribulation had such terrifying might that it shook the whole of Central Continent. It really is inconceivable that Bo Qing could preserve his life, how strong was he actually? The immortals discussed with each other. The corpse has been maintained for so long, who knows how many secrets it contains. As long as we can obtain it, we can decipher the profound mysteries of Bo Qing's cultivation back then. Even if there is no sword path true inheritance, just this research alone would be an enormous gain. Maybe it can even add to a true inheritance in the sect. Most of these thoughts were from the GU immortals of the 10 great ancient sects. They were looking at long-term prospects, considering for the situation of their sect. While the lone immortals and demonic cultivators like Jian Yi Sheng were paying attention to the immortal GU carried by the immortal zombie Bo Qing. There are still auras of so many immortal GU on his body. This is really unimaginable for them to exist until now. These are all sword path immortal GU of the pseudo-immortal Venerable, I will be satisfied with even just one. Central Continent's righteous path was very prosperous, and the demonic cultivators were fiercely suppressed, to the extent that their situation was the most miserable among the demonic cultivators in the entirety of the 5 regions. These demonic cultivators and lone cultivators did not dare to have any idea of taking Bo Qing's immortal zombie body, and only wanted to make a profit and run away quickly. In fact, before this, in the process of entering Falling Heavenly River, almost all the immortals had made some gains. The remains of beasts and plants cut down by the sword lights were not few. As long as one looked for them carefully, they could find them. However, Bo Qing's assets was truly too attractive. Humans die for wealth and birds die for food. Since they personally witnessing it, who would want to leave now? Chapter 960, Bo Qing Awakens. At this time, there were at least 30 GU immortals at the bottom of Falling Heavenly River's source. The immortals had heated gazes, they were staring at the light lump that enveloped the immortal zombie, Bo Qing. They looked around secretly, they were very alert towards their competitors. Among these competitors, the strongest ones were the GU immortals from Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects. Jin Liang, Hong Kai Ming, Qi Yuntian and others. And among the people from the 10 great ancient sects, the most threatening one was Fairy Bai Qing. Seeing this stalemate, Qi Yuntian said slowly, Fairy Bai Qing, this situation is very clear. Bo Qing has his immortal zombie remains, but his soul was decimated by the tribulation. However, there are some wills and emotions left in his mind, he can defend himself. Thus, whenever we get close, he will use his immortal GU and shoot out extremely sharp sword lights, attacking everywhere. To weaken his animosity, we need something that contains Bo Qing's aura, or a GU worm that he refined in the past. We can also use the wills and emotions left behind by Bo Qing. As long as we take these out, we can get close to Bo Qing and gain the upper hand. Fairy Bai Qing smiled bitterly. Why would I have these things? If I did, I would have taken action long ago, right? She indeed did not, because she had not expected to find Bo Qing's immortal zombie body. Qi Yuntian smiled lightly. Fairy Bai Qing, why are you lying to us? You are the first person here, why did you come here alone secretly? Is all this a coincidence? Fairy Bai Qing's smile became more bitter. You say I came here secretly, that is wrong. I had used the path through Myriad Dragon Dock and combat Immortal Sect, I came here openly, what do you mean by secretly? She had come to investigate Falling Heavenly River because of Feng Juji's last words. But she could not expose this truth. Spirit Affinity House needed to stall the information regarding Feng Juji's death as much as possible, so that they could have more time to prepare. Jin Liang frowned more deeply now, his voice became more shrill. Why is Fairy Bai Qing hiding it from us? The current situation will only draw in more GU immortals. As time passes, accidents might occur. We of the 10 great ancient sects should work together to jointly control situation in central continent. Otherwise, if those lone cultivators obtain Sword Immortal Bo Qing's Sword Path Immortal GU, central continent would undergo huge turbulence. Is your sect going to ignore central continent's well-being just for your own greed? Qi Yuntian's attitude was warm. He continued urging, we of the 10 great ancient sects are of the same origin. We should work together and obtain Immortal Zombie Bo Qing. I can represent Wind Cloud Manor and sign an alliance agreement with your sect. We will ensure you get your benefits in this matter. Fairy Bai Qing was silent. She sneered internally. Jin Liang and Qi Yuntian were working together to coerce and coax her. How could she not know that? She was secretly anxious. This had happened too suddenly, and Spirit Affinity House did not send GU Immortals to reinforce her. Even though she was rank 7, facing these immortals, she could not do much. No matter what Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's situation was, it was very important to take back his body and Sword Path Immortal GU for Spirit Affinity House. The other 9 sects knew this. Right now, in their opinion, Feng Zhuzhe was missing, he was likely dead, Spirit Affinity House was weakened now, they could not let them obtain this Immortal Zombie Bo Qing. If they nurtured another Bo Qing who was as strong as Feng Zhuzhe, what would the 9 sects do? The situation in Falling Heavenly River was extremely dangerous. Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's sword lights were extremely sharp, they shot through the entirety of central continent. Large numbers of demonic and lone cultivators came because of it. They desired conflict, they wanted to obtain huge gains from it. As for the immortals from central continent's 10 great ancient sects, they want to stabilize the situation and not give these outsiders a chance. But at the same time, the immortals of the 10 great ancient sects were not united, thus, the 9 sects were resisting Spirit Affinity House together. Fairy Bai Qing was thought to have possession of a crucial method, she could not explain her innocence now. Just as the immortals were in a deadlock, a vast rank 8 aura surged. All of the immortals stand back, we of Heavenly Court are taking charge. Everyone gasped, they looked at the source of the sound and saw a female immortal descending. It was the rank 8 Water Path GU Immortal by Kang Shui. The situation changed at once. Central Continent, Heavenly Court. Light shone on Heaven Overseeing Tower, it had been rebuilt again, standing in front of the 3 immortals. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, Bai Chen Tian, and Lian Zhusheng felt the weight on their hearts easing, they sighed in relief. Ever since Heaven Overseeing Tower was slashed by the sword light, they had not rested. To prevent the sword path Dao marks from corroding it further and destroying more GU worms, they had worked day and night to repair it without rest, they had finally succeeded. Thankfully, the 3 immortals rapidly replaced the destroyed GU worms using the huge amount of immortal materials in Heavenly Court's storage, saving it in time. There was something important to note, Heaven Overseeing Tower was a rank 9 immortal GU house, it had incredible defense. Even though it was split in half by the sword light, what it truly lost was only the GU worms near the damage caused by the sword. In fact, Heaven Overseeing Tower was not gravely damaged. After looking at it for a while, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord took a deep breath and supported himself on his walking stick as he held Fate GU, walking towards the tower. Lian Zhusheng could not help but ask, Tower Lord, are you not going to rest? Why are you in a rush to activate Heaven Overseeing Tower? Thank you for your concern, it is all right. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord smiled, rejecting the suggestion. For some reason, ever since the sword light attacked Heaven Overseeing Tower, he had been having an ominous sensation. As time passed, this ominous sensation intensified. Even after seeing the repaired Heaven Overseeing Tower, he did not feel this ominous sensation going away. Go, he willed, in his hand, Fate GU turned into a mystical light, entering the top of the tower, towards the formation core. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord moved his aged body as he slowly walked up the stairs. Every step he took expended rank 8 immortal essence. The tower walls were shining in bright light, they appeared to be in a mess and did not give any hints or advice. But Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord did not mind it. Fate Immortal GU could only use half of its might, half of the images displayed were blurry or dark. After walking for 60 steps, the image on the wall became clear. On the nameless peak of southern border, the scene was depicted vividly in front of Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord. In the image, Martial Dual Heavenly King and the mysterious rank 7 GU Immortals fight entered Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's vision. This old man frowned unconsciously. Rank 8 Great Strength True Martial Immortal Zombie Immortal GU House Graceful Chaotic Dual Stage in this. On the mysterious rank 7 GU Immortal's forehead, the red lotus mark was very bright red and striking. An inheritor of Red Lotus, true inheritance. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's eyes flashed with sharpness. The pain that Red Lotus Demon Venerable brought to Heavenly Court and the damage he dealt to Fate Immortal GU, had tormented generations after generations of Heavenly Court GU Immortals for over 1,000,000 years. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord stopped on this step, thinking deeply. Red Lotus, true inheritance, it has to be destroyed. No traces must be left behind. The great strength true martial immortal zombie is less of a concern, but that graceful chaotic dual stage should belong to Heavenly Court ideally. Even if southern border has the regional wall, Heavenly Court has to make an attempt now. Just that mystical immortal GU house, graceful chaotic dual stage, was worth the intervention of Heavenly Court's GU Immortals. Even though rank 8 GU Immortals faced much difficulty in passing the 5 regions' regional walls, and had to pay a huge price. Without concealing such a scene, southern border's GU Immortal world would definitely be stirred up, countless Immortals would come forward to fight for it. If Heavenly Court wants to traverse regions and compete, we have to choose appropriate people, and the number has to be precise. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord thought more deeply and soon shook his head, placing these troublesome thoughts aside. He continued to go up. 60 steps, 70 steps, 80 steps. When he got to the 83rd step, the image changed again. This time, it was the scene of Central Continent. In Falling Heavenly River, Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's eyes were shut as the Heavenly Court GU Immortal Bai Kang Shui led the Immortals and controlled the situation single-handedly. In the image, Bai Kang Shui smiled and spoke to Fairy Bai Qing. But after Fairy Bai Qing replied to her, Bai Kang Shui's expression became one of deep disappointment. Soon, she concealed her expression and became calm again. She moved her fingers, setting up a GU formation, planning to seal this place. But at this moment, starlight shot over, it penetrated the incomplete GU formation and shot towards Immortal Zombie Bo Qing. As starlight shined brightly, Immortal Zombie Bo Qing opened his eyes. In an instant, countless flashes of sword light burst out, turning the world white. Even Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord shut his eyes in response. At the next moment, he opened his eyes. What he saw was a bloody scene. There were bits and pieces of GU Immortal corpses everywhere. The head of the Heavenly Court GU Immortal, Bai Kang Shui, was rolling away with streams of blood. Her eyes were opened wide, she had died. How can this be? Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, who saw this, was anguished. 3 figures landed immediately. 7-Star Child was in front, followed by Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun. Azure, you are finally awake. 7-Star Child laughed loudly, his body was emitting a powerful rank 8 aura. He walked forward, getting close to Immortal Zombie Bo Qing. Bo Qing's eyes shined with ruthlessness, sword light shot out. 7-Star Child was shocked, he did not expect Bo Qing to attack him. The sword light was peerlessly sharp, he was sliced in half, even his immortal zombie body was useless against it. 7-Star Child's pitiful death stunned Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun. What is going on? Envoy Azure killed Vice Envoy Blue. No, he is not Envoy Azure, his mind is filled with Heaven's will, and there is another person's remnant soul living inside his body. At once, Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun were shocked and furious. Immortal Zombie Bo Qing was expressionless, he turned around to look at them. Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun felt a strong chill, they sank into despair. They did not see any killing intent from Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's eyes. They only saw the unfeeling and impartial nature of the way of heaven. They were people who escaped from fate, they were targets of elimination of the way of heaven. An intense aura of death engulfed them. Against the famous pseudo-immortal Venerable, Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun could not escape or dodge, they could only await their deaths.